on a blood-soaked battlefield, where an extremely fierce fight had just taken place. Thick smoke and dust mingled with the metallic stench of blood in the air. On a precarious mountaintop, a low, sorrowful voice rang out as if blending with the wind whistling through the rocks. So this is how it ends. I'm sorry, everyone. I'm too weak. Those words escaped from Evan, a young man with sorrowful eyes. He raised his hand to cover his face, his voice choking as he continued. Chris should have been the hero, not me. Seeing Evan tormenting himself, the purple-haired girl standing beside him turned, her eyes sparkling with resolve. She bit her lip, forcing down her emotions before speaking to encourage him. Please don't say that, Hero Evan. We've done our best. Evan sighed softly, replying with regretful tone. Of course, if Sir Chris with his God-given talent had started learning swordsmanship a bit earlier, perhaps he would have surpassed the 9 stars and become a famed 10-star hero. Chris, now sitting silently, stared emptily toward the two conversing, but they seemed oblivious to his presence, perhaps because he was dead. Only a faint figure in memory, Evan continued in a heavy voice. If that had happened, wouldn't the two of us have been able to stop the apocalypse? Looking back at Chris's past, a man once lauded as great, it all began with a crazy talent that let him learn everything in the blink of an eye. Thanks to that, he left behind a glorious legacy and earned the title Journey of the Great Outsider. It all started one day when he was 20, when he fled his crude Rawstone clan carrying dreams of success through dark alleys full of danger. And then one ordinary day while Chris was diligently working, suddenly a thunderous sound roared across the sky. He looked up, eyes wide with astonishment. Above, a mighty legion of cavalry riding jet-black warhorses appeared under the command of a brutal demon king coming to invade the magic empire. That event was later recorded in history with an ominous name, the Age of Destruction. In a remote small town, people gathered densely around a bulletin board. On the old wooden board, a sheet of paper was posted, the scrawled handwriting reading clearly, "Recruiting companions to join the hero." Seeing the notice, a young man with bright eyes rejoiced inwardly. This is it, once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I will surely rise to the top and enjoy wealth and honor after the war ends. But life is not a dream. In the end, they still failed, and the valley fell into the hands of the slaughterous demon king. Blood ran in rivers, corpses piled into mountains. Back in Evan's conversation, he continued in a tormented voice. If I could, I wish I could turn back time so Sir Chris would be chosen as the hero. Hearing this, the young man, now named Chris, fell silent. A hero, even if time could be reversed, I wouldn't want to relive this life. A lifetime of suffering is more than enough. Besides, dreaming is meaningless now that this world is about to end. In the sky, a crimson orb of energy flared, emitting a terrifying power. Violent bolts of lightning struck the city below, tearing the space with ear-splitting explosions. The three, Evan, the purple-haired girl, and Chris, stood frozen, helplessly watching the scene of annihilation. For a moment, Chris thought this truly was the end. He squeezed his eyes shut, thinking inwardly, in the next life, if there is one, I only hope to be born as the son of a rich family and live an easy life. That was his final thought. The scene shifted to a peaceful room. Gentle morning sunlight filtered through the window, mingling with the soft breeze of autumn. In the room, a young man sat silently, his eyes fixed on his hands. After a moment of thought, he whispered, I have regressed. That young man was Chris, this time reborn in the body of a young master of the magic empire. He stepped to the window and threw open the shutters. Before him stretched a magnificent scene, stately castles rising splendidly under the sun. Chris murmured, the aesthetics here must belong to the Black Demon clan, true to the ominous name. This is one of the 12 pillar houses of the magic empire. From what I've determined, I've regressed 15 years. 15 years before the Age of Destruction began. He looked down at the courtyard. Chris was astonished to see massive demonic beasts, shaggy and careful, tending a riot of colorful flowers. He thought to himself, I thought I'd seen everything in my past life. Never expected to witness demonic beasts pruning flowers. He turned to the mirror, eyes briefly stunned. Not to mention, I even know who this bastard is. The body he regressed into was Christian Van Baron Kazar, a notorious name. In another room, a blonde young man was dining with an alluring foxwoman. He asked curiously, the noble Van in his middle name, what branch of demons is he from? The foxwoman nodded slightly, her pointed ears twitching. Indeed, Chris is as quick-witted as ever. She explained the Kazar Countly family is a branch of the Baron Counts, also called the Black Demon clan. So is that a more powerful house? The blonde man pressed. She replied softly, not exactly. Though only a branch, they still hold a firm position within the Black Demon clan. Moreover, they're unbelievably wealthy. I doubt you'll find a villain in the Magic Empire who doesn't know of them. The foxwoman continued, eyes glittering. I've heard they have two potential heirs, but the eldest son, Christian, is truly a bastard among bastards, always causing trouble everywhere, to the point the Khazar counts finally disowned him. She reached out lightly, her tone sinking. Ah, but that's ancient history now. Hearing this, the blonde man flinched. What? He's reformed. The foxwoman answered slowly, no, he was murdered by his relatives. The scene cut back to Chris. His face went dark, sweat pouring down his brow. He slammed his hand against the mirror, shouting inside. Damn it, I only wanted to be the son of a normal, wealthy family. Yet I regress to this place. Why here? Why him? Why this damned predetermined fate? Chris scoffed inwardly. What now? Think, Chris, think. 3 days ago, I awoke in this body with a strangely coincident name. And in 2 years, Christian will be killed and expelled from the Khazar countly family. A house that values honor above all. Surely this man is incompetent and useless, he thought. So if I just keep quiet and avoid trouble, maybe I'll escape death. Thinking that, Chris paused and fell into thought for a moment, then smacked his hand against his forehead. His expression darkened. There's no way that can happen, mainly because of Ragnarok, the end of days. The slaughterous demon king instigated the war to sacrifice humanity and complete Ragnarok. By the time they realized it, it was already too late. Both the valley and the Magic Empire were submerged in ruin. So if I want to survive, I must prevent the apocalypse, Chris told himself. The slaughterous demon king is one thing, but a bigger problem is the countless villains in the Magic Empire loyal to him. To accomplish this, I must become the strongest, stronger than the demon king, and there's only one way. I must become the demon emperor, sit atop the Magic Empire's pinnacle. He calculated, I have 5 years before the Age of Destruction begins, worth a try. If successful, not only this mansion, but the entire Magic Empire will belong to me. The scene cut to another room. A loud shout rang out. Christian, I told you to stay in your room. This is the study of Count Khazar. Seeing Chris enter and kneel deeply, his face darkened. He bellowed, how dare you show your face here so soon after causing that trouble? Aren't you ashamed? His eyes narrowed, his gaze as cold as a blade. If you act wrongly one more time, I'll personally cut off your head. Hearing this, Chris went pale. A bead of sweat rolled down his cheek. He thought inwardly, Count Khazar truly exudes an overwhelming presence. But he drew a deep breath and spoke, making the Count startle. I have come to apologize for all the mistakes I've made so far, Father. He thought silently that to carry out his plan, he must erase the useless image left by Christian. At this, Count Khazar froze and exclaimed, What? Chris continued sincerely, I truly apologize for everything I've done. It won't happen again. The Count replied skeptically, You want me to believe you? Just days after the last incident? Are you mocking me? Chris thought to himself, what was the most recent trouble he caused before I regressed? I've heard so many stories I can't pick a specific one. He bowed his head slightly and quickly fabricated a reason. The fault that made you lose faith in me was my doing. But didn't I say 3 days ago that I'd lost part of my memory? To recover those memories, I've reflected on my past actions and realized how wrongly I've lived. My heart aligns with that truth. After hearing this, Count Khazar's expression remained unchanged. He said coldly, I've heard your excuses countless times. Seeing this, Chris immediately added, Yes, mere words of excuse mean nothing, so from now on I'll prove myself by actions. He declared clearly, Please send me to the punishment cavern. I will stay there for 1 month and show you a different person. The scene shifted to a gloomy forest called the punishment cavern. Amid thick mist and blackened trees, a white building appeared like a lone pearl in the wilderness. This prison was reserved for high-level demons, a place that lacked not only light but tortured all 5 senses, driving any weak mind to exhaustion in days. But for Chris now, the place was perfect. He needed somewhere to avoid others' gaze, he thought, his eyes shining with determination. Back in the conversation, hearing Chris's words, Count Khazar spoke with doubt. You intend to lock yourself in the punishment cavern for a month. I don't think you'd last half a day there. Chris replied decisively and without hesitation. I fully understand how harsh it is there, but I believe this is the best way for you to trust me. Hearing that, Count Khazar frowned. His cold gaze swept over his son. Do you know how many conversations like this we've had? Each time you only deepen my disappointment. He stepped forward, his voice deepening. Very well, I'll listen to you and give you one single chance. However, if nothing changes after 1 month, I'll expel you from the family. Hearing this, Chris flinched. His hands clenched so hard his knuckles went white. He thought expulsion means a death sentence. There's a long list of enemies waiting to take Christian's life. once he loses the family's protection. I could be called to my ancestors at any moment. After a moment's thought, he nodded slightly, his voice firm. I understand, but if I can prove I've changed, please grant my request, Father. Count Khazar frowned, a hint of surprise in his tone. Your voice sounds confident, as if you're certain you'll leave that place unharmed. He sighed softly and continued. Very well, if you prove you've changed, I'll grant you any request. Having said that, he turned and left, leaving behind a cold remark. But don't think I believe that will happen. Shortly after, Chris returned to his room and relaxed for the last moments before departing for the punishment cavern. Suddenly the door burst open and Butler Cox entered, voice respectful. Young master, the punishment cavern has been prepared. Chris nodded lightly, I know. The two of them immediately packed their belongings and began the journey. They walked through the clan's vast corridors, where light from the magic lamps washed over the stone walls, creating uncanny shadows. Along the way, the servants began to whisper about Chris. A maid spoke up, mocking, Have you heard? That useless man volunteered to go into the punishment cavern. The other girl replied, eyes wide. What is he planning? Remember that recent accident when he insulted the young lady of the Poison clan? Chris startled slightly at that, and the maid's voice trailed off. You mean the incident the Count had to apologize for in person? The other girl nodded. Yes, that's the one. How shameful, having to save face before a rival house. Watching Chris's retreating back, they burst into loud laughter. Ha ha, when will that good-for-nothing ever grow up? I bet never. Another added, How long do you think he'll last in that cavern? The girl scoffed. Ha ha, I think 2 days at most. Hearing this, Chris said nothing, only curling a sinister smile on his lips as a cold glint flashed in his eyes. They continued down the corridor, unaware that a mysterious figure had been silently watching them since they left the room. After a while, Chris and Cox stopped before the massive door of the punishment cavern. Cox spoke, We're here, young Master Christian. Chris looked up at the towering door before him, carved with ancient magical patterns. He glanced around, thinking to himself, using knights as guards, very much the Magic Empire style. Well, as long as it keeps everything away from this cavern, he thought, rubbing the back of his neck as he prepared to enter, when suddenly a call came from afar. Brother. Chris turned and recognized a familiar face, Thurn van Baron Khazar, Christian's biological younger brother, the clan's exemplary student. Before he could react, Thurn had already raised his sword to Chris's face. Though Chris's gaze did not waver, inside he jolted, almost done for, then spoke calmly. What do you want with me? It doesn't look like you're here to say farewell. Thurn replied in a voice as cold as ice. I assume you understand you are the shame of this family. He frowned and continued. I don't know what schemes you're plotting, but if you keep defiling the family's honor, I'll kill you with my own hands. Do you understand? This is my final warning. Hearing that, Chris flinched slightly, thinking to himself, I understand. Maybe this brat was the one who killed Christian. I've met Thurn in the Age of Destruction. He was a notorious demon with curse magic, so he was quite cute as a child after all. Seems he trained very hard, but then his expression turned dark and he shouted, Out of my way. Inwardly he told himself the boy was nothing but a brat, someone who had witnessed the worst moments of the Age of Destruction. At the shout, Thurn narrowed his eyes. What did you just say? Chris replied curtly. I understand, so go. With that he turned his back and stepped into the punishment cavern. Thurn shouted after him, I'm serious. If you do, but before he could finish, the door slammed shut. Enraged, he punched the door hard and roared. What's with that attitude? The scene shifted inside the punishment cavern as Chris walked onward. His eyes swept around, but all was utter darkness. He frowned slightly, unable to see or hear anything. Only a vague sensation remained at his fingertips. He thought silently that they did this on purpose, so prisoners could feel the items they carried. Otherwise, they'd starve. An ordinary person would surely break mentally here. But for me, it's different. I've endured worse as a treasure hunter, he told himself. Blocking the 5 senses is what I want, because it lets me perceive more deeply within myself. Even if I can't immediately fix this broken body, I still have a chance. With medical skills from my previous life as a holy healer, plus bone manipulation from the strength branch and knowledge of mana stones, I can definitely do it. He sneered. Honestly, I used to think I'd never touch mana stones because they're so expensive. But now they're the greatest benefit of a wealthy family. They can easily meet any of my requests, even though I'm a good-for-nothing. In my past life, Evan, and I struggled just to get them, ha ha. The first step will be the white mana stone, he calculated. It can detoxify the body. Boring as it is, it's an important step. I need to use white mana to remove accumulated toxins. Even a small mistake could cause excruciating pain throughout the body. Chris closed his eyes and felt the white mana stone seep into his body. streams of cool energy spreading. After a while, he opened his eyes and smiled. This is child's play for me. The scene shifted to Count Khazar's study. Light from the mana lamp on the ceiling fell across his stern face as he spoke in a low voice. Cox, how is Christian? Butler Cox bowed and replied, he's obediently entering the punishment cavern, sir. But I'm worried that place will destroy him so completely he won't even be able to cry for help. Count Khazar mused, supporting his chin. He wondered inwardly if sending him there was a mistake. The child with such a promising future, why did he suddenly collapse like this? Did talent make him overly arrogant? He shook his head. He told himself that whatever the reason, he'd rather see him completely fail or die than live such a miserable life. Suddenly Christian's image rose in his mind, the youth's determined voice ringing. I will show you with my actions. The Count shook his head to return to reality and chastised himself. No, I shouldn't hope in him anymore. He's deceived us too many times. He turned to Cox and asked, did you notice anything strange when he went in? Startled by the question, Cox stammered, strange. The Count's tone turned cold. Don't hide it. Report every detail. Cox took a deep breath and began to report. Actually, the young master brought mana stones into the cavern, including a dreamstone, a hallucinogenic gem. Since the side effects are unclear, I reported it immediately. Count Khazar's face darkened. His voice was icy. If that's the case, then let him die. Time passed in a flash. A month had ended. Count Khazar stood before the cavern's massive door, his gaze heavy with sorrow. In his mind, he pictured Christian emerging gaunt and broken. He thought to himself that now he must be exhausted. But unexpectedly, the door swung open. A youthful figure appeared that made the Count startle. Contrary to his expectations, Christian stepped out invigorated, eyes bright. He smiled and said, Father, you're here. I've been waiting for you. Seeing the Count's astonished expression, Christian added, are you surprised, Father? You promised you'd return as a different person, didn't you? The Count frowned slightly, studying the determined look in Christian's eyes. Those eyes had never looked at him like that since childhood. He said, so you endured it. Christian laughed loudly. Ha ha, is that a compliment? The Count immediately cut short his joy, voice stern. Don't get cocky. It's only this small matter. I still don't trust you. Hearing that, Christian sighed softly. Truly an unpleasant old man, then said, fine, I'll just try harder. He thought inwardly that the Count probably assumed he merely endured the cavern, but the truth was different. He'd been busy training, so he had no time to feel bored. First, he had optimized his body to master swordsmanship, Christian told himself. Thanks to the white mana stone, every cell felt alive after each training session. Moreover, the Dreamstone was the real game changer. The butler tried to stop him from taking that addictive mana stone, but fortunately I was stubborn to the end. Thanks to the hallucinations from it, I surpassed my limits. Furthermore, I even forged 2 mana cores. He chuckled inwardly. Ha, people say don't boast too soon. I might only be the strongest in theory. Christian looked at the glittering radiance in his hand, thinking, a 1-star aura. Still, I'm a true prodigy. Of course, I used a dark core to conceal that light. If the demons discovered it, they'd make a fuss. It seemed everything ended there, but suddenly a dark stone floated before him. Christian grinned wickedly. So you're the one who gave me the Dreamstone. What a mess. It wanted to use the stone to make me lose control and collapse. Fine, I'll play with you to the end. I'll use you as a sacrifice for my breakthrough. Thinking this, Christian spoke. Since I've kept my promise, allow me to make one request. Count Khazar nodded. Speak. Christian continued. Please allow me to use the Dark Knight's training ground. At this request, Count Khazar's face darkened. He barked coldly. A useless brat like you has no place there. They are one of the 3 knight regiments that support the Dark Demon faction. You surely know that only the most elite swordsmen get to showcase their skills there. Christian nodded slightly. I'm only asking to borrow the training ground. Guidance from the Dark Knights will help me improve. I don't intend to join their ranks. Hearing this, Count Khazar pondered for a moment, then said, very well, but heed my warning. Don't bring shame before the knights or else. Christian nodded, I understand. Then he added, there's one more thing I wish to request. Count Khazar flinched slightly, eyes briefly surprised. The scene shifted to the Dark Knight's training ground. Warriors clad in black armor stood in formation, bewildered by Christian's appearance. One of them sneered mockingly. Isn't that the foolish young master? What is he doing here? As people whispered, Christian stepped forward, and to his surprise, they suddenly showed respect. No doubt because we're in the magic empire where strength matters more than status, he thought. Actually, there was another reason I wanted to come here, Christian told himself. My second request is access to the library. This made Count Khazar curious. The library, he said. If you have a recommendation letter from Deputy Commissioner Mellon, I'll give you the key. It stored all of Count Khazar's family's dark magic tomes. To study dark magic, Christian needed access to it. After receiving approval, he nodded, I understand. Then the Count said coldly, you must have forgotten you once sold high-level magic books on the black market for next to nothing. Hearing that, a few drops of sweat ran down Christian's brow. He thought, what kind of life did this body live? He truly is a perfect, useless person, of no use at all. Back in the present, Christian strolled holding his sword, thinking to himself that his top priority was still to gain the deputy commander's recognition. Suddenly a group of people appeared ahead, making Christian frown slightly. It turned out to be Thurn, his younger brother. Thurn spoke in a cold voice. This is not a place someone like you can enter at will. Christian sighed softly, hoisted the sword onto his shoulder, thinking inwardly, it's him again. What a nuisance. Then he smiled. Actually, this might be a great opportunity. Thurn stepped closer to Christian, voice cold. Consider this my final warning. Turn back. I assume you don't want to throw away the life you just escaped from in the punishment cavern, do you? Hearing this, Christian sighed, eyes briefly showing annoyance. Thurn, can you stand by those words? Thurn frowned in surprise. Father was the one who permitted you into the training ground? What father? Suddenly decisive footsteps sounded from afar and a calm, steady voice spoke. I respect the Count's decision, but he is not very trustworthy, young Master Christian. The one who had just appeared was Deputy Commander Melon, a woman with long black hair and an imposing presence. Her presence made Christian frown and turn. The pressure from Melon's dark energy clearly registered at 4 stars. They seem to want to intimidate me from the start, Christian thought, but I'm used to this. He bowed slightly and said calmly, greetings, Deputy Commander. Seeing Christian unshaken by her dark energy, Melon frowned, surprised that he could withstand it. While she was still taken aback, Christian said, if even the deputy commander must intervene, then there may be no other choice. I will prove I deserve to train here, Melon replied with some doubt. You say prove it. Christian pointed toward Thurn and said, what if I fight one of the demons here and win? Hearing that, Melon scoffed, you're joking a bit much, young Master Christian. Christian turned, tone serious, I'm not joking. Instead, I want you to restrain the spread of your dark energy. As you know, due to my former lifestyle, my ability to use dark energy is far from my true potential. If possible, I want a hand-to-hand fight. Hearing this, Melon frowned, thinking that even if it's a fair fight, they can't allow the heir to be injured. This is troublesome. Then she said, do you really think you'll win in a hand-to-hand fight, young master? Christian replied calmly, that remains to be seen. Now who should I pick as an opponent? He casually lowered his hand and pointed at Thurn. Thurn will do. Seeing Christian's hand aimed at him, Thurn's face darkened, voice grating, how dare you? A voice from behind called out, trying to stop it. I think you should choose a more suitable opponent. You do know Thurn's level is 2 stars, right? Christian thought to himself. 2 stars, a level no ordinary 13-year-old reaches unless they're innately gifted. Otherwise, whether 13 or 23, one couldn't touch any strength at that level. But I'm not ordinary scum. He shook his head and said, no, if I'm going to prove myself, I must choose someone stronger than me. I think fighting Thurn is best. Having said that, he looked at Thurn. So, what do you say, Thurn? You're not afraid of your own brother, are you? Hearing this, Thurn's expression grew darker. He snarled, I accept your challenge. Immediately after, the two faced each other, surrounded by the knights present at the training ground. Cheers rose from the crowd. Someone shouted, young Master Thurn, take this chance to crush that bastard. Another added, if you let him walk away, we'll have special training today. Christian rotated his wrist to warm up, then turned to Melon. How do we decide victory? Fight until one yields. Hearing that, Melon's face darkened. She thought, what an ungrateful fool. Then she replied, that's boring. Fight until the other is unable to continue. She added inwardly, it would be perfect if young Master Thurn crippled him, broke 1 or 2 legs. Christian pointed at Thurn. Hey, did you hear the rules? They said you must fight seriously. Thurn roared, insolent idiot. I will shut that mouth of yours for good. With that he lunged. Christian charged forward and landed a powerful punch on Thurn's jaw. The unexpected blow made Thurn stagger, his face contorted in pain. Christian smiled, what's the matter? The match has just begun. Thurn stepped back, wiping a smear of blood from his lip, eyes blazing. Shut up. Thurn rushed in and threw a punch at Christian, but Christian easily dodged. Honestly, using dark energy, a 1-star demon like me couldn't win. Christian thought, but what about unarmed combat? After avoiding the punch, he kicked hard with his right leg into Thurn's chest, sending him sprawling backward, clutching his chest in surprise. I fought on countless battlefields in my previous life, Christian mused. Moreover, counting the combat power gained in the punishment cavern, I'm already at 3 stars. The crowd buzzed. One man exclaimed, what did I just witness? Thurn stumbled unsteadily, doubled over holding his stomach, blood dripping from the corner of his mouth. Christian taunted, "Don't tell me you're crying. Want me to make you hurt more?" Thurn braced his hands on his thighs, panting. "What trick did you use?" Christian shrugged, thinking how satisfying it was to see him like that, then said, "A trick? There's no trick. You're just weak." Hearing that, Thurn's face turned angry. He shouted, "Fine." Thick dark chi poured from his hands. He roared, "I'll kill you now." A punch charged with dark energy lunged forward, but Christian easily dodged. He laughed, "Oh, you're fast too." He thought, now that's the fighting spirit. Thurn kept throwing punches while Christian weaved left and right, calmly evading. Then he swung his arm to block one of Thurn's strikes, causing Thurn to unexpectedly lower his dark energy before he could think. Thurn took a full hook to the jaw from Christian. He threw his head back and spat blood, and collapsed to the ground. The punch left the surrounding knights gaping, eyes wide. They murmured among themselves, "How could young Master Thurn be so careless?" Another answered, perhaps he restrained his dark energy to avoid hurting his opponent. Ignoring these remarks, Christian stepped closer to Thurn. Even Melon was surprised by his display. She thought, "Is that so? No wonder he lost that day." Seeing everyone stunned, Christian turned to Melon. "How about now? Does this prove enough?" Melon nodded slightly. "All right." Christian smiled and thanked her. In his heart he thought, "Good, it's a success. That way I'll devour all swordsmanship and magic." Scene shifts to Christian's room. He sat on a leather chair and summoned a dark orb to hover in the air with one hand. Looking at it, he thought he'd reached 1-star dark magic, but because he hadn't fully mastered dark energy, and because of the massive residual legacy Christian left behind, everything took longer than he expected. Christian casually picked up a small bell and shook it. Its tinkle rang in the quiet room. He told himself that to use the aura simultaneously, he'd need to raise his level even higher. Right after the bell chimed, a stream of energy suddenly appeared. From that energy, a maid materialized and spoke softly, "Have you called me master?" It was Marie, Christian's maid. Seeing how she appeared, Christian frowned slightly, thinking he didn't expect them to use a high-level evil spirit as a maid. Admittedly, because Christian causes trouble all the time, they couldn't use an ordinary person. "I'll replace her eventually," he thought, then said, "Fetch me a cup of juice. After I drink it, I'll go train." Marie stepped close and whispered in his ear, "Should I prepare the juice with human blood?" Christian waved his hand brusquely. "No need, just make it strawberry." But Marie leaned even closer, eyes glittering. "Human blood tastes very good, sir." Christian frowned and snapped, "I said strawberry." She insisted on human blood. Christian angrily shouted, "Strawberry." Scene shifts to the corridor. Christian slung his backpack over his shoulder, preparing to go train. Cox's voice called from behind, "It's still early and you're already going to train. I'm worried you'll overexert yourself." Christian turned to look at Cox. He continued in a warm tone, "Of course I'm very happy and proud to see you so diligent. I'll always trust you even if others criticize." Hearing that, Christian suddenly snapped, clenching his fist, "I never told you to trust me. Who are you to decide whether to trust me or not?" Cox's face darkened. He bowed his head and apologized. "I'm sorry. I've crossed the line. Have a productive training session, young master." With that, Cox turned and left. Christian watched his retreating back. Christian thought there was something suspicious behind that devotion. Then he turned and walked away. After a while, Christian arrived at the training ground. The people here no longer looked at him with the same probing eyes as before. He thought to himself, their gazes are more complacent now. Now that they're off guard, maybe I can win them over step by step. With that thought, he tossed his backpack to the ground. He grabbed his sword and sliced a few strokes through the air to warm up with decisive movements like a true warrior. A soldier noticed the action. He hurried into Melon's tent to report to the deputy commander. "Young Master Christian is in the training yard again today, sir." Hearing this, Melon fell silent, her expression briefly thoughtful. "What is he calculating? What about that one-on-one match the other day?" The young master's movements were indeed impressive, but she didn't expect Christian to dispel his dark energy at exactly the right moment. She wondered if Christian had seen through the entire flow of the match. If so, his talent might even surpass young Master Eshid de Baron, the direct heir of the main family. No, he's just a bastard. He squandered all his dark energy through a debauched lifestyle. Now it's impossible to make up that gap. Suddenly, noise from outside pulled Melon out of her thoughts. She stood up, stepped out, and shouted, "Why all the noise? What's going on?" A soldier replied, "Deputy Commander, the matter is, the young master had a minor conflict with a servant." Seeing someone sprawled on the ground, another soldier asked what happened. The one beside him replied, "Cannon is a 1-star demon after all. Could the young master have reached 1-star too?" Hearing this, Melon's face showed a flicker of surprise. Christian paid no mind to the gossip. Turning with a challenging tone, I wanted to witness the famed power of the Black Knights myself, but it seems they don't live up to their reputation. Anyone want to step up? Of course you're not a bunch of cowardly knights, right? Hearing this, the surrounding soldiers clenched their teeth in anger but dared not act. Suddenly, a foot stepped forward from the crowd. It was a muscular fiend with deep purple skin. In a deep voice, he introduced himself, "I am Torin." Seeing someone step up, Christian smiled. "They're trapped." Then he swung his arm and charged. No sooner had he finished than Torin rushed in with his sword. Christian thought he didn't expect them to willingly teach the knightly skills to a useless person like him. "If so, I'll take them by force." All of Torin's attacks were easily blocked by Christian. During the fight, he observed and learned their sword grip and footwork. So this is the swordsmanship from the rumors. If I do it roughly like this, it will work, huh? Thinking that, Christian imitated Torin's movement and swung a powerful cut at his opponent's face. Torin spat blood and fell to the ground. Melon could only stare in surprise, while Christian broke into a satisfied smile. With that single strike, he had defeated Torin. He stepped forward, sat on the fallen man's back, and faced the crowd. Well, the onlookers buzzed. One exclaimed, "Impossible, the young master that strong. Wasn't his dark energy destroyed? How could he be 1-star? The most shocked was Melon. Her eyes went blank. So I was wrong then. As they murmured, Christian turned with a disappointed tone. Truly disappointing. It seems I placed too much faith in the knights. If your skills are this pathetic, Deputy Commander will be held responsible. Hearing this, the knights behind were sweating nervously. One whispered, "That madman, should we jump in?" Melon spoke up. "Young master, I understand you're pleased by this unexpected victory, but haven't you gone too far?" Christian took a fighting stance. "Then, Deputy Commander, will you show me the true skills of these Black Knights?" At that, Melon's face darkened. She drew a sword from a nearby soldier's hand and charged at Christian. A thunderous slash tore through the air, but Christian deftly slipped aside and evaded. The attack left a deep groove in the ground. Melon gritted her teeth, threw the sword forward, and shouted, "I can deal with someone like you in the blink of an eye." Seeing Melon furious and eager to strike, Christian said calmly, "Do you intend to use your full strength against someone like me? We'll only use 1-star dark energy, and dark magic is forbidden. Of course, weapons are limited to wooden swords." Melon frowned, puzzled at 1-star. Immediately, a nearby soldier hurriedly swapped her wooden sword for a real blade. Melon thrust the wooden sword forward, her voice cold. "I'll break both your legs using only half that strength." Hearing that, Christian glanced down at his legs and sneered, "I'll bet on these legs." "What about you, Deputy Commander?" Melon answered immediately, "Whatever." With that, she lunged at Christian, shouting, "Don't think you're walking out of here today." A powerful slash tore through the air. Christian quickly raised his wooden sword to block. Instantly, he parried and counterattacked. The two exchanged blows in rapid succession, the clashing sounds ringing nonstop, which astonished the crowd outside. They watched for a moment and then started whispering. One soldier blurted out, "How can he hold his own against the Deputy Commander for so long?" Another interjected, "Isn't the Deputy Commander's main weapon a greatsword?" But only those involved truly understood the situation, Melon thought to herself. "It's not for some other reason that my strikes don't hit him. He's weak inside and out. He couldn't possibly be my match." Didn't the same thing happen when he fought Thurn and in the previous match? Seeing her stunned, Christian smiled. "Seems things aren't going the way you planned, are they?" Melon's expression darkened and she barked, "Shut up." Immediately, a wave of dark energy enveloped the wooden sword, forming a terrifying magical force behind her. A thunderous slash was unleashed, but Christian remained calm. He focused and slipped to the side to dodge the blow, thinking, "Now's the time." He instantly stomped hard on the ground, hurled himself at Melon, and butted his head straight into her beautiful face. Melon clutched her face in pain as blood ran from her nose. Christian frowned slightly, inwardly pleased. Success. Melon is sword-based. As long as her dark magic is bound and her defense is exposed, she can't use physical strength to counter me. A deduction was correct. If she were a fiend specialized in swordsmanship, this wouldn't have worked. Melon stared at her bloodied hand for a moment, then suddenly burst into loud laughter. "Ha ha, a headbutt, unexpected. Seems I underestimated you a bit, young master. I'll be more focused." Christian just scratched his face and didn't reply. Inwardly he thought, but hadn't the match already ended when my headbutt scratched her with my nails? If I concentrate solely on my nails, do you know what will happen? Melon smiled and rested the sword on her shoulder. "I accept defeat. Tell me, what do you want? But in return, can I have another match with you?" Christian smiled. "A rematch? Then you'll have to agree to my second demand." Melon answered, "Anything at all." Christian stepped closer, leaned close and whispered, "So you'll kneel before me." At this, Melon's face fell. She said, "Do you know that's a condition I cannot accept?" My loyalty is pledged to the Baron Main family. Christian replied, of course I know you're here visiting from the Main family, but if I become the clan's heir, won't everything resolve itself? Melon stammered, young master, that's absurd. The 5 heirs with succession rights are all direct descendants of the Main family. Christian sneered, there's no law saying someone from a branch can't become heir, right? Whatever the condition, I accept your demand. He slung the sword over his shoulder. One victory, so what? I still need more training, but next time let's limit ourselves. Melon replied, if so, by then you won't beat me, young master. Christian shrugged, who knows? In the meantime, there's little that is truly impossible. Having said that, he saluted, turned his back and left. See you next month, then I'll show you where loyalty should lie. The next day, Christian handed Melon's letter of recommendation to his father. He said the fiend's strength is very weak. They need focused training. Count Khazar read the letter, recalling a few days before when Melon met him. She had said, young master is a genius. Despite his low star rating, he still defeated someone as well-trained as I am. He wondered even about her. Melon replied, yes, it was a rare match I enjoyed. Back to the present, the Count looked at Christian, thinking to himself, this brat. This time he really has. Seeing his father starring, Christian spoke. Is there something on my face? He replied, nothing. Then he held out his hand and gave him the promised key. I'll give you the library key. Christian took the key and quickly left. Outside, he was overjoyed. Excellent. I got the library key and changed Melon's opinion. She's a fiend from the Baron Main family. In the Age of Destruction, she was a 6-star fiend. To control the entire fiend clan, I need to win her over with my credentials. Not fully conquered yet, but a month should be enough because I'm a genius. Thinking further, he smiled at Count Khazar's expression earlier. Wasn't that the proud look of a father? I suppose fiends have family feelings too. Maybe he's even a better father than the one in my previous life. I won't disappoint you, Count Khazar, he said, then opened the door and entered the library. The scene before him made him exclaim in amazement. Walking around, he thought inwardly. Blood magic, summoning research, curses, all the things banned in the Kwong precinct. He casually pulled a book from the shelf. As he took it out, a pair of eyes appeared behind the shelf and startled him into a loud shout. Who's here? It turned out to be Marie. She laughed loudly. Ha ha, what else would it be? I'm the librarian here after all. She looked cute and winked. Could it be you want to monopolize me as your personal maid? Christian's expression darkened. Shut up. Marie pouted, oh heavens. Such blunt words. My heart's pounding here. Christian felt like going mad. He shouted, shut your mouth right now. But Marie only laughed harder. Looking at the book Christian chose, she said with interest, young master, the book you picked contains a 4-star dark magic called the Binding Seal. With your current level, I'm afraid you won't be able to comprehend it. He closed the book slightly, folded his arms, and puffed his chest confidently. No problem, I'm a genius. Marie pondered for a moment, then put on an exaggerated face. Oh my ho ho ho, our young master is not only handsome, but also a super genius. Seeing her forced expression, Christian snapped, don't force yourself. Marie giggled and continued. There must be a reason you specifically chose that book, right? He nodded slightly. Yes, I need to catch a mouse. Scene cut to the next day. Christian was doing long-distance runs with everyone at the training ground. While running, he thought about suspects in the attempt on his life. First is Thurn. No one in the house despises me more for being useless. Next is Cox. Although not an heir, he comes and goes freely in the punishment cavern. Fiends value strength over status, yet he clings to me, flattering relentlessly. It could also be a third force I haven't noticed. Whatever the case, they want to see me fall. The proof is the dreamstone in the punishment cavern. Perhaps I should play the bastard they expect. Whoever seems pleased when I cause trouble must be the culprit. Thinking this, Christian suddenly stopped and shouted, damn it, this is too difficult. Then he turned his back and walked away. Have fun, I'll cramp up first. The others watched him go, whispering among themselves, what's wrong with him, I wonder. Night fell and the household was dining, when suddenly the clatter of breaking plates rang out. Count Khazar shouted, Christian. But he paid no heed. Turning to the maid, he barked, you should have chosen a decent dish for me from the start. Then he waved his hand. Hey, is that old person still standing there? Remake my food. Count Khazar's face darkened in anger. I was a fool to think you had finally grown up. Having said that, he turned his back and left the dining room. Christian watched his father's retreating figure. Christian felt remorseful inwardly, but it's all for the family's benefit. Please understand me, father. Call me a demon if you like. I've poured effort into spreading rumors that I've become the kind of scoundrel who bullies maidservants while they clean, waving my arms in boredom, spending money like water, living decadently. Staring at the glass of wine before him, Christian shouted, why won't you give me real wine? Mary chuckled, ho ho, but you're drinking wine right now. He snapped angrily, that wine's worthless, you turned it non-alcoholic. She smiled awkwardly, you're still too young, the young master shouldn't drink. Christian frowned, then what of it? I'm the useless one. Marie continued, have you decided to go back to being a bastard? It's fine, no matter what, this lady will always stand by you. Hearing that, Christian frowned and turned away. He drew a magic circle in the air with his hand. But I told you I'm hunting a mouse. Looking at the circle, Mary marveled. Impossible, you've mastered the binding seal? Christian smiled. I told you I'm a genius. I modified it to use at a lower level, not only because of time, but also because I've diligently practiced countless spells. Marie bit her lip. Are you really a genius? Just then Thurn pushed the door open and entered. He approached Christian, seeing the scene he thought, I must pretend to be drunk, and made a drunken expression. What's this, Thurn? What are you doing here? Thurn shouted, is this all you can do? I thought you'd changed for the better. Seeing Thurn's anger, Christian smirked inwardly. He's truly mad. That removes him from the suspect list. He said, Thurn, do you think there's a mouse in the house? Thurn looked puzzled. What are you talking about? Christian stood and stepped closer. Someone wants to see me fall. I'm going to play along for a while. Thurn was shocked. Are you saying it was all an act? Christian poured wine and handed it to Thurn. Yes, even this wine is fake. Thurn asked, who is that mouse? Christian tilted his glass slightly. It's hard to say right now, but they'll take the bait. Saying that, he hurled his glass to the floor and it shattered. Suddenly a butler ran in from outside. What's the matter, young master? Christian continued the act. This isn't the wine I ordered. Send for another bottle at once. The butler stammered. Mr. Cox is currently busy. Christian asked, he's busy? I'll pay him a visit. Thurn was horrified. You act so convincingly. This household is full of actors. Minutes later, Christian arrived at Cox's place and slammed the bottle down in front of him, startling him. Why have you come here, young master? Christian poured the bottle straight over Cox's head. This isn't the wine I ordered. Are you mocking me? Cox rose calmly. Of course not. I'll order the exact wine you need. Christian replied, I don't need you to. He pointed at Cox's face. Go fetch it yourself. Cox clenched his hands slightly, but I'm busy. Christian slapped Cox hard across the face. Do you plan to work like this? Go change your clothes and then go. Cox trembled and gritted his teeth. I'll be back soon, young master. Saying that, he left. Watching Christian go, he thought to himself, I must praise his patience in enduring this humiliation. But that suspicious thing. He glanced at the stack of documents, stained with wine beside him, casually picked up a bundle to look through. A smile spread across his face. Here we go. If the butler is the mouse, he's certainly involved in the finances, but that's not enough. I need clearer evidence. Just as he set the papers down, Cox entered. Here is the wine you requested. Christian calmly, thanks, you're not mad at me, are you? Cox replied, of course not. How could I dare be angry with you? Christian laughed, good. Ha ha, I don't know if you realize it, but you're the master's favorite. Cox nodded, I'm very grateful. By the way, young master, I have a message for you. Christian startled, what is it? Cox continued, your friends want to meet you secretly at the old spot. Christian thought, friends? Cox added, although I don't want you to associate with them. I have no right to judge your friends. Christian sneered him, perhaps I'll see them. Cox replied, yes, all as you wish. Seeing this, Christian smiled inwardly. Everything was progressing better than he expected. The next day at a tavern, Christian met his wicked old friends again. They drank and joked. Christian, I've heard you've changed recently, but I don't believe it. We know you well after all. He suddenly noticed the small waitress and felt disgusted. Making such a young girl serve drinks was the work of scumbags. The two others raised their glasses, urging, come on, drink, Christian. But he didn't clink glasses. He only lifted the cup to his lips to sip, irritating them both. What are you hesitating for? Finish it. Unable to endure their disgust any longer, Christian threw his cup straight into the fat man's face. He choked and accused him. What do you think you're doing? Christian coolly, just testing the wine. Judging by your reaction, I know this wine is definitely undrinkable. The fat man flustered. Seeing Christian had seen through the plot, he quickly raised his hand to use magic, pressing hard against the waitress's forehead. In an instant, Christian caused the girl to faint. The fat man was stunned. You can even use dark magic. Seeing no one could stop him, Christian stomped on the big table and shouted, I don't think you should be surprised by this. The two were terrified by his outburst. Christian grabbed the fat man's head and smashed both their heads down onto the table. Blood gushed out. They begged in fear, stop, please. The fat man trembled. Why are you hitting me? Calm down. Christian withdrew his hand. It seems you still haven't realized your mistake, have you? Then die. He drew a dagger, his gaze full of murderous intent. After being tortured for a while, both begged fearfully. Spare me, young master. They confessed honestly. We were forced to give you drugs and then frame you. He threatened to expose our drug dealing, so we had no choice. Christian stepped closer. Who ordered you to do this? The skinny one stammered, too scared to speak. He slammed the dagger down in front of them, threatening, "If you don't speak quickly, I'll chop it off." The skinny man, terrified, confessed everything. "Please spare me. I will do anything you command." Christian didn't fully believe him. "Really? You'll do anything?" Both shouted in unison, "Yes, we swear." He barked, "I can't hear you." The two wailed and cried out, "We swear." Hearing that Christian was satisfied, "Fine, I'll remember this. You must be loyal to me unto death." With that, his magic surged forward and forced a slave pact upon them both. Afterwards, they foamed at the mouth and fainted. Over here, Cox ran in to report to Christian's father. "Young master, something's happened." He asked, "What's the matter?" Cox hurriedly said, "The young master has killed someone." Ridden couldn't keep his composure and leapt to his feet. Cox continued with the information. "Last night, the young master drank, killed his table-mate, and threw him into the river. This won't be easy to deal with. What should we do, sire?" Hearing his son had killed and hidden a body, Ridden was horrified and hurried away, not forgetting to order that Christian be brought before the demon court. "I will petition for the right to try him personally." His gaze darkened terrifyingly. Cox, seeing the plan was about to succeed, couldn't hide a satisfied smile. At the demon court, Christian was presented as the culprit, but he insisted he was innocent. The judge didn't believe him. "Are you fooling children? The witnesses are still standing there." Christian denied it. "This is simply impossible." He looked up at the two men and asserted, "I think there's been a misunderstanding here." At that moment, the waitress from yesterday entered. Christian smiled and turned the tables. "The girl, the maid, is alive and right here." The two men were astonished to see her still alive. The girl removed her cloak and testified that the young master brought her home after she fainted, and even gave her money to pay her lodging. But the two men were the villains. They had drugged the young master's drink. Everyone in the court was bewildered. What on earth is happening? Christian wasted no words and acted immediately. The two suddenly lost their nerve and confessed. "Yes, we filed a false report. It was all on Butler Cox's orders to frame the young master." Cox denied it. "What the hell are you saying?" He turned to the judge. "Your Honor, they're slandering me. The young master and his friend are blaming me. This jest is not amusing." Seeing Cox react exactly as expected, Christian sighed. "I knew you'd respond like that." He requested the judge, "Father, since I am also a victim, may I make one petition?" The judge asked, "What is your petition?" Christian smiled. "Allow me to, in my capacity as my father's representative, question Butler Cox." The judge was stunned, then accepted. "Very well." Cox stepped onto the stand and was about to speak, but was blocked. "However, if you act improperly, I will revoke your privilege immediately." Christian replied, "I'll be brief." He took the stand and declared, as the representative of the Demon Emperor, the great leader of the Magic Empire, member of the Dark Clan, and representative of Count Khazar, "I will now interrogate the defendant." "Cox, are you certain you will answer me truthfully?" Cox raised his hand. "I swear." Christian asked again in the name of the Demon Emperor, "Are you sure you will answer only the truth?" Cox affirmed, "I swear." Immediately, the slave contract was sealed. Cox clutched his head and screamed in panic. Everyone in the court was astonished. "Is that a binding seal? How could someone like him use 4-star dark magic?" Christian smugly, "This magic has been modified so even lower ranks can use it, but it has a side effect. The target must swear twice." "You're trapped, Cox." Cox was furious but could say nothing. Christian asked, "Didn't you just swear to speak only the truth? Then why did you order those two to harm me?" The pressing of the sigil caused Cox agonizing pain, and he confessed the truth. "I acted on someone else's orders. He knew I was embezzling and threatened me. He forced me to harm the young master. That's why, since you were little." Ridden couldn't believe it. "What did you say?" Christian smiled. "So you admit it. It seems you've been embezzling quite a bit, but I already knew that." He stepped down and demanded, "Tell us who ordered you." Cox stammered, "Please, sire, if I say." Christian intensified the magic. Cox writhed in pain. "It was Lord Eshid who told me." Ridden was shocked. "What?" Everyone murmured. "The second young master of the Dark Clan, Lord Eshid de Baron." Cox panicked. "He'll kill me." I had to run. But before he could do anything, Christian drew a sword from a guard. He immediately hacked Cox down. His head fell before everyone's eyes. Christian coldly accepted the authority from the Count. "I have carried out the punishment of the criminal." Ridden stood dumbfounded at the scene. Ridden approached and asked, "Tell me why you made this decision." Christian replied at once, "If we let Cox live, that legitimate family will scheme and fabricate evidence to cover this up. We cannot coddle them too much. Besides, I intend to make everyone here remember the truth of this matter." This surprised everyone. Christian's gaze grew serious with no hint of joking. "Eshid has been trying to sabotage you." He continued speaking. Khazar only frowned, sweat pouring down. Then he opened a magic space and ordered, "Follow me." They stepped through into a space, a training yard. Christian asked, "Where are we?" He replied, "This is a secret training area. There were too many eyes in the courtroom." He then seriously asked, "When you said Eshid would cause more trouble over the succession conflict, did you mean that? The power and prestige of a family are tied to the heir they support. Your decision is correct, but I feel you acted too hastily. Given the current situation, we must support the eldest miss and the eldest young master, not label him as a mad, bloodthirsty man." Christian looked away, smiling. "There is another option. I will become the heir." His father objected immediately. "That's absurd." He paid no heed to the objection and explained, "Someone from a cadet branch can be recognized as heir if they are capable. That's only a formal rule, not practiced. How could I know? So why do you think Eshid is trying to sabotage me?" Khazar clarified, "When you were young, you may have been more talented than Eshid, but now you've fallen far behind him." Christian didn't yield. "I'll catch up quickly, but to do so I need your help. Please use your authority to propose that I join the Dark Sacred Rite in 2 months." Ridden wondered, "You must reach 2-star rank to participate in the rite. You've only just reached 1 star, right?" Christian wouldn't give up. "I'll reach 2 stars within 2 months. Hearing his son, he was stunned. "What?" Christian smiled brightly and pleaded, "So please help me, father." After everything was settled and they returned to the manor, the servants whispered, "The young master has completely changed." A maid said, "Lately I've heard the Count personally training him." A male servant added, "You mean the training that even veteran knights struggle with? I wonder how long he'll hold out." In the training yard, Christian simply chopped a monster in half, his eyes sharp, binding it with mud sword technique and finishing it with the black scythe sword technique. After the strike, he turned and asked, "Right, father?" Ridden was surprised. "I only just began teaching him the black scythe sword technique today. How did he understand it so quickly?" Christian, impatient, "But do I really have to do it this way, keeping them separated like that?" He looked puzzled. Christian gripped his sword and lunged forward. "I feel there's a more effective way." He appeared at the monster's feet, struck a powerful blow, and destroyed it. Ridden was astonished. "That's mud sword technique. How did you do it?" Christian sighed. "The limbs of that mushroom humanoid are sturdy enough to withstand mud sword technique. But I wrapped extreme sword technique in the black scythe sword aura. The blade flashed with magic, leaving him dumbfounded. A 1-star cannot accomplish that." Outwardly, he maintained composure. "It's formidable power, but using 2 moves simultaneously makes casting the curse more difficult." Christian denied it. "It's not that hard at all. There's no inconvenience." He secretly gasped. 15 days later, Christian lay exhausted on the training field. Sweating, damn it, running was exhausting, but he couldn't slack off. Stamina is the key to raising his rank. During the break, a voice rang out, "Are you exhausted already? The match is coming soon, you know." I'm eagerly awaiting the appointed day. It turned out to be Melon. Christian thought inwardly, she always carries that strong presence. He stood up to continue training. "All right, I'm doing my best not to disappoint you." Melon sneered with contempt. "I know of your astounding progress, but you're still only a star. If you don't meet my expectations, don't expect me to kneel." Christian said confidently, "Yes, I believe that could happen. Even so, we'll learn something from the match, so it's not for nothing." He heard her speak boldly. Melon left satisfied, still full of vigor. "I hope you surpass your limits and please me." He watched her go and judged that Melon is currently a high-rank 4-star. Within 1 rank there are 3 tiers: low, middle, high. As a high-tier 1-star, he's still far behind her. But he comes from a wealthy warrior family, a coin-bearing fighter. He tightened his belt and smiled cruelly. Finally, the day of the match arrived. Christian asked Marie, "Have you packed?" And Marie replied, "Of course. It's our first trip together after all. I've dressed very impressively." He was startled and said, "Did I ever say you were coming along?" Marie was touched. "I see, you must be worried I'll get lovesick." "Don't worry, serving the young master is my honor." Christian was exasperated. A Bensi monster can get lovesick. Earlier, he had asked if they could change the servant into a human. Ridden refused. "It's impossible. You've signed a master-servant contract with Marie. A high-level Bensi cannot be managed without a contract." Christian angrily asked, "Then can't you just tell me how to cancel the contract?" He pointed out that he believed it required a deep kiss with Marie. "To be fair, when signing the pact you were dead drunk." Christian tore at his hair. "You're useless, old man." Back to the present, he refused Marie. "In any case, you can't come with me to crowded places." Marie was disappointed. "But I'm really looking forward to this trip." He sweat. "It's just that your spiritual energy can harm others." Marie was aggrieved. "I've been locked in the mansion for decades." Feeling sorry for her, Christian was helpless. "All right, you can go, but don't appear in front of others." Marie was overjoyed. "Thank you, best young master." He waved his hand, "Just follow me." Christian and Marie set off. Marie wondered, young master, where are we going? He answered, to a place where I can make a profit. Marie fanned her dress, making money fall everywhere. You already have so much money. Seeing the cash rain down, he panicked. That's not a lot, put it away. Marie asked, if not money, then gold, land ownership. He smiled and denied it. Wrong. Marie reached a dead end. So Christian explained, it's something I used before. Thurn suddenly appeared on the carriage and scolded, you're late. Seeing Thurn, Christian froze, bewildered. Thurn, what are you doing here? Thurn stated his purpose, I'm here to keep an eye on you, in case you act like a bastard again. Hearing that, Christian assured him, nothing like that, don't worry. He swaggered like a prince. After all, I'm just on my way to the casino, Thurn blurted. What? Christian climbed into the carriage and didn't forget to instruct Thurn, we are demons. Sinking into drink and gambling is natural. Gambling is even encouraged by the demon emperor and has reasons to be legal. Thurn didn't hesitate and decided, then I'll come with you there. Christian startled, then shamelessly ran onto the carriage proudly. Thurn, could it be you're worried about your beloved brother? Thurn was hit to the core, flinched and denied it. Why would I worry about you? I'm only worried you'll disgrace the family. The carriage set off, but the two kept chattering. Christian said, you know, I think for a bookworm like you this is a bit too exciting. Do you even know the rules? Thurn naively replied, isn't gambling just playing cards? Then he declared firmly, I'll knock that arrogance out of you. Christian teased, oh ho, not scared at all. A thrill rose in him. Ah, this coin-stiff sibling of mine, today you'll become useless. After a while they arrived before a grand casino. Thurn exclaimed for the first time, my God, I didn't expect a building to look like this. Marie, experiencing it for the first time, was excited. My woman's heart is fluttering. Only Christian stayed calm. He'd clearly been here dozens of times. He handed Thurn a mask. Now don't act like a country bumpkin. Put this on. You can only enter after hiding your identity. Christian reminded Marie, from now on stay hidden so no one sees you. And also come here a bit. He entrusted, go and... Marie cheerfully, I will obey, young master, after saying that she vanished. Thurn, confused, asked, where did Marie go? Christian, wearing the mask, replied, that's not something you need to worry about. We should go in. The two stepped into the casino, attracting everyone's gaze. The seasoned gamblers smirked. They looked like plump suckers, unexpectedly walking straight into the tiger's den. Christian leaned close to Thurn and challenged, hey, want to bet on who wins more in an hour? If you win, I'll call you older brother for a month. Thurn, excited, really? He added a condition, but if you lose, you must call me Honorable Emperor Older Brother. Thurn found the form of address odd and turned to ask what. Christian didn't say much and produced a pouch of money. Here's the cash. If you're afraid, forget it. Thurn burst with fighting spirit, snatched the pouch, who said, I'm scared. I'm going first, his eyes blazing with an indescribable fire. At the poker table, the dealer flipped cards and hit a straight flush. The man beside patted Christian's shoulder. Congratulations on your young lordship's win. Wow, you're pretty good. Play more and you'll make a fortune. Christian feigned naivety and happily scooped up the money. Luck's on my side today. He calculated quietly. Just the beginning. They'll let us win a little to reel us in, even though those arrogant suckers bet big. I know exactly how these scammers operate, when suddenly a shout rang out. Thurn clutched his head in panic. Impossible, the cards were clearly good. One of the suckers had fallen for the trick. Christian stepped closer. Hey, shall we go home and sleep? Thurn asked, you lost too? He replied, I only lost 500 rupee. Thurn, not to be outdone, said, I only lost 1,000 rupee. The others, seeing the two talking, quietly made calculations. Christian was pleased. Good, now everyone sees Thurn as a sucker. Certainly a con will lure him in. He asked, so are you going to keep playing? Thurn snatched the pouch. I'll win, here's the money. Christian grinned slyly. Remember, I warned you. Outwardly he said that, but inwardly he thought, don't claim you stopped me. I hope you lose everything and become easy prey, dear brother. Time passed as the people in the casino colluded with each other, pulling many tricks in front of him. Christian's plan was spot on. Finally, Marie returned and whispered, Master, I found the people you mentioned. He praised, well done. Thurn on the other side screamed in despair, I lost my 10,000 rupee. Marie cheerfully, I'm super good. Christian raised a finger, yeah, super good. The two left the casino and went elsewhere. Marie said, it's here, young master, please order the door opened, Marie. The door opened. The people inside jolted, turned, and rushed forward. Who are you? Christian didn't hesitate, removed his mask. Now I guess everyone knows who I am. They stammered as they recognized him. Why yes, young master, what business brings you here? He smiled, call your boss out. A gasp sounded, oh my, young master, you've come to visit. That is Grantle, head of the Grantle Merchants Guild. Famous for his trading skill, but Christian waved a hand, I hope we can speak privately. Grantle, frightened, asked, "What is this about?" He said bluntly, "You cheated my brother. I care deeply about him. How dare you ask what this is about?" Grantle flinched. Impossible. Could the masked man be? Christian confirmed, "Yes, he's the heir of Count Khazar." Grantle waved his hands. "Young master, I swear I only run the casino. What others do isn't my concern." Before he could plead further, Marie shifted form and shouted at Grantle, "Do you want to die?" He cowered in fear, dropped to his knees, knocked his head, and begged forgiveness. I'm sorry, I'm sorry. If I'd known he was the Count's son, I would never have dared. Have mercy." Christian asked, "That's not empty words, is it?" Grantle affirmed, "Of course not. I'll compensate. How much is enough?" He nonchalantly, 1 million. Grantle was astonished. "What?" He stammered, "Young master, we don't have that kind of cash on hand." Chris lowered it, then 200,000. Grantle cried, "Is that enough? That's all our assets." Christian's gaze turned threatening. "You must give me one more thing." Grantle, helpless, asked, "What is it?" After forcing Grantle to hand over the money, he used it to buy up weapons. Marie was amazed. "I didn't expect you'd use 200,000 rupee to acquire combat gear. What a brilliant plan, young master." Christian smoothed his hair, arrogant. "Of course it's brilliant." Marie noticed the sword at his side, but the sword they gave him was grenade. She wondered, isn't that the holy sword heroes acquired by sacrificing their souls? I've heard many demons covet it, because heroes used it after falling from grace. But now it's all settled, Chris said calmly. "It's fine, it's all part of the plan." Not wanting to hear her prattle, he handed her something. "Enough, take this. Haven't you been staring at it? It's that one." In Marie's hand was an exquisite necklace. She was moved. "Before death and even after death. This is the first time I've received a gift like this. Thank you, truly." Christian turned away, waved his hand. "All right, let's go home." Marie smiled brightly. "Yes, master. I'll put my whole heart into it as thanks. From now on, I'll make the blood sauce even tastier." He refused. "I've told you I don't drink that. You repay my kindness with hostility." Marie was puzzled. "But it was in the strawberry juice you've been drinking all along, master." Christian was helpless. "Don't joke so creepily." He brushed away some thought. "Wait, I feel like I forgot something." Marie also wondered, I'll probably remember later." Back at the casino, Thurn still sat there trembling, with only a single rupee left in his hand. Early the next morning, Thurn screamed loudly. The kid ran over. He yanked the blankets and pillows off the sleeping Christian. Thurn confronted him. "How could you abandon me?" "I was almost sold off like a slave. Luckily, someone recognized me." Christian yawned. Sorry. I knew Grantle helped you." Seeing his nonchalant face, Thurn growled, "How can I accept this?" At this point, Christian reminded him, "Hey, don't you think something's off? You lost, you have to keep your promise. From now on, call me Honorable Emperor Older Brother." Thurn heard it and went pale, sweat pouring down. He clenched the blanket in his hands, angry but resigned. Christian smirked and flicked his nose. "Huh, say that again." Thurn, furious, tore the blanket and shouted loudly, "Honorable Emperor Older Brother." Christian flicked the sputum from his hand, smiling. "Good, and remember to always respect me." Thurn was so furious he vomited blood. He left, but not without threatening that one day he'd make him submit. Just wait. Christian propped his chin and watched Thurn go, thinking to himself that the kid's future downfall would be his own fault. Eshid, Langam's son, the future head of the Dark Demon clan and the strongest young master. I can't sense anything from him because I'm not the real Christian, but if I want to become clan chief, I'll have to face him. He clenched his fist, determined. Just wait. I will help you avenge this. With that thought, he turned and considered. To do that, first he must win over Melon. Christian noticed the sword lying on the pile of luggage. After changing clothes, he stepped forward and took the sword on the floor, grenade. There was a time when countless people had tried their luck with it. This sword had once been treated as a display piece, because no one could wield it. Curious, he gripped it tightly, wanting to test himself. The moment he touched it, the sword radiated a repelling power, causing a dull pain to throb in his hand. He nodded as he thought, it rejects dark energy. No wonder it was made to use holy light. He took repair tools from the box. Anyway, you're just a sword. I'll modify your dark energy repulsion. Christian gripped a hammer and struck hard. Each blow carried immense energy. But what broke was the hammer, not the sword. He looked at the pile of tools, pained. Grab another hammer. He smiled cruelly. Brace yourself. In his left hand, he held another hammer. He threatened, I'll do this all night. The sword trembled as if terrified. A few days later, at the secret training grounds, his father asked, Christian, are you ready? He replied, yes, sir, then looked at the woman beside him and asked, who is she? I feel like I've met her before. The woman turned and he recognized her at once. Wait. He greeted politely, greetings, commander of the Dark Knight Regiment. She replied, my nephew, long time no see. The woman was Miriam, commander of the Dark Knights. daughter of an elder of the clan, Christian's father's sister, and a viscountess. She protects the elders, carries out secret missions, and oversees the elite families among the elites. Christian wondered why she was here. Ridden explained, Sister Miriam came to handle an issue related to Cox. Miriam chuckled. That child acted quite brazenly. Christian wondered, could an elder be trying to protect Eshid? That would be troublesome. He smiled. Seems the elders have plenty of time on their hands to bother with petty matters. Miriam replied, actually, he's not interested in your quarrels, but he's interested in you. Christian was surprised and determined that this would be his chance to win the man's favor. Miriam warned, I don't know whether you're brave or foolish. You're not even two-star and you dare challenge Melon. Why not postpone the duel? He tightened his grip on the sword. Arrogantly, thanks for your concern, but I have my own way. Miriam recognized the sword. Isn't that granate? She scolded, you've lost your mind. I know you're good at causing trouble, but I didn't expect this. She asked, Ridden, didn't you say Christian had changed? Are you protecting her? I'm serious. Miriam didn't believe change could come from using a holy sword in a duel. Christian wondered, am I not allowed to use it? I just need to win. Miriam exclaimed. Even the head of the family failed to master granate. It will burn you to ashes. Christian, are you trying to show off? He held the sword firmly without harm, confident. I'm fine. Miriam doubted, is it a fake? Seeing her disbelief, he tossed the sword. Do you want to try? The moment Miriam touched it, the repelling effect manifested. She threw it to the ground. How could you have this? He picked it up. That's a secret I cannot tell. But I can tell you one thing. The reason I can wield the sword when the head cannot is because I'm skilled. Ridden, hearing this, wore the doting look of an obsessed father. Suddenly a voice rang out. Young master, still amusing, aren't you? To even master a holy sword? It was Melon. She stepped out from a dimensional gate, not caring about his words or what he owned. So what? You won't see the sun tomorrow, Melon said confidently, which left Christian speechless. Melon straightaway dashed at Christian. He immediately used his sword to block the attack. Just as he thought, there were no limitations. He noted inwardly that her strength and speed far surpassed before. He couldn't close the gap at all. The two swords clashed, producing a chilling sound. Christian's sword flared with holy power, causing Melon's blade to warp. Ridden and Miriam, watching from the sidelines, couldn't believe the holy sword's power resisting dark energy. Ridden exclaimed, at that level, didn't the boy surpass you in his youth? Miriam continued, this is not over yet. Look at how that child moves to wield the holy sword. She pointed toward the two. The sword, imbued with divine power, was quickly enveloped by Christian's dark magic. He delivered a powerful slash toward Melon, sending her flying backward. Ridden marveled, the power is astonishing. But it seems the boy's dark energy is fluctuating. Miriam denied it. No, the boy momentarily controlled his dark energy to avoid the holy sword's rejection reaction. Melon retreated to a safe distance. Christian arrogantly asked if the battle had pleased her. Melon replied, I've been thinking about this for a while. You're predicting my moves, aren't you? Christian smiled. I happen to be pretty sharp-eyed. Every sword move has a preparation posture. She has to raise her hand before swinging down, and to do that she must move her muscles and upper body. This is common to both novices and experts, Melon sighed. Then activated magic. What about this one? The unexpected attack put Christian on the defensive. Melon was smug. A dark knight is a magic swordsman. I'd have been in trouble otherwise. Suddenly a blinding light flashed. Christian cheerfully thought how lucky it was that nothing happened. What he wore around his neck that rendered Melon powerless was a purifying relic. Christian turned to Ridden. Thanks to you I survived. Ridden tilted his head. It should have been kept in the secret vault. Christian admitted he had a habit of stealing sometimes, leaving Ridden and Miriam helpless. Christian pulled another item from his clothes. Good gear is a skill too. He threw it and the thing exploded, giving Melon no time to dodge. He warned that even if she avoided it, it wouldn't help. He tossed another red orb. It detonated violently. Christian casually. I got this relic with money from Grantle. Quite effective. Don't underestimate your opponent. He shouted, I know you're alive, come out. A sword shot out from the sea of flame. Christian nonchalantly swung and cut once, stopping Melon's sword. Her sword shattered to pieces, exposing her before him. Ridden proudly boasted to Miriam, see, we told you the boy is a genius. He threw a corrosive gem into the air. Miriam was silent, focused, and watching. Melon stepped out of the explosion, her body exuding murderous intent. Young master. She grinned, rushing at him. This is fun. What will you attack with next? Miriam flinched. Oh dear, Melon has lost her mind. We must stop her. But Christian quickly dodged Melon's punch with one hand. He lightly redirected the punch and then stepped back. Melon was surprised. You actually parried my strike. Finally, he pressed his blade to her throat. Christian excited. It seems victory is mine. Are you satisfied now? Blood flowed from the cut on Melon's face. Ridden beamed with pride. Miriam was helpless. Melon laughed. You really asked that? I can't stay calm anymore. Christian replied. Then please answer my earlier request soon. Even though I won, I'll respect it if you refuse. Loyalty can't be forced with violence. Melon wondered. If I stand by you, will you keep fighting me like this in the future? Christian grabbed her hand and pulled her up. Whatever you like, I'll indulge. The scene shifted to Miriam, who clasped her hands and stared into the distance. She had unexpectedly used dark energy like that. She recalled the clan chief, once throwing the grenade that Christian was holding. I refused, Miriam lamented, so even the clan chief couldn't do it. The chief replied I could wield it for a moment, but the dark energy waves kept shifting. You must constantly adjust so the sword doesn't detect the difference. Who can do that in a real battle? Only the demon king Gehenna or the dark dragon realm. Otherwise, only a mad bastard who controls dark energy as easily as breathing could use it. And that bastard is Christian. Christian smiled and asked Aunt Miriam, how am I doing? Am I worthy of praise yet? Miriam fell silent, then sighed that perhaps her father's long-held wish could come true. The luxurious kitchen space appeared, along with a lavish scene of chefs and bakers engrossed in their work. A baker with a fierce face brought a powerful chop down on a small item on the cutting board. The strawberry was quickly sliced in half into an appetizing shape. Each strawberry was neatly arranged on the cake, making it look irresistible. Christian was stunned. He couldn't believe he was making strawberry pastries. Marie laughed. Oh ho ho, don't judge by looks. His skills are top tier. The baker, having finished, stepped up to speak to Christian in a slightly lisping voice. Young master, what brings you to the kitchen? Christian put a hand on his hip to make some cookies. Marie asked, you're making cookies? He confidently said they're a gift for someone. Hearing that, Marie clung to Christian and wailed, it's for another woman, not me. Right. Christian shouted to the heavens, no, it's not what you think. Yes, it's for a woman. The baker politely offered, I can make the cookies for you if you like, but he refused. No, it's important I make them with my own hands. Christian closed his eyes proudly, though they didn't look perfect, when suddenly a spray of bright red liquid splashed straight onto his face. It came from the mortar, where two fierce-faced bakers were pounding what used to be strawberries. Christian panicked. Wait, you didn't have them put blood in the strawberry juice, did you? Marie only replied with a laugh, haha. When everything was done, Christian carried a box to where Miriam was preparing her horse to depart. He called Aunt Miriam. Miriam stopped and asked Christian if something was the matter. He smiled politely. I heard you're leaving soon, so I came to say goodbye. Miriam praised him. I appreciate that. Are you still tired from yesterday's duel? Christian offered the gift box. It's nothing, Aunt. I've got a present for you. Miriam opened the box to find neatly arranged, beautifully shaped and colored cookies. She was surprised. Cookies. Her eyes brightened, but her tone remained serious. You didn't need to go to so much trouble. Christian cheerfully said he was very happy to see her again and wanted to do something. Ridden stood beside Miriam, rubbing his chin. Only then did he realize. Aunt Miriam, what do you like to eat? He understood, aha, so this is why the boy is like this. Praiseworthy, he knows how to win people over. While Miriam hesitated, looking at the box, Christian said, try one piece, it's homemade. Miriam asked, really? You made them? She put a piece to her lips, the very first bite. She was surprised at how delicious it was, but quickly regained her composure. Ah, it's very good. Christian smiled, genuinely glad she liked it. Miriam said, I must give you something in return for this wonderful gift. Do you have any wish? Christian's gaze sharpened. He said, if possible, please become my real aunt. Miriam grew serious. Since we share blood, your words likely have deeper meaning. I heard from Ridden that you've been training in dark sacred arts. Is that right? Christian smiled and nodded. Miriam continued, I understand. So you want my support in the upcoming succession struggle. She bowed her head and sighed. Unfortunately, I cannot grant your wish. She explained that, as you know, the elders from the main branch must be fair to the candidates. That's the rule. Christian replied, no, I'm only making a sincere request. I want to be closer to you. Miriam asked incredulously, absurd, do you really have no other motive? Christian calmly, of course not, if you support and secretly help me. I certainly wouldn't refuse. He looked at Miriam with sparkling eyes. She ate a cookie and said, I don't dislike your honesty. The grandson who bakes and gives me a gift. I can only cheer you on. Christian beamed and thanked her. Miriam asked, but in return, can I have more of those cookies next time? He replied, that depends on you. Neither noticed Ridden beside them wiping away a tear of emotion. Christian teased, blowing a heart. If you make me sad, I might pout and stop making this flavor. The childish act made Miriam smile, but she suddenly asked, Christian, what do you think about joining the Black Shadow Corps? He hesitated at that. Miriam persuaded him, you stood out in the match with Melon. You can surpass the elders, but your opponents are not easy to defeat. I'm afraid your talent will wither before it fully blooms. Christian replied firmly that if he failed to follow his path, he would rather die, he declared confidently. I understand your worry, but I don't think I'll lose. Miriam looked at him, thinking to herself that his confidence was unreasonable. But with this child it might still succeed. She said, I understand. Since you're a devilish sort, I can't stop you from walking the path of blood. She climbed onto her horse and stressed to be wary of the high ladies. Ridden chimed in, be wary of Julian, not Eshid. Isn't she the most refined one? Miriam gripped the reins. You'll understand soon enough. Christian smiled. Thank you very much, I'll remember. Miriam turned her back and gave a soft smile. Farewell, my grandson. After she left, Christian returned to his room and flopped onto the bed. The space was unusually quiet. He thought his father and aunt were both very strong, reaching 6 stars, but he hadn't heard much about them. How many powerful warriors were there in the Magic Empire during the Great War? Surely enough to easily overwhelm the Kingdom of Light. He recalled his previous life, where the Kingdom of Light was reduced to ashes by the Great War. He didn't want the past to repeat. Christian clenched his hand in determination to rise. He must grow stronger, faster. A month later his father summoned him. Father called you. Ridden rubbed his brow. Yes, I have something to tell you. But before he could speak, he opened his eyes wide in surprise. Standing before him was Christian with a different, refined appearance. Wait, have you reached 2 stars already? Ridden with cold eyes thought, only 1 month in such growth. He shrugged slightly and asked, I don't understand why you're surprised, didn't I promise you? One side questioned, the other angry. Ridden placed the letter in front of him. News from the main family. He sighed, face darkening. I submitted you and Thurn as candidates for the dark sacred rite, but they only accepted Thurn. The reason felt like a punch to Christian's chest. Extravagant spending. Your philandering, flirtatious habits destroyed everything, damaging property while drunk, even stealing. It was all true. Upon hearing it, Christian felt his spirit drift away. He fainted on the spot. Ridden angrily, how dare they look down on my son? Christian woke and asked whether Count Langham made this decision after Eshid's misconduct. The Count no longer holds much influence anyway. Suddenly both exclaimed in unison, Loin de Baron. He is a direct line scion of the main family, the shining star of the dark sacred rite, the ritual in which candidates absorb pure darkness from the negative dimensional plane. Because darkness is limited, they enter semi-official death matches to compete for ranking. Those ranked higher claim more darkness. This rite determines which young master becomes the family's heir candidate. If Loin wins and monopolizes the darkness, Christian's goal will become even harder. Ridden stood and stepped forward. Don't worry, I'll speak to them. If you fail, I'll ask Miriam for help. Christian said, no need, father. I will handle it myself. Ridden placed a hand on his shoulder. I know you have talent and you've changed, but you can let the adults deal with it. Christian looked at his father gently, grateful for his father's care, but his face suddenly twisted into something sinister. I have my own methods, clearly not wholesome. He asked, are there any sons of Count Turamin participating from the branches? Ridden replied, yes, the 3rd son of Count Turamin. He shouted in anger, that scoundrel siding with Loin. He's unfit to join the dark sacred rite. He's just a fraud who controls beast demons. Christian helplessly watched his father shout and tried to calm him. I just need to prove myself. The Turamin family will hold a dark medicine hunt. I'll participate as the leader, he said with a crooked smile. The sunset cast light over the magnificent castles below. In the dark room, the clan chief held a golden hammer and mocked. I can hardly believe it. The child I remember called himself a genius, but he was a fake prodigy. Miriam reported that he is different now. The chief asked, do you believe this child can fulfill the wish I've long desired? That wish is why I wanted to keep living, even rejecting death by anti-nature dark magic. Miriam broke into a sweat. I'm not certain, but he's the closest to what you want. The space fell silent. The chief murmured, interesting, I will keep an eye on that brat, but his participation in the dark sacred rite seems unlikely, right? Miriam replied, that's the common consensus in the clan. Will you intervene, father? Miriam shook her head. No, father, you cannot intervene in such a minor matter. The chief laughed. How could a ferocious beast fail this small trial? Miriam flinched. The chief's face darkened, his sharp gaze fixed on her. She bowed and avoided his eyes. He is always harsh with those he expects much from. Because you're willing to go this far, you must truly like him. From the black smoke, blood-scented fake Simon, steward of the Dark Devil clan, appeared. You summoned me, master, the chief said in a low voice. You heard everything, right? Simon answered, yes, I only need to observe young Master Christian. The chief ordered, report to me everything he does before the dark sacred rite. Simon bowed, understood, but may I have a little fun while monitoring him? Miriam frowned, but the clan chief agreed. Don't go overboard. Simon smiled wickedly, his fangs flashing, then vanished into black smoke. Miriam closed her eyes. I hope that child gets through safely. Dusk settled over the peaceful village. Christian thought, thanks to talent I reached 2 stars quickly, but despite much training, dark energy is still insufficient to reach 3 stars. I need dark medicine to accumulate a large amount of energy in a short time. Yet the Turamin family's dark medicine hunt happens to make an enemy of me. What irony! To capture the Karajov fiend and obtain dark medicine, special conditions must be met. Wheels rolled along the long road. Grantle ran out. Young master, what brings you today? How have you been lately? Christian stepped down from the carriage with Marie. Wait, you're not coming empty-handed, are you? Grantle held up a bag. Of course not. He snatched it and flung it to the ground. Golden coins clinked. He sneered, such a trivial gift. You seem unaware of your place. Grantle placed a hand on Christian's shoulder. I've heard you've been involved in all sorts of illegal activities. Someone ran up and shouted, tax evasion at the casino. Does that turn a profit? What about the goods you swindled from the merchants? What do you want me to do, young master? Those who had been forcing the nearby villagers to leave relaxed when they heard Christian's name. This time I'll let it pass, but stop those activities that cross the line, understand? Grantle nodded. Yes, yes. He clapped Grantle on the shoulder. Get me a dark medicine. Grantle trembled, sweating. Dark medicine. Lately its price on the black market has risen sharply. Christian turned to Marie. Are you ready? Marie transformed into a fang-toothed monster. My torture skills are top-notch. Grantle panicked and fell to his knees. I'll fetch it at once. Isn't cooperation the easier way? Christian winked, and grab me a dagger sharp enough to pierce armor while you're at it. Grantle stared blankly, not understanding what he intended. After handling things, Christian left and Grantle remained behind, cursing and crying at once. Bastard. Marie asked, are you going home, young master? He replied, no, I have one more place to go. He noticed something in the distance. Can you stop the carriage here? The carriage braked sharply. Christian entered the shop. Welcome. He looked at the menu. I'll take this. A small bottle of pink potion was placed down. Marie whispered, do you need an aphrodisiac? Marie in the shop kept eyeing Christian suspiciously. It made him break out in a cold sweat, his face turning pale. Suddenly he snapped and turned. Hee-hee, master, could it be? Marie blushed and laughed. Okay, I get it, hee-hee. Christian snapped. I said no. Marie's face darkened. It's not for me but for someone else. He nodded slightly. Perhaps it's for the Count. The shopkeeper couldn't believe what he'd just heard. Christian said sternly, considering my father's age, he needs better care. He pointed at the seller. For the Count's honor, you must keep this absolutely secret. The seller nodded. Yes, I'll be careful. The scene shifted to Thurn going with his father to his place. The father patted Thurn's back lightly, making him tremble. Thurn invoked the title. My respected elder brother, the Emperor. I've heard the dark medicine hunt is very dangerous. Please be careful and don't get hurt. Christian winked teasingly. Oh, now you're worried about me? Thurn blushed. I'm just worried we won't be able to compete properly. Ridden interjected. Come on, you two, stop fighting. Make those arrogant Turamin bastards eat their words. Christian smiled brightly. I'll bring back good news. But what's with that Emperor title? He patted Thurn's shoulder. Father doesn't need to know, sir. At Count Turamin's house the scenery was picturesque, leaves rustling under blue sunlight. A sinister servant blocked the door. I'll say it again, you may not enter the Count's mansion. Christian and his companions were furious. How dare you say that after making us wait? Do you know who he is? Christian silently listened as the butler said, Young Master Awa commands it. He's not available for some illegitimate scoundrel. Murderous intent exploded within Christian. He growled, You mean I should find lodging on my own? The butler trembled, sweating. Yes, that's correct. A companion moved to rush in. Young master, I'll bring his head back. But Christian stopped them, stepped close to the butler. What about the lodging fee? Can you send the bill to Count Turamin? The butler forced a smile. In the sunlight, the fountain reflected the grand palace like a mirror. Christian led everyone into the majestic hotel. The butler asked, How much does this place cost? He generously said, 100,000 rupee. It's rare to spend someone else's money. My luggage has been taken to the hall. Everyone has 1 hour to settle in before going out to drink. His luggage emitted a brilliant blue glow. Marie suddenly flew out. Master, this mansion is awesome. She was enthralled, perfect for serving you. Christian was helpless. Why are you here? Marie danced. I hid in the luggage. I promise to be your maid forever. Master, you're embarrassingly cute. He sighed, looking at her expression. You must miss this woman already. Ulwa, the third son of Count Turamin, received the bill angrily. What is this? Christian sneered. You told me to find my own place to sleep, so I did. What did I do wrong? Ulwa roared, I don't stay in common hotels, so I just bought the mansion. Christian mocked, you're not warm from money, are you? You are pathetic hosts who don't know how to receive guests. This is a bargain to teach you manners. Ulwa gritted his teeth and clenched the paper. Summon the Black Panther, do you want to die? Christian thought to himself. Turamin's suppression technique binds beasts with fear. Unlike the Alliance's tamming methods, it uses a secret formula to paralyze rationality, inducing hallucinations of terror and arousal. More complex than he thought. Hard to learn quickly. For now, beat it to a pulp. He ordered Marie, eliminate that cat, I need a weapon. A sword appeared in his hand as he taunted. What are you waiting for? Charge like a demon. Ulwa ordered the Black Panther to attack. You bastard, don't give me orders. Fangs sharp, saliva spraying everywhere. Christian blocked the strike with his long sword, but the bite was too strong and the blade cracked. He was thrown back, rose through the dust. His counterattack wasn't bad, but 2 against 1 is cheating. How can you win? He taunted, if I win, I'll be the bodyguard instead of the guide. Only this will cover the costs, you cheap friend. Ulwa, furious, rode the panther and charged, you arrogant brat. I'll make you kneel. His eyes glowed red. The Black Panther swung its claws, but as it leapt, Christian had vanished. Ulwa was baffled. Where did he go? Christian reappeared behind him. He struck the club into the back of Ulwa's neck. Ulwa screamed in agony. He paused. Does it hurt? Don't whine. I'm not going easy because you cry. The 2 sides faced off. One like death incarnate, the other blinded by hatred. The Black Panther cautiously knelt down, trembling. Ulwa roared, you bastard, how dare you do that to my Choco? Christian laughed. I only used a 2-star illusion spell. Your pathetic suppression technique couldn't withstand it. Ulwa summoned a magic array and called forth a large black horse. Christian sneered, do you know the nature of trash? Before he finished, he launched a powerful strike that shot over Ulwa's head and felled him instantly. The black horse shook its head in fear. Christian asked, we're not going to wait for a transformation, you know. He entered the casino. Young master, are you sure? There's still time, I should rest. Christian annoyed. What's wrong with incompetent people doing incompetent things? He turned to Marie. Right, Marie, bring a cup of ginger water. Everything's fine. As long as the young master doesn't drink alcohol. He burst into tears. Damn it, I want alcohol. I don't like ginger water. A Turamin servant interjected. Why did young Master Ulwa order you to keep an eye on this bastard? Christian taunted. Why not join in and play? Master, you won't be sober by tomorrow. I'll beat him senseless. I'll keep it secret. What do you think? The 2 growled. No need to worry, sir. Christian laughed. Then keep watching to your heart's content. Dusk fell, he still played cards, tossing them away. Drink my share. This time I won't back down. Night came and they still hadn't stopped. The 2 butlers looked at him, as if they wanted to eat him alive. Christian got drunk, passed out with a card on his head. When he woke, he acted as if he'd never been drunk, cleaned up and left. He thought the pets were annoying. It's dark. I should act. He said, Marie, I need to go somewhere quickly. Don't follow me. Marie sadly, the aphrodisiac from this afternoon. Christian startled. What? Marie whispered. I knew it. It's not for the count, but for the young master to use. It's a shame I can't go to bed with you, but I support your nighttime activities. Darkness covered the mountains and forests. Christian pulled his hat down and slipped along the road. This is Turamin's secret area. The monster energy is thick, just like the rumors. He touched the canopy, almost at the hunting grounds. A camp appeared with 2 large fires. There were only 2 guards. Very lax, he used the invisible magic Marie taught him to slip past the guards. Marie showed up. Young master, what are you doing with invisible magic? Heh heh. Christian snapped. Why do you keep bringing that up? He infiltrated the base and saw the magic array under the moonlight. The black medicine hunting ritual was as bizarre as rumored. He recalled the warning. To obtain black medicine, you must make Karajoff offer its life, terrified to choose death over surrender. He drew lines on the ground. Light exploded like a great blast as fear and pleasure connected. The useless pill would be reborn into black medicine. That's why Turamin leads, by overwhelming monsters with fear. He grinned. I plan to steal their ultimate skill, to dose Karajoff with a mixed aphrodisiac until it went mad, then monopolize the black medicine. But there's not enough time to learn it. Must find another way. A cold sensation at his back made him turn, but he saw only the endless night. He stepped that way, hearing leaves rustle. The shadow led to a gigantic cave. A terrible demonic intent poured out. Don't tell me this is the Gehenna Fissure. The demon realm is dangerous. The magic array inside shone brilliantly. He stopped. Wait, what if he lured Karajoff here? He took out the vial, the bait to lure it. Good, can't wait any longer. Christian stepped deep into the cave. Unaware, a red-black shadow with claws was watching. It was Simon, who knew the kid was so interesting. Beating Turamin to death made the overseers slacken with incompetence. All its actions were within my sight. Simon smiled, fangs flashing. This makes me want to play with it on a bigger scale. He stepped on the magic array and thrust his hand into the fissure. Gray matter oozed down, creating a grotesque scene. A voice echoed, "What is your wish?" Simon licked his lips and reached toward the fissure. The next day, at hunting time, someone planted a flag in the ground, none other than Alwa. Christian was also present in his group, commenting, "Alwa must think he looks cool, even though he was beaten to a pulp." Alwa snapped, "Shut up, you fake. Why are you carrying the holy sword if you can't even use it?" Christian replied, "It's more effective than a club. Want to try?" Alwa changed the subject and ordered, "Lure the monster to the altar. Whoever's assigned to guard, stand beside it with me." Simon watched quietly from a distance, and Christian had clearly spotted him. Alwa urged Christian to answer, but he only said, "Whenever you want." At the altar, a guard told Christian to move aside. "You're interfering with the hunt," Christian said coldly. "Stay lying there if you like, but don't run up crying for help when everything goes to hell." The remark angered the man, but Alwa cut in. "Don't tire yourself out before we even start. The useless one can go hold the flag." Christian declared he'll protect the flag with his life, then sat under a tree muttering he wanted to watch them try their best, and then accidentally fall into my trap. He had prepared spikes and the aphrodisiac pill. The others began searching the area. He heard a sound and knew the monster was coming. Finally, Karajov appeared, a level 4 magic fiend. Christian asked why it looked so silly. Its appearance was oddly cute. The others asked Alwa if he was ready. "It's time." The beastmen in the group urged them to use the subdue skill. Alwa raised his hand and chanted. As Karajov slammed its beak to the ground, teammates cast slow spells to help Alwa close in with the subdue skill. Suddenly, Karajov's eyes changed. It roared and turned toward Alwa. He panicked and raised his hands to defend, but was slammed down by a powerful strike. Everyone realized the toxin came from its small, feathered tentacles. They hurriedly formed a defensive perimeter around Alwa. But Christian shook his head. "It's useless. It's gone out of control because of the aphrodisiac I gave it." Alwa covered his nose. Luckily, they took the antidote beforehand, but it's still dangerous if it lasts long. He shouted to try to stop it. Karajov lunged into the air straight at Alwa. The group yelled for him. Alwa shut his eyes in fear, but suddenly opened them to see Christian standing in front of him. Blocking the blow with a holy sword, Christian sneered. "House Turamin is pathetic. I didn't expect they'd force the standard-bearer to act. He said he'll save you if you call him Big Brother." Alwa cursed him a madman. "Why should I do that?" Christian shot back. "You really don't want to, as if I'm not famous everywhere." The others began coughing from the poison. Alwa gritted his teeth, realizing he was right, and had to beg for help. Christian replied, "Keep your promise." He slammed his fist into Karajov's head. Using his subdued skill variant, he created chains around one side of the beast to restrain it. Alwa was surprised. "How did you do that?" Christian smiled. "You really thought your family was the only one who knew how to use it. To me, intermediate subdue is nothing." He twisted and grabbed the chains, yanking hard like reins and leaping onto Karajov's back. It screeched and ran wild. Alwa shouted, "Wait. There's a crevice ahead," he tried to warn. But Christian smiled. "I knew since last night." He charged straight for it. Karajov panicked. Christian said this must be the first time it has sensed malice from Gehenna. "Be afraid." Its blazing red eyes turned a fierce gold. Christian tightened his dagger, stabbing through the creature's shell, killing it on the spot. The others ran over. "Are you okay? This cave is dangerous. We need to get out quickly." Christian replied, "Don't be so weak." He pulled an internal pill from inside the beast. Alwa's group was astonished. It turned out to be an internal pill, not a dark potion. Alwa grew annoyed. A beastman under his command asked Christian, "What will you do about this?" If you hadn't intervened, none of this would have happened, but Alwa cut him off. "Enough, leave it." He turned to Christian. "Thank you. Thank you for saving my subordinate, helping them finish without anyone being seriously hurt." Christian was surprised Alwa admitted it. He thought to himself he felt a bit bad. Worse when he realized he had swapped the aphrodisiac pill. Still, he had to do what needed doing. "Tell Alwa to call me Big Brother as promised." "Are you going to renege?" Alwa retorted, "I never promised that. I'm 2 years older than you." Suddenly the cave shook violently. Everyone was thrown down by the terrible pressure. Alwa panicked. "What's happening?" Christian realized something as 2 giant blue eyes appeared before him. He looked somewhat worried. A voice boomed from the demon. "It's been a long time since I've seen such an interesting toy." Christian muttered, "Demon of hell." Alwa trembled. Christian ran off. "You're an outsider, save yourself." Christian spotted Simon on the cave ceiling. He twisted his wrist and threw a dagger straight at him. The blade passed through, but it turned out to be one of Simon's familiar tracking devices. It lost connection immediately. Simon stared in surprise, wondering. When had he realized? Was he going to stop the demon? The clone fell and the teleport plan collapsed. He calculated that even using blood magic to the limit, it would take at least 5 minutes to arrive. If he was slower, everyone would die. He hurried off. Turns out he's not exactly a villain, just playing pranks like he told the chieftain. The demon said, "You're interesting. What are you plotting?" Christian replied, "I just hate being spied on." The demon laughed. It doesn't care much about someone who's already dead. Christian observed that compared to the Apocalypse-era demons, you're just a low-tier demon, but at least 5-star. Not something I can easily handle right now. He raised a finger. It's not all bad news. I've used a spell to put everyone to sleep like I did with the winekeeper girl. Alwa's subordinates gradually lost consciousness. Alwa shouted, "What are you doing? We need to unite and fight." Christian praised, "Your resistance to magic is impressive." Then he punched Alwa straight in the gut. "Sleep." The demon asked, "Do you intend to sacrifice them to me?" "Sacrifice them and I'll spare you and grant blessings." Christian snapped, "Stop barking. My rule is I don't bargain with demons." He drew the holy sword. The demon thought, not a bad idea, but said a holy sword you can't use is trash. It cast a spell at Christian. He blocked with the sword but didn't have enough strength. He was flung against the cave wall, unconscious. The demon grabbed him by the hand and lifted him up. "A final chance, offer them to be released." Christian spat in its face. "Why do you think I can't use a holy sword?" He broke free, clinging to its leg and crouching as it landed. He activated a different energy core. The tip of the holy sword regrew in a radiant glow. The demon panicked. "How can someone like you wield the power of light?" Christian asked, "Do you finally realize your life is in danger?" The demon replied, "This won't stop me." It formed a giant red orb. Christian braced himself and widened his stance. He shouted and unleashed the move, Sea-Ending Radiance. He swung his sword, creating a colossal golden wave that surged at the demon. It roared, impossible. Unable to withstand the blow, it collapsed to the floor. It seemed Christian had slain it. His eyes were tired. He'd pushed his body too far. His vision narrowed by the second. He fell and everything blurred. The scene snapped back to a past life. His friend Evan exclaimed, "You actually copied my ability." Christian roughly replied, "Yeah." Evan said, "You're truly a special character. Sea-Ending Radiance symbolizes the light that parts the Dead Sea. But ironically, even using swordsmanship, you do not become the light of the Mayer family. Yet you will surely be the light that saves the world." A blue finger touched the puddle. Christian still hovered on the brink of death. A woman spoke, "How interesting. I am Mefina, the first throne of Gehenna's 7th realm." Reinforcements entered the cave carrying a vial of cure. Christian closed his eyes. Mefina said, "She looks forward to your future actions." The scene shifted to Count Turamin's house. Christian said, "My head hurts so much I can't believe I lay here for 2 days. What a waste of time. But my body is fine." He began searching the room for the dark potion. Finding it nearby, he exclaimed, "Wonderful." He mentioned Mefina, saying that was an unwanted attention. Sometimes villains who stand out early receive a demon's blessing and are nurtured quickly. But I don't care if that's meant for the wicked. After all, a 7th realm Gehenna demon isn't some top-tier being. A knock sounded on the door and Christian paid attention. A lion-like giant entered and asked how your body was. This was Count Turamin, head of the Turamin family. Christian greeted him and intended to get out of bed, but the Count stopped him and said he should rest. Christian wondered what was going on. The Count explained that yesterday we organized an expedition to investigate the cave. It seems someone interfered with the magical sealing circle at Gehenna's entrance. Fortunately, the demons were summoned back during that time. But even that brief moment was enough for people to die. Christian wondered if they truly believed it was a reverse summoning. That made no sense. They could hardly think I killed it since I don't need excuses to earn an A+. The Count said he wanted to begin with an apology. "I apologize for treating you poorly based solely on rumors that you were useless." He bowed, "Thank you. You are a benefactor to House Turamin. I am grateful." Christian replied, "It's not like that. As a member of the dark magic houses, I only did what needed to be done. Though my conscience was hurt, I decided to muddy the waters a bit." The words seemed to resonate with the Count. He nodded, "You're right. If there's anything I can help with, say it. So long as it's not impossible, I'll make sure it happens." Christian thought for a moment and said, "In that case, I hope House Turamin will shed its old hatred of House Khazar. Instead of a relationship of enemies always barring fangs at each other, I wish for a friendly relation, competing while making reasonable plans for progress, worthy of our shared bloodline." The Count was about to say something, but Christian continued, "I'm sure House Turamin also understands that the reason the two houses are hostile stems from the main family's backstage maneuvers. If the branches unite, the main house will feel threatened. It's a scheme to keep us like guard dogs." The Count asked, "Do you intend to rebel against the main house?" Christian shook his head. "I don't think so. I only want the two houses not to be held back by past mistakes." The Count was astonished. He didn't expect you to think so far ahead. Christian smiled. "Thanks for the compliment. Will you accept my request? The Count replied, for the first time in a long while, I will contact Count Khazar. Then before he finished speaking, he called out. Ridden Christian smiled. That's right. If we unite one by one like this, we can form a firmer front in the age of destruction. The Count patted Ulwa's shoulder and called, What are you waiting for? My son has something to say. Ulwa awkwardly handed over the dark potion and gulped it down. When I went into the cave, it was on the floor. Because you were unconscious, I kept it. Christian said, If so, I'm very grateful. I want to give you more than you did. Ulwa snapped, Don't you dare. The Count laughed. I'll give him a gift on my son's behalf. He produced a summoning stone that could contain a level 4 beast. Christian marveled, What a rare item. The Count said, I'll also file a report so you can join the Dark Holy examination. I wish you good results. Christian thanked him for the gift and the encouragement. The Count told him to rest. As he and Ulwa left, Christian smiled and called, Come out. A red radiance appeared. Simon said, as expected, It's no coincidence you found me. Christian replied, I smelled blood. Simon introduced himself. I am the head steward of the H-1EAFC Ma family. Christian wondered if he was the chieftain's henchman. I've heard the name Simon before. The leader of the Blood Shadow Demon Sect. He explained that the Blood Shadow Demon Sect doesn't distinguish between the magical empire or the dominion of Apply. They are a cultist organization that loves slaughter and terror. Their leader is an evil being rated 8 stars, who rose to 9 stars at the end of the Age of Destruction and became the 10th Demon King. I lost count of how many times I nearly died because of him. Simon is the very blood and flesh of the Demon King. Simon said, I didn't expect the young master to be so impressive. You even destroyed a demon. Christian thought, I definitely handled it myself. He asked, Did you see the light that parted the Dead Sea? After a moment's thought, he denied it. I don't know what you're talking about. Simon laughed, I know you're pretending to be dumb. After entering the cave, the demon's corpse was completely destroyed with no trace left. That wasn't a reverse summoning, it vanished cleanly. I'm impressed by your skill, explain yourself. Christian asked, Why should I reveal my trump card? Simon reminded him this will be reported to the chieftain. Christian replied, If I were the chieftain instead of the bookworm answering every question, I'd want the predator to hide its claws until the end. Simon was surprised, You're interesting. Christian asked, Are you going to apologize? Simon wondered why. Christian explained that it's usually hard to tell reverse summoning from destruction just by the remains. That's why the Count was mistaken, but you believed the opposite because you did the summoning yourself. A demon summoning that nearly killed a family member is insane news the chieftain could hear. Simon said, I'll take responsibility. Christian decided to keep it secret. You should remember you owe me a great favor. Simon was surprised in agreement. Christian smiled. It would be great if you understood it that way. Simon nodded, I understand. I won't forget your mercy. Nice to meet you today. I count the days until you come to the main family. Christian thought Simon would play a big role in the Age of Destruction. I must build connections to change the future. Time passed quickly. After recovering, Christian prepared to leave, his luggage hovering in the air. Marie said, I'm ready. Christian praised, very good. Ulwa opened the door and asked, Are you leaving now? Christian reminded him, Use my title. Ulwa puzzled, What do you mean? Christian said, I let it slide in front of the Count yesterday, but a promise is a promise. Call me eldest brother from now on. Ulwa snapped, I already told you I'm 2 years older than you. Christian asked, Do you have something to say? Ulwa answered, I'm here to warn you. You say we're family, but I don't see it that way. Be careful. The one who will oppose you most in the Dark Holy examination is young Master Loin. Even at only 2 stars, the gap between the main house and branch levels is huge. The best pills, supreme techniques, and the blessings of direct line H-1EAFC, Ma descendants give them a superior starting advantage. You will be an easy target. Christian smiled. I warn you too, little brother. Don't enter the upcoming Dark Holy examination for your own good. Ulwa irritated. I'm saying this out of concern. Do you want to monopolize pure dark energy? Christian replied, Remember whoever the opponent is. They will regret facing me in the Dark Holy examination. Ulwa growled. Chris told Marie, let's go. He told Ulwa to think carefully and not regret it later. The scene shifted to the Khazar family. Thurn looked for his brother, but the steward reported he'd gone straight to the cave to train upon returning, wanting to train alone for the Dark Holy examination. Not long after, Thurn caught up with Christian, calling him in full, revered elder brother of the Emperor. Thurn said, You promised to duel me when you return. Christian was surprised. You've grown fast. Reaching 2 stars in general rank shows remarkable progress. He said he was busy training, then realized he was also entering the Dark Holy examination. Christian worried that's not good. He told him to wait. After I finish training, we'll duel. You should train too. Thurn demanded a promise, don't delay like last time. Be careful, Chris smiled, all right. Thurn left, he thought the boy was stubborn. Seeing Lori Ten's silhouette, the image of the green-haired girl flashed in his mind. She asked, you promise, right? The memory made Christian smile. He whispered, the kids like me. In the training area, Christian sat on the bed staring at the dark pill. Thinking there's still half a month left, he chewed it. It tasted bitter beyond words. He lay down trying to absorb it. It slid into his stomach, and he muttered, more chaotic than I expected. A strange sensation arose. He asked, what is this? The light energy within the pill. He wondered if the excitement of the beast as it died had merged into it. No wonder demons find it hard to absorb. He continued guiding it through the mana channels. All that remained was this force of light, which demons usually expel with the teacher's help. But why would I let something this good go to waste? He placed it into the light core, absorbing it along with the darkness. Light and darkness flowed through conduits to their corresponding cores. Christian opened his eyes, which flashed brightly, then closed his eyes, revealing darkness. At the same time, the scene shifted to a red-haired woman. She allowed her subordinate into the room, and he reported on the investigation of the dark pill. A demon was summoned during the hunt, but Christian survived. Sorry for taking so long to review this carefully, she praised, well done. The subordinate said, unless you have questions, I will take my leave. She looked at the photo of Christian. This young, beautiful woman was named Eidline. Time passed quickly. Half a month later, Thurn's younger brother came to Christian to demand a duel. Standing outside the door, he called to him, saying, today is the day you promised. Hearing that, a voice rang out, come in. In the room, someone was dressing, as if preparing to go somewhere. Thurn opened his eyes wide in astonishment. Christian turned back smiling, so you came this early. You must be eager to get beaten, huh? Thurn felt a different aura from his brother. What is this? His brother's overwhelming presence far surpassed that of half a month ago. He scolded himself and then complained, don't make me laugh. Christian replied, if you crave tasting my fist that much, I'll grant you your wish. But if I win, you must give up the dark sacred rite. Thurn froze, what did you say? Christian explained, you know the dark sacred rite is a competition. The weak should steer clear. The words made Thurn's eyes narrow. Angry, he drew his sword and challenged, shut up and draw your blade. Christian shook his head in exasperation. You're too stupid. Don't you see I'm concerned about you? Perhaps I have to hit you until you understand. His face showed anticipation. Without warning, Thurn tightened his grip on his sword and lunged to attack. But the result was unsurprising. He was defeated by his brother and no longer able to participate in the dark sacred rite. Ridden came to visit his youngest son. Seeing Thurn bandaged all over, he sighed and scolded, Christian, you went too far this time. The doctor says the boy needs 2 weeks rest. We'll have to wait for the next dark sacred rite. Christian requested, Father, may I speak to Thurn alone? Ridden was surprised but nodded, all right. I'll leave the two of you to talk, and he quickly left the room. Christian burst into teasing laughter. Hey, why the sour face? Don't whine like the idiots in the Alliance. You're the one who asked to fight. Thurn, sadly, you really didn't want to see me grow up, did you? He mocked and belittled his achievements, and even tried to hurt me to make me give up the dark sacred rite. His face darkened. Christian felt guilty. Sigh, at this rate you'll lose your mind. He explained, we're misunderstanding each other. I did it to make you stronger. If you faced me in the ritual, you'd forever lose the chance to absorb pure dark energy first. I had to be tough because you're so stubborn. Most importantly, pure dark energy doesn't suit you. You are better matched with gray dark energy. I know, like light energy, dark energy also has many types. Pure dark is the highest attribute. Just below it is gray dark, which is especially suited to curse magic. Based on memories from a past life, Christian asked, you find learning curse magic easier than swordsmanship, right? Thurn widened his eyes. How did you know? Christian couldn't say he had seen it in the future, so he made up that he realized it while sparring with him. He had fought his best, but if you absorb pure dark before mastering gray dark, it will cause problems when learning later. Not impossible, but it will slow you down. I know you want strength quickly. This is my sincere advice, from someone who always supports your growth. He took the dark potion from the previous hunt and gave this gift to him. Thurn was surprised, isn't this dark potion? Why are you giving me something so precious? Christian waved his hand. Because you're my brother, what other reason do I need? Actually, I think I've already had the better share. The words moved Thurn. Tears rolled down, but he held them back. He clenched the black handkerchief and asked, if you could change things, why did you act like a fool when Mother was dying? Do you know how much she suffered with you not by her side? Christian did not recognize that memory. It was not his. He sat down beside Thurn and whispered that at the time he didn't understand. Time passed. The scene shifted to the main family estate, where the dark sacred rite candidates had already arrived. They dismounted from the carriages. Christian complained he needed to stretch. How did we travel so far that my whole body aches like this? Can't they open a teleport gate? I can't believe this lock is so petty. He gritted his teeth before Marie interjected. Young master, a date with just the two of us, okay? Christian rolled his eyes, oh my heart's racing, but you weren't the one looking for that. He surveyed the carriages in the yard and thought that since the main family allowed one companion, he had chosen Marie bound by contract. He noticed a few people whispering about him. Marie covered her mouth. Ooh, the young master is famous already. Simon appeared and greeted, greetings, young master. In just half a month you've improved so much. Christian thought, does the family secretary have nothing else to do? Simon dropped the mocking smile. I come by the clan leader's orders. He wants to see you. You aren't surprised, are you? Already guessed? Christian winked mischievously, which annoyed Simon. No, I'm quite surprised. Putting that aside, Simon led Christian to meet the clan leader. Sir, I have brought the young master, Simon said. The clan leader turned and said, very good. Long time no see, Christian. The moment their eyes met, he felt a tremendous pressure wash over him. He thought this overwhelming presence almost made him lose his footing. Emitting such dark energy, someone like me cannot endure it. His whole body trembled as he clenched his fists to steady himself. He replied with a bow. Greetings, Duke Baron, the great lord of the dark magic clan. Baron asked, are you not surprised by this sudden summons? Christian confidently answered, I expected you would call for me. A new star has appeared in the clan. The confident remark made Baron laugh. Ha ha, indeed. Both Miriam and Simon couldn't help but praise you. But I am not sure what to expect of you. Even if you are a great seed, only time will show how you develop. Perhaps you are just a sprout that will fall as soon as it breaks the soil. His words held a hint of contempt, but Christian did not take offense. He nodded. You are right. I still lack much to deserve your expectations. But isn't the future different? Only time can prove whether a sprout will exceed expectations to become a great tree or mutate into a monstrous growth that overshadows the grandest oaks. I will not let you down. Christian's words were full of implication. Baron seemed unwilling to hear more. With a wave of his hand, I will hold high expectations for you. Now you may go. As Christian left the room, Miriam turned to their father. What do you think of the boy? Baron frankly replied, he has far exceeded my expectations. But with great talent comes greater hardship. Surely you know. Bloody winds are blowing toward the empire of magic. But today this small ray of hope, that child might fulfill the dream I've long nurtured. His gaze showing anticipation. Time passed quickly. The scene shifted to the night before the dark sacred rite, and the main family held a welcome banquet. At the entrance, two servants announced loudly, the eldest son, Count Khazar, has arrived. Christian Baron Khazar. Christian confidently entered the great hall. His appearance annoyed some people. Whispers, why would the clan chief meet an idiot like him? Who knows, he looks like a bootlicker. Christian wasn't deaf and heard the taunts clearly. He told himself, indeed I'm too handsome, oh my, being handsome is a burden. Seeing a servant carrying drinks pass by, he perked up. Hey, is that wine? He reached out to take it, but the girl refused. Master, you're not old enough, have some ginger tea. She poured a cup and handed it to him. Christian screamed inwardly, damn these tactless demons. I don't want ginger tea. Suddenly a shout rang out that drew everyone's attention. The young masters and mistresses had arrived. All eyes turned to the entrance. The first four to enter were the second young master Eshid de Baron, the handsome fellow who had tormented Christian since childhood. Next came the eldest lady, Julian de Baron, the second lady, Jupian de Baron, and the third young master, Mysek de Baron. Christian breathed easier that the mad eldest young master wasn't present. He wondered what Eshid would say. His little victim in the game, the one who tarnished his reputation. But Eshid walked by as if he didn't even see him. Christian fumed and cursed the bastard silently. After all this, he doesn't dare meet my gaze. I must be like an ant to him. Julian stepped forward and slightly lifted her skirt in greeting. Christian recalled Miriam's warning. Be careful of the eldest lady, but looking closely, he saw nothing unusual and told himself, I'll investigate later. After today's reconnaissance, we'll be ready to prepare for the ritual. As he turned, a butler cleared his throat and reminded him to greet young Master Christian. I am Fora, a summoner working for young Master Loin. Christian irritated, so what? Fora replied, I've heard an unworthy person will participate in the dark sacred rite tomorrow. I'm worried someone lacking ability could cause an accident and disgrace the dark magic family's reputation. Christian understood his meaning. You think I'm not competent, right? Fora answered, then you must prove otherwise. Christian looked up to the second floor, where Loin was standing. He cursed under his breath. If you don't like it, come down yourself. But I'll speak plainly at the ritual. I'll just toss this cup aside, proving myself is no trouble. Now show me your little trick. Fora, why the hesitation? Right here and you don't even have a weapon. Christian waved his hand. Do you expect me to use a weapon against you? Fora roared angrily. You'll regret this. Christian sneered. Who will regret it? I think you'll be the one regretting it. The confrontation drew Julian and Jupian's attention from afar. Time passed quickly. Guests on all sides turned pale at the sight before them. Old Fora was mercilessly punched and kicked by several phantoms, left clutching his head and taking the blows. In another corner, Christian was served by 3 phantoms like an emperor. Everyone couldn't believe what they had just seen. The summoner began with dark spirits, but with just a flick of Christian's hand, they turned and tore into their own master. How did he seize control so quickly? After enjoying being served, Christian stood and looked toward Loin. Was that the will of young Master Loin just now? The direct heir of the Dark family is that pathetic. If you're dissatisfied, come challenge me properly. The remark made Loin's face flush with embarrassment. He hurriedly denied it had anything to do with him. Christian mocked him. Even an idiot wouldn't believe that, but I'll trust you this time. See you at the Dark Sacred Rite. And he turned to leave. Hiding his angry face, he thought to himself, that coward. Next time I'll teach you manners. The day of the Dark Sacred Rite arrived, and the contestants assembled. Christian yawned wearily. Ulwa asked in surprise, Aren't you worried at all? You caused a disturbance yesterday. Christian turned in surprise. What are you doing here? I already warned you, this brat. Do you think I'd delay the ritual, you madman? Ulwa reminded him, and at the same time Loin stepped forward. His appearance ignited Christian's anger. He restrained himself from rushing forward to punch him. The host appeared and announced whether everyone was present. I am Sebastian, deputy steward of the main hall. I will now lead you to the sanctum of the Dark Sacred Rite. He struck his staff hard on the floor. The great hall trembled, revealing a secret passage beneath the ground. The candidates were astonished. Is it underground? Ulwa exclaimed. Christian, with his experience, sensed something was off. This is illusion magic, creating an imagined space. Sebastian paid no heed to the surprise and hurried down the stairs. Despite his small stature, he moved with unexpected speed. The group panicked and ran after him. He left us behind. They dashed after him with all their might, but found it increasingly difficult. Before reaching the sanctum, the crowd was exhausted. They were drenched in sweat. Strange. Weren't we supposed to be going underground? Why is there such a steep slope? Sebastian saw the contestants falling behind and called out to hurry up. The ground won't support you forever. As soon as he finished speaking, the ground trembled and threw 2 candidates far away. The others recoiled in horror. Sebastian called back, You're late, I'll speed up now. He shot forward like a machine. A moment later, 2 more people were flung away. Loin smugly thought the losers couldn't keep up. Vermin unworthy. But he froze when he saw Christian running alongside easily. Not a drop of sweat on him. Why wasn't he sweating? Christian sensed Loin's mocking gaze. Have you tried your hardest? It turns out you were all talk with no skill. The direct heir should be better than this. Didn't they give you plenty of tonics? He silently mocked these foolish candidates. Their stupidity only made their bodies suffer. Running at full effort in the illusionary space was a complete waste of energy. No matter how hard I try, my endurance doesn't wear down. As long as I turn the incantation, I'm invincible here. Sebastian noticed Christian's ease. Oh ho, it must be young Master Christian, huh? Time passed. The group reached the sanctum. Except for Christian, the other 3 were nearly dead, exhausted. Ulwa couldn't hide his curiosity. How are you unharmed? Christian didn't explain the trick and admonished him to train his body more instead of always riding beast mounts everywhere. A pale man who looked near death stepped forward to greet them. This is the sanctum where pure dark chi erupts incessantly. We call it the Holy Chamber. I am Rihu, keeper of the sanctum. Greetings, young masters and ladies. Today you must seize the pure dark energy as great as a 3rd-rank demon lord, the destroyer of darkness, ancestor of the Dark family. Rihu said, waving his hand to form 4 streams of white energy toward the 4 doors. He explained, however, that amount isn't enough to share. The beasts inside will test your credentials. Christian excitedly raised his hand. So you mean everything depends on who arrives first, right? Rihu looked at him admiringly. That's correct, clever indeed, young Master Christian. Someone asked, if an accident happens between contestants during the ritual, will they be disqualified? Rihu replied, each person takes a different path. You shouldn't meet one another. But if you rarely encounter someone, avoid conflict. Wasting time only gives others an advantage. Focus on your own safety. Good luck. Immediately, the 4 candidates threw themselves through the doors at full force. Seeing their haste, Sebastian got excited. Want to bet a little blood prize to see who? Before he finished, Rihu vanished, making him stomp in annoyance. Ignoring me like that, how cold. The scene shifted to Loin. In the corridor, he encountered a four-eyed black dog that breathed fire. When it spotted Loin, it barked wildly, flames bursting from its mouth. Loin concentrated dark energy into his palm and accelerated. He threw a straight punch into the beast's jaw. It spat blood and screamed in pain. He defeated it easily. Loin was confident. At worst, they're downgraded level 2 beasts. I'm upper level 2. They're nothing. That bastard Christian must be struggling. Each path has the same distance and challenges. But I bribed the mage, so Christian's path would have stronger beasts. He'll meet some ferocious ones and die miserably. Deaths in the dark sacred rite will be ignored. This is your grave. Soon after, Loin arrived in front of the great door. Here we are, the entrance to the sanctum. I'm definitely the first, he said smugly, but Christian's voice rang out beside him. You're slow. What were you wasting time on? I thought I'd die of boredom waiting so long. Loin panicked. How did you get here so fast? Christian scratched his head. It's nothing difficult. Impossible. Your path was supposed to have stronger beasts. He blurted out, then fell silent, but Christian heard clearly and snarled with a smile. Is that so? No wonder I thought they seemed stronger than usual. So it was you. He launched both hands to start battering Loin, and Loin was ready for a fight. What did you just say? Who do you think you are? Christian taunted. Come on, it's just the two of us here. No need for formalities. Loin clenched his fists, dark energy wrapping them as he growled, arrogant. Clashes between contestants are forbidden, but I'll crush you right now. He lunged and threw a right hook. Christian leaned aside and dodged lightly, recognizing a close-range battle magic technique that boosts spell power, or to wrench an opponent's joints. Loin kept punching like a machine, but never landed a hit. He flew into a terrifying, bloodthirsty rage. Loin lunged again, aiming at Christian's left hand to snap it. But it was a trap Christian had deliberately exposed. Idiot. He mocked as he grabbed Loin's wrist with his right hand, twisting it back. If it hurts, don't go crying. Christian concentrated force, making Loin scream in agony. Before long, Alwa came stumbling over. Hey, am I late? He stared dumbfounded at the two contestants being pummeled by Christian. Did you do this? Christian scolded. You're too slow, faint on your own, or should I knock you out? Alwa, not cowardly, activated magic to fight back. I'm not standing down, come at me. But after just a few simple blows, Christian knocked Alwa to the floor. Oh, that familiar feeling, they'll come take them away. If this is left for another 5 years, the first war against the Alliance will break out. I must seize control of the Dark family before that moment, so I won't share any of the sacred dark with you. With the cleanup done, now is the time to possess the sacred dark. With that thought, Christian slowly opened the great door before him. The dark sacred rite bestows power upon demons, the potential to become truly transcendent. A chieftain who absorbs 80% of the sacred dark energy is among the strongest alive, even compared to demon lords. The destroyer of darkness absorbed 90% of the pure dark energy to become a demon lord, meaning if I claim 100%, I could surpass even the demon sovereign. Christian thought as he reached toward the sphere of dark energy before him. Upon touching it, a terrifying surge of energy like a flood poured into his body. Time sped forward. The scene shifted to a meeting room where they discussed that all dark sacred rite candidates had been eliminated. Unbelievable, except for Christian, everyone else was disqualified. A true disaster. A brown-haired man spoke. Young Master Loin is in serious condition. Perhaps he used banned magical tools. A gray-haired man added, we must investigate thoroughly and punish. But second Miss Jupian raised her hand to stop them. It's unnecessary. That bastard couldn't enter the sanctum. 2 days without leaving. Surely the rite would crush him to death. Even a chieftain has absorption limits. If he dies, there won't even be a body. She rose and left, her face radiating killing intent that the two subordinates didn't notice. Jupian vowed to herself, even if he survives, I will kill him with my own hands. When my father died in the war against the Alliance, Loin and I were adopted by Count Langham. My standing in the clan is unstable. If Loin doesn't receive the dark sacred rite, no one will support his succession. Christian, I'll repay this humiliating debt. She gritted her teeth. In another corner, the servants whispered about Christian. That useless one still hasn't returned. A young maid asked. The woman opposite waved and laughed. He's surely dead, punishment for greedy arrogance. Look, she's still waiting for her master, but she'll soon meet his ghost. No sooner said. The pouch on her back was pierced by a blast of energy. Marie stepped forward angrily. My heart trembled waiting for the young master, but if you keep making noise around me, you will become ghosts at my hands, understand? Her face was ferocious. The two servants fled in terror. Marie worried inwardly. Please just come back. Having a man keep a lady waiting like this isn't cool at all. The scene shifted to Christian, hovering in a violet space as a crushing pressure squeezed his breath. He's only at 70%. It's harder than I thought. No, I must endure. The real trial begins at 90%. If I exceed the core limit, it'll shatter, and I'll die before the battle even starts. Suddenly he remembered, that's right, the dragon heart? The dragon clan possesses the largest reservoir for power cores. If I simulate a dragon heart for a few minutes, I can endure it. Thinking that, Christian applied his demonic power to simulate a dragon heart. But before absorbing much more, the heart cracked. He cried out in pain and hastily stopped. No, this is the limit. A voice rang out, do you need help? A towering female silhouette appeared. Christian thought, what a demon here. A demon's power communicates with darkness. It's no trouble for her. Mefina smiled. I can help you with no conditions. Christian asked why. She replied, smiling brightly, it was just a whim. Now take my hand and absorb all the dark sacred rite. She reached out to him. 1 week later, Chieftain Baron enjoyed tea. He asked Simon, still no news. It's hard to say if he survived, his tone disappointed. Miriam Christians blamed his boundless greed. Why did he take such a gamble? Simon added, Count Langham, the acting head, agrees with you. He wants to close the entrance to the sanctum early. Shall we order it? Baron pondered for a few seconds. That brat wants to test this old man. Hyatt Angia, do you think that reckless child is still alive? Simon shrugged. Probability is nearly 0, but isn't he interesting? Baron sighed and ordered him to extend it 1 more day. Simon smiled, I will obey. Miriam exhaled in relief inwardly. Christian's energy core was flooded with pure dark energy. As a result, his heart ached, and the core could explode at any moment. Mefina told him to take her hand before it was too late. Instead of accepting help, he stubbornly refused. She said he was utterly foolish. He should know humans have limits not to be crossed. Hearing this, our Christian grew angry, saying it seemed she had forgotten something because they were in a world full of concept. Christian's next action shocked her as he began to glow. His hair turned gray and his eyes glowed red. Christian sprouted red horns and transformed into a demon. The recent act of demonification stunned her. Honestly, it looked pretty cool. This technique is the ultimate secret art of a mysterious clan. A forbidden incantation where a human temporarily becomes a demon to unleash explosive power. Though powerful, it causes mortal injury to the user. Previously, Lena died after using this incantation. Perhaps that fox girl taught Christian all the information about the demon clans. If he removes the amplification parts of the incantation for dark energy, he could exploit the dark energy of this world and create a vessel to collect energy without suffering any penalty. Once the dark energy vessel was created, energy would slowly accumulate and stabilize. With this plan succeeding and a container, he could gather energy with over 90% purity and seize the entire sacred darkness. Mefina couldn't believe it when Christian formed a black crescent moon. There's no way a lowly human like an insect could surpass human limits, as she claimed. He confidently declared it was because he was a genius. As he left the space, he told her she could continue living here, but he would be leaving. As he departed, she said they'd meet again another time. Hearing that, Christian turned back, and just before the teleport gate closed, he raised his middle finger and told her to get lost. She was silent for a moment, then understood his meaning and laughed. Christian escaped. Cursing, she said he'd go mad if they met again, and called her a noisy demon. Christian wondered how much time had passed since he left. Probably a week, so the family must be in chaos. He dispelled the demon form and said it was time to play a prank. After a while, a butler burst into the Lord's office to report that Christian had returned. Upon hearing this, everyone in the room was shocked and asked how he was still alive. The acting head, called Count Langham, told his subordinates to recount the details. They said Christian survived, but was barely clinging to life. As a result, he was utterly exhausted. According to the healer, he had sensed pure dark energy, but it was very chaotic, making this energy difficult to use. One person cursed Christian, saying nothing could be expected from someone like Christian, and that he couldn't possibly have absorbed more than 80% of the sacred darkness. So the energy was wasted, and a fat man told the Lord that Christian was irresponsible. With a cold expression, he said he'd remember and ordered them to leave since the meeting was over. After they left, he asked someone whether the report was accurate. That person said they'd observed Christian beside the healer, and it was clear his energy core had problems. Hearing that, he continued tapping his fingers on the table, making others feign worry when they saw him fall silent. With even colder demeanor, he said Loin must become the young master, a sacrifice and the key to the plan with the poisonous magic clan. The mad Count Langham said the plan to eliminate the one called Jupian had been postponed. As for Christian, it's worrying that his father is paying attention to him, because the flow of the river was disturbed. Hearing this, the man fell silent as if he needed to use the restroom. After a few tedious knocks on the table, he ordered the matter to be brought to the Hall of Darkness the next day. He would announce the handling before the vassals. The next day, when summoned, he thought they were trying to get rid of him because they had gathered all the important people. Count Langham asked Christian whether he was aware of his transgressions during the sacred rite. Christian said he knew. While the leader observed his energy core was distorted, he demanded an explanation, and Christian said his peers were unworthy of the lineage, so he should have struck them harder. Upon hearing that, an ugly woman in a vest grew angry. Count Langham explained that Christian's mistake was that, despite monopolizing the precious resources of the dark magic clan, he had not achieved results commensurate with that privilege. Christian asked on what criteria he based that conclusion. He said the minimum purity was 70%. Christian asked what punishment he would face if below 70%. The fish-faced man said he would inherit no dark magic techniques, be banned from the clan's main area, and be denied succession to the Khazar Countship. Christian feigned indifference and asked how he would measure it when he himself couldn't measure precisely. At that moment, the Eshid man raised his hand, saying that even if Christian's core was chaotic, a clash of dark energies could measure purity, because he had absorbed 70% of the sacred darkness. If he could be overwhelmed, that would mean an even greater achievement. A dark energy clash is a pure contest to gauge the superiority of dark energy between two people. With equal amounts of energy, the one with higher purity will instantly dominate. But when energies of equal purity collide, the one with the higher purity wins. According to Christian, this was the perfect way to destroy his core. He thought this guy was more cunning than he looked. Before starting, Christian set a condition. If he achieved sufficiently impressive results, they must back him and allow him to challenge for the position of young master. Hearing this, some were shocked, but his rotten elder brother agreed, saying it didn't matter main branch or cadet when aiming for the young master's seat. When others fell silent, he said that's the way of the magic empire, where the strong rule the weak. Stepping onto the stage, he told Christian that in a dark energy clash, if not controlled properly, the core could be damaged. To equalize levels, he would only use low-grade 2-star dark energy. When they unleashed their energies, Christian said he didn't need to do that and should mind his precious core. When Eshid released his energy, the rotten guy said hearing him made him eager. On collision, Christian immediately overwhelmed his 2-star energy. The man was shocked that his energy was nullified without Christian needing to gather power. He used expert-level 2-star energy, but the result remained the same. Christian watched the display, saying it was disappointing. He provoked him further, saying he acted arrogant but was actually so weak. Angered, he unleashed his aura. Others said it was 4-star dark energy. If it hit, it would shatter Christian's core. A dragon-shaped energy formed around him, but from the other side another energy took shape. A gigantic claw appeared, large enough to crush the dragon. So enormous the dragon looked like an ant. Christian told the man that in an energy clash, if not properly controlled, the core could be damaged, so he should be careful. The energy that injured his core made him spit blood. Christian withdrew his energy, thinking it wasn't enough and that he should have smashed the man's core. Cleverly, he announced to everyone that Christian's purity was at least 90%. Upon hearing this, everyone was shocked, and Christian turned to the Lord and said he now had the right to become the young master. Hearing that, Count Langham was stunned, showing no reaction on his ugly face. As usual, the rotten man continued tapping his fingers on the table, then told Christian that, as promised, he would be allowed to take the young master examination. However, no member of a cadet branch had ever taken this test. As acting head, he would randomly select a test for him. Christian thought to himself that his meaning was to give an impossible exam. His abilities would be evaluated in 2 stages. First, he must prove his talent. Next, he needed to accomplish a feat worthy of the young master position. Christian asked how he would demonstrate his talent, and the man demanded he reach 3-star rank within 3 months. Christian calmly said that if that's all, he's a genius, so it shouldn't be too hard. The man fell silent, then said he looked forward to seeing what Christian would achieve in 3 months. Afterwards, in a quiet room, the 2 rotten men sat facing each other. Sipping tea, he was disappointed in Kid, saying it was all his fault for underestimating Christian. Thus, even his energy core was damaged. They had to deal with Christian quickly if he became a problem. He told his subordinate not to worry, because they had deliberately not absorbed more than 70% of pure dark energy. The higher the purity, the harder it is to upgrade energy. This difficulty increases exponentially, meaning reaching 3-star rank would take many times longer than others. He asked what the other thought about Christian having absorbed 90%. Even if he were a genius, he couldn't surpass that barrier. Turning to Christian, Marie brought him food, saying news of his performance had spread throughout the manor. She said he made her proud and her heart fluttered for him. Christian replied that was embarrassing. Marie said that while waiting for Christian, she realized her true feelings. Each day waiting for him felt like eternity. Hearing this, Christian recalled earlier memories. The fox girl worried, while the saintess said with his agility he couldn't possibly be harmed. Rania told him to give her his hand. Hearing that, the fox girl said she could frankly say she was worried for him. Upon hearing this, she shyly said that even the hero worried about Christian. Remembering it all, she happily thought that after escaping the hellish mark she only wanted him dead. His life was full of bloodshed until he met people with warm hearts. When Marie prepared blood juice, Christian said he could now speak words he couldn't before. Thanking Marie for waiting for him, hearing this, she bashfully said that he finally understood her true feelings. She pretended her heart was racing. Christian said she didn't have a heart to begin with. She sentimentally said her heart had been stolen. Christian said because she waited for him, he would reward her. He proposed going for a walk with her. Hearing this, she went wild, dressing magnificently for the stroll. Truly a work of art. She should soon have a real body. Christian thought a little relaxation now, and then would be good. But he still had to reach 3 stars in 3 months. He thought it would be very difficult, even with guidance from the branch tutor. Handling over 90% dark energy alone remained very hard. Just then, a voice cut in telling him to only worry about causing trouble. Turning, it was Christian's aunt, and he greeted her. She asked if this was the time for him to wander the garden carefree and whether he had found a teacher. He asked if it was her, but was disappointed when she said no. She shocked him by saying it was someone else. He told Marie to go, saying he'd see her at dinner. As they descended the stairs, Christian said he didn't know who the teacher was but thanked his aunt for thinking of her nephew. She said he shouldn't thank her yet, explaining that he would experience it himself and that this teacher was not gentle. She added that none of her brothers could withstand his training. She warned this opportunity didn't come often, so he must not disappoint him. When they arrived, Christian was shocked and asked her if the child before them was lost. Why would someone 200 or 300 years old disguise himself as a child? Seeing the child, Christian patted its head and asked where its parents were. But the child's face was more terrifying than he expected. At that moment, Christian realized what he had done. His aunt told him to show respect and greet first, because this was the clan chief's incarnation. Observing Christian, he greeted him formally. As dark energy radiated out, he was shocked to see that Christian had absorbed over 90%. He said it was a remarkable achievement, but warned it was a foolish decision, and Christian objected. The old man played the part, saying that with 80% sacred darkness, he had faced walls higher than others. He shared that even their ancestors couldn't reach that level without favor from the Demon King. He couldn't imagine the walls Christian would confront. Therefore, he suggested returning part of Christian's dark energy to the primal realm. He told him that for his talent, 80% dark energy was enough, and exceeding that was greed. Before he could finish, Christian asked why the dark magic clan had grown weak. The question startled his aunt until he spoke bluntly, saying that even if they weren't as powerful as the mysterious magic clan or the immortal magic called heaven above, they were still the weakest of the 12 noble clans. The old man asked if there was any reason for this. Christian said the dark magic clan had advanced beyond the achievements of previous generations thanks to the clan chief's accomplishments. Yet other forces claimed the dark magic clan was not what it used to be. He said there was only one reason. They lacked individuals at the absolute tier above 8-star strength. Hearing this, the old man fell silent. In the future, when the Demon King slaughtered and attacked the dark magic clan, the serfs died. Only a few 7-star demons and 10,000 soldiers remained to fight the Demon King. In the end, they were defeated and forced into slavery. That is why absolute tier figures of 8 stars or higher are so important. The clan chief was certainly worried about this. The old man agreed, saying he understood but feared Christian would be crushed by pure dark energy and unable to develop. Christian asked if he was curious whether with this power, he would only stop at consolidating the clan, or surpass challenges to become a being of infinite power, ruling all. The old man laughed, saying Christian had a way with words. He said he would not regret when dark energy gathered at his feet. For a few seconds he was submerged in a pool of energy. When he woke, he found himself in a forest. A voice told him the first task was to inherit the pure dark energy. Christian was confused when told he had to survive. Behind him, a starving 2-headed bear appeared. Realizing its presence, Christian told himself he was in great danger. Through a sphere, he observed Christian. His aunt realized it was a trial and asked the clan chief why he would throw a 2-star child into a 4-star magic den. Hearing this, he summoned an additional stone lizard. His aunt apologized to her nephew for her words making things harder. The old man said that, as Christian struggled to survive, he he would confront the true nature of pure dark energy. Understanding comes fastest and deepest when pushed to the brink of death. He hoped he would not be seriously injured, sitting in his chair. He asked if Miriam was ready. She was prepared with a box full of sweets. He hungrily said that he didn't understand why every time he used dark energy he craved sweets. This madman turned on a light and said watching the video in the dark was the best. He excitedly watched his nephew's result. Christian faced the two-headed bear and the stone lizard. A single blow could end him. The lizard sprayed poison. Christian dodged. The poison melted the trees in an instant. Still, this was only a training exercise. Christian called the clan chief to ask if he could hear him. He said the chief would never assign a task without an answer. Since there was no answer, Christian said to get one. He had to defeat a monster much stronger than himself. His aunt thought inwardly that he just wanted to see him beaten to a pulp. Christian confidently said it would be as easy as turning his hand over, as he prepared to strike in one blow. At that moment the bear was attacking Christian. As the strike was about to hit, Christian thought its speed and power were immense. Dodging the blow, Christian told himself he had to find a way to defeat them. From the observation orb, the old man acting the part said Christian truly had talent, explaining that Christian's movements were different. But Miriam said that after all, Christian was still just a child. They were shocked to see Christian had defeated the bear, which left them completely surprised. Cutting to Christian, he asked them how it had been so easy to bring it down. Christian explained the bear had high strength and defense, but low agility and magic resistance. Thereby Christian exploited its weakness, injecting dark energy into its heart at the right moment. Miriam was stunned by the technique Christian used, but before she could speak, the red-haired man summoned himself and said it was a use of H1EAFC, H1E7Y. He told the child that it was his favorite technique. Cut to Christian. After defeating the bear, he realized he hadn't dealt with the lizard. It wouldn't let Christian rest and attacked immediately. Christian dodged easily, but because it had two heads, the other head sprayed poison, and Christian nearly couldn't avoid it. The lizard had 3 hearts. If he didn't destroy all 3 at once, it would regenerate. Christian tried a different method, using dark energy like a rope, to bind the lizard tightly, immobilizing it, and then applying extreme force. The whole monster was destroyed when the 3 cores shattered. The red-haired man said Christian had used an applied version of H1EAFC, H1E7Y. The old man acting said he couldn't see clearly and told him to step aside. He angrily asked Miriam if she had taught Christian, but she immediately denied it, saying she knew nothing. He said that was not something one could learn, but the redhead said if so then there was no need to teach dark magic. The clan chief fell silent. After finishing up, Christian was returned to reality. With a fox-like smile, Christian said he had much to think about, but it was a great lesson. Thanks, clan chief. As Miriam and the redhead were silent, Baron arrogantly said no, but would begin comprehensive dark magic training. Baron told the worthless ones to leave, and they obeyed. As they left, Miriam worried that this child might be too harsh on Christian. He asked before the first magic transfer, what did Christian think of dark magic? Christian frankly said it was to overwhelm opponents with perfect dark energy. He asked Christian to explain what perfect dark energy was. Christian was anxious because he had no answer. He told him to look carefully when opening a certain lock. The next second the whole place trembled. He said this was the origin of all darkness, as the place was engulfed by dark energy. If he descended the 12-deep stairway, 12 abysses awaited Christian, and Christian would have to swallow the taste of the Lord in the darkness. Before him, energy gathered, forming a dagger of pure energy. The old man swung the dagger. Christian felt the strike symbolized death, a single blow that could kill him. The space behind shattered. Christian struggled to breathe from the sensation of the blade, clearly cutting his throat. He explained it was the sword of concept that only cuts what it intends to cut. When the sword vanished, he prepared to leave, saying he would give 1 month to hone the black sword he had just seen. He left without explaining how, leaving Christian puzzled. Early the next morning, Christian walked around the training grounds, then continued doing one-arm push-ups. The harsh training made Christian sweat profusely. Taking off his shirt, Christian's back looked much more toned. But that was only a dream because Christian was still as thin as a baby doll. Afterward, he sat in meditation, telling himself to return to training. Pure dark energy gathered around his hands, forming a dagger, but it failed miserably. Christian was displeased because he forgot to count his failures. Even when he managed to summon it, it could only last a maximum of 10 seconds. Moreover, it was nothing compared to the clan chief's black sword. That sword was stronger and more primal. He had once said that descending the stairway of 12 abysses awaited those who sought wisdom. Accept and praise it. Christian thought that incantation surely hid a secret. A month later, the pair Miriam and the old man acting went down. He said Christian must have failed enough by now to recognize his limits. He asked Miriam if she was worried about Christian. Miriam said there had to be a faster method, because there were only about 2 months until the succession test. The old man acting said that with the purity of Christian's dark mana, rapid growth through forced advancement was impossible. If pushed, he'd only hit a massive wall, so it was better to build a solid foundation. When they arrived to face Christian, he was extremely surprised that the dagger had been summoned. Christian said it was time for him to appear. They were shocked, and Christian thanked the clan chief, saying that thanks to him, Christian reached 3-star rank faster than expected. Before he finished speaking, the sword vanished. Christian said that pretending as the chief had seemed to be the best thing he could do for now. Christian took about a week to summon the black sword, but felt it like an empty shell. The mysterious incantation he had shared earlier about the 12 abysses meant the black sword must contain every attribute of mana. He was stunned because it truly was the black sword. Not only did Christian exceed expectations, he also grasped the full meaning of the task. According to the clan chief, it usually takes a year to summon a basic black sword, and a lifetime is not enough to understand the 12 kinds of mana and awaken the true black sword. Yet Christian did it in less than a month. Christian could truly be the only hope at the end of the cursed path of demons. The cold man smiled, told Christian to prepare. From tomorrow, the lessons he teaches will not be easy. Instead of worrying, Christian confidently said it's fine, and that he trusted the clan chief. Having overcome the first obstacle, Christian made a mischievous face, thinking about raising a glass to celebrate. Christian went to the wine cellar and danced wildly. Christian thought he deserved a rest to drink the expensive wine he once couldn't even dream of. Christian thought he should drink quickly before Marie came and took it away. Someone called him back. It was a beautiful face saying, "Christian, drinking at midday again as usual." Christian wondered who this 3-star demon was. Judging by her eye color, she wasn't from the dark family. With a serious expression, Christian asked if she knew Christian. Upon hearing that, she was shocked, and her servant was also surprised. She asked what Christian meant, and then flew into a rage, slapping Christian with magic. Christian fell, and the servant told her to let it go. There's no need to get involved with trash like Christian. As she turned away, the old man from the exam appeared holding a bottle of wine. Christian angrily called her rude and asked who she was. The man said she was Princess Marissa of the Poisonous Clan. Hearing that, Christian froze because she could be Christian's fiancée. More precisely, his former fiancée. Christian would be in big trouble after this, because he might have caused the issue. She shifted her gaze to Marissa as she passed through the corridor, her anger visibly written on her face. In a flashback, Marissa, 8 years old, was playing with ants. Marissa thought everyone was only talking to her brother, so she didn't understand why her father took her to the dark family. As Marissa focused on the busy ants, some whispered that she was an illegitimate child. They wondered if Duke Baron had lost his mind when his son was useless, so they thought he wanted to marry off his daughter to gain a son-in-law. Sensing a presence, Marissa looked up to see Christian. Christian asked what a child was doing here alone. The first time seeing Marissa captivated, our Christian seemed quite handsome. Marissa said she wasn't a child but Marissa. Hearing that, Christian called her name, then introduced himself. Marissa realized he was the son of Count Khazar. Christian told Marissa not to mind what the adults said, advising Marissa to get revenge on them when she grew up. At first, Marissa was surprised. Then she said she'd become the strongest demon and crush those who scorn her. This made Christian initially embarrassed. Blushing, he said Marissa was ambitious. Marissa was shocked to see the spirit of a true noble demon of the dark family. Christian stood and said if Marissa intended to become the strongest, he should be on her side. Christian reached out his hand and called Marissa the future strongest she-demon, asking if Marissa would honor him by letting him show her around the dark family's mansion. Hearing that, Marissa's face burned crimson. Back in the present, Marissa tried to forget this, saying it was all in the past, even though the engagement had been arranged for peace between the two families. The dreamy future Marissa once stayed up thinking about had vanished. That version of Marissa was gone. When rumors of Christian's misconduct reached Marissa, she burst into tears. A moment later, Marissa went to the clan leader's office. Duke Baron welcomed her and asked her purpose for coming. Marissa said Duke Baron must know a relic had appeared in the neutral zone between the two families. Duke Baron asked what the rival clan intended to do since they had taken the relic last time. He asked if Marissa would concede this time, but Marissa said she couldn't. She asked if Duke Baron would do the same in her position. With some courtesy, Duke Baron said Marissa wanted a fair competition. Marissa proposed each family send a team. Whoever found the relic first kept it, but teams were limited to 10 third-rank demons or lower to avoid direct conflict. Marissa wisely argued that heavy losses would only benefit the enemy, especially amid the instability in the Four Kings abyss. Duke Baron tapped the table and said he accepted the terms. Marissa, being clever, wondered why Duke Baron agreed so easily. Duke Baron added a condition. If the rival clan broke the agreement, the Dark family would take not only this relic, but the previous one as well. Marissa demanded an explanation, and Duke Baron spoke of trickery and ambushes, because traps and ambushes were Marissa's specialty. With a serious look, Marissa said that would not happen, and accepted the additional condition. Duke Baron asked whether Marissa would personally lead the Dark family's expedition team. Marissa confirmed that was the plan. Duke Baron said he looked forward to seeing the power of the famed 10,000 poisons. Marissa bowed to Duke Baron and said she would await the Dark family's team on the day of the expedition. As Marissa left, Duke Baron was silent for a few seconds, then stood and stared at the chessboard. Ridden held the Black King and toppled the White Queen. As the Black King stood towering, lean Duke Baron said a magnificent stage, filled with screams, had been set for Marissa. 2 months passed and the seasons changed. While Christian focused on training, many others also began to change their paths. Some old romantic conflicts faded away, while those who lost in the competition were left behind. Meanwhile, the jealous sharpened their blades, and others began to act for the coming future. While a shadowy figure hid in the background, others acted for the future. Christian faced the useless Duke Baron and was asked to prove his worth. Seizing the moment, Christian summoned the black sword. Seeing this, Christian's face darkened. Judging by their expressions, Christian thought it was a priceless moment. The old man playing the role warned not to reveal the true black sword, or he would assign a harder task. He told him not to be arrogant just because he was a prodigy. Now Christian smiled inwardly, telling himself he had restrained himself today as advised, but looked forward to seeing their shocked faces later. Duke Baron said he would acknowledge Christian's achievement and give a second test. They were about to send demons to search for the relic in the neutral zone. Since the rival clan would also participate, if Christian performed well, Duke Baron would recognize him as heir. Christian was surprised because it sounded too easy. He asked if he would go alone. Duke Baron said Christian would join the team led by the second princess, Julian. Duke Baron said this mission originally belonged to Loin. With arrogance, he said this was an opportunity beyond Christian's station, so Christian should consider it an honor. Christian solemnly said he would obey. As he left, Duke Baron's brother asked their father if he feared Christian would cause more trouble. Duke Baron cut him off and told him not to worry. Everything was going according to plan. Duke Baron said to be ready when the time came. Outside, Christian thought he expected to be sent on a life-threatening mission, but Christian had a bad feeling. Recalling Duke Baron's words, Christian wondered what had happened to Loin in the original timeline. Initially, the chosen heir this time was not Christian, but Loin, however. Christian had never heard of Loin in the Great War. In the past, Christian was forced by the fox girl to pet her continuously. If he stopped, she would say nothing, so Christian had to comply. She told of the demon charm incident, a relic conflict between the Dark and Poisonous families. This event is little known, even though the Dark family's team was wiped out during the relic expedition. The Poisonous family also suffered losses, but both sides kept silent. The important thing is that this event sowed the seeds of calamity. She said Nordia died at the hands of Viscount Langham. If not for that, the Demon King's massacre would have had a harder time conquering the Dark family easily. The demon charm incident accelerated the age of destruction. The Dark family's team being annihilated meant that instead of Loin, Christian was placed on the death list, but there was no evidence of overly risky behavior. Currently, Christian was only a 3-star and couldn't do much, so he needed preparation and to go out. Julian told Christian to wait. Asked where Christian was going with that attitude, Christian asked Julian why she cared what he was doing. Julian said she heard Christian was joining the expedition team this time in place of Loin. Julian disliked it, but Christian said he didn't need to do anything right away. Julian insulted him, calling Christian an idiot who couldn't do anything immediately. Hearing the insult about her brother, Julian threw a throwing dagger at extreme speed. Christian clearly saw the dagger's motion. With grace, Christian dodged without blinking. Seeing the fluid movement, Julian was shocked. Christian said that was enough of a greeting. Christian told them they didn't like each other and should keep their distance. Not letting Julian speak, Christian said he had business to attend to. When Julian retrieved her dagger, she was angry that she had tracked the movement with her eyes but hadn't dodged. Christian deliberately let Julian know. She thought Christian might be more dangerous than imagined. Julian thought that because Christian had nothing to do, he wandered all over the city. Christian grabbed a mug of beer and drank it down in one go. But before he could finish, the tavern owner snatched the mug from his mouth. Then he went to the gambling table and won a lot of money. The poor runt ran around with a pile of skewers until the child beside him was bored. Christian said he hadn't rested in a long time and now could live a lazy life. While continuing to devour the meat, Christian thought the shop he was looking for must be nearby. But first he needed tea to drive off the bugs clinging to him. Christian was annoyed because they looked like the men that bastard had sent. Suddenly, a mysterious figure grabbed him, telling him to keep quiet. Christian looked and saw a very beautiful girl. Christian asked who she was, but instead of answering, she said someone had been following her, but her people had handled them. Christian wondered how that reassured him when she had covered his mouth and dragged him here. Christian asked again who she was, and she mentioned something like the 4 kings. Hearing that, Christian was shocked. She said she was trying to prevent unrest from spreading across the kingdom. They should move to another place, and she asked if Christian wanted to come with her. Christian was silent for a moment, then told her to lead the way. As they went deeper into the alleys, Christian asked how far they would go. She continued, saying that demons in the king's kingdom were disappearing without a trace. Even the safe districts in the city were gradually being destroyed. Christian surely knew the kingdom was fracturing from conflict among 3 clans in a power-dominated place, and the clan leaders cared nothing for the lives of ordinary demons. So she concluded that purging the criminal forces required help from multiple clans, but she could not expect aid with nothing in return. She would provide information that could calm the storm within the Dark Clan. She said Viscount Langham was colluding with a high-ranking member of the Poisonous Clan, and their target was to assassinate Princess Marissa of the Poisonous Clan. Hearing this, Christian was shocked and worried because not only was he targeted but Marissa as well. He didn't understand why they would do that. If both clans lost their core figures, the troublemakers in the kingdom would grow bolder. Ultimately, the balance among the 12 demon clans would collapse, leading to greater catastrophe. Therefore, she wanted help preparing for this expedition. When she revealed her impassioned face, she said she hoped to become the heir of the Dark Clan and confront those who threatened the peace. Christian was puzzled that she even knew about the Relic expedition and praised their intelligence network. With a stern face, Christian asked why he should trust her when she had no evidence. If she wanted cooperation, she had to stake something. She paused for a moment, but Christian deliberately told her to disappear if she had no guarantees. She told Christian to wait and pulled something from her cloak. Seeing that Christian was stunned into silence, as Christian said his goodbyes, she also turned away, and a figure emerged from Christian's shadow. She spoke to it, asking why she couldn't reveal her true identity to Christian. A demon shape said it was for her own good, because if Christian were endangered and exposed her information, everything would get worse. As she began to transform, she said she would observe from the sidelines for now. She called herself Eidline. Back with Christian, Christian walked normally, but then began to laugh maniacally because she had given him a VIP card, the thing he had been searching for, the Dark Auction, a secret method for trading relics and rare creatures. Only nobles or verified wealthy buyers were granted entry cards. Previously, none of the hero group had a card, so it was very difficult to enter this place. The card bore the name Leah de Balfman, a name Christian had never heard before. Christian recalled the recent events, but felt it was too early to trust. So Christian decided to prepare further for the expedition. Christian told a man he wanted to send a carrier pigeon with a message. The man told Christian to write the message and send it. Christian wrote something we do not read. Then a cute owl flew off while Christian watched. Christian told himself that this was done. Now Christian had to visit a guy about his baby outfit. After a long journey, Christian arrived at a lavish, resplendent place where light from crystal chandeliers glittered like stars reflected on polished marble floors. The air exuded nobility and made Christian's heart race from the overwhelm mixed with curiosity. Just as he stopped before the massive gate, a tall man in a glossy black suit strode out to block the way. He looked Christian up and down and sneered. "Hey kid, this isn't a place for you, get lost." Christian, his face hidden behind a mysterious mask, remained unfazed. He slowly raised his hand to reveal a VIP card gleaming under the lights and said in a cold but confident tone, "How about this?" The card flashed like a declaration of authority. The man opposite immediately went pale, eyes wide with astonishment, stammering, This is." The earlier arrogance vanished, replaced by fear and embarrassment. In an instant, his attitude shifted 180 degrees. He bowed low, voice trembling but trying to be respectful. "My apologies, sir. You're a VIP guest. Please come in." Christian smirked slightly and nodded in satisfaction, his cold gaze seeming to pierce the man's core. "Well done," he replied tersely and strolled through the gate with a composed air. Inside, a magnificent scene unfolded like a palace from legend. Walls intricately carved, deep red velvet drapes hanging long, and the air filled with the scent of rare flowers. Guests were dressed lavishly, like nobles chatting animatedly, their eyes sparkling with confidence and power. Christian scanned the room, inwardly assessing every detail of this luxurious space. Suddenly, an attendant approached with a cautious but polite look. "Good evening, sir," he bowed slightly, voice a bit hesitant. "Are you Leah de Balfman?" Still wearing the mask, Christian smiled enigmatically, raised the VIP card, and nodded in confirmation. "That's right. Today I am Leah de Balfman. Is there a problem?" The attendant briefly frowned, his gaze sweeping Christian as if searching for something odd. Inwardly he thought the voice sounded clearly male, yet outwardly he kept a professional smile. "No, sir." Christian cut him off immediately, voice sharp. "Then can you take me to meet the branch master?" The attendant flinched, stammering, "Why, yes, yes." Christian knit his brow, voice lowering with authority. "Didn't you hear me? Take me to the branch master now." Without delay, the attendant hurriedly led him to a private room. This room was equally lavish, with finely crafted furnishings, from a carved ebony table to chairs upholstered in deep red velvet. Christian glanced around, murmuring to himself, "Indeed, the Rudolph Trading Company is renowned. Everything here is top tier." The Rudolph Trading Company, one of the greatest powers, rivaling the Deere Trading Company of the Alliance. Not only did they dominate legitimate trade, but they also controlled the black market, overseeing almost the entire distribution network of the magical empire. Whatever Rudolph doesn't have, no one else does, Christian thought, the corner of his mouth curling with confidence. A few minutes later, the door swung open, and a woman entered, exuding authority yet also allure. With glossy long hair and sharp eyes that seemed to pierce every secret, she walked straight up and said, "Sorry to keep you waiting. I am Rubid, branch master and head of the Rudolph Trading Company." She sat in the chair opposite, scrutinizing him. "What brings you to me?" Christian casually removed his mask to reveal his real face. He got straight to the point, voice calm but icy. "Bring Luna here." Rubid froze for a moment and repeated, "What?" Christian smiled, eyes glinting with mockery. "Don't you know Luna?" She replied, trying to remain composed. "Ah, I know. She's the head trader of Deere, isn't she? But even we cannot bring the Alliance's chief here." He slightly frowned at that, his mocking smile growing more pronounced. "Oh, is that so? But she's already here." Rubid stammered, stunned, her expression revealing clear confusion. I don't understand what you're saying," she stammered, hands clenching slightly. Christian stared at her, his voice dropping into a mysterious low tone. "Probably thanks to material power, right? Well disguised." Rubid trembled slightly all over, teeth clenched, unable to speak. Christian continued, voice gentle but sharp. "We'll be seeing each other a lot anyway. Get this cat out of here." Immediately, a blinding light burst from Rubid. She slowly removed the mask, revealing her true face, beautiful and proud. She looked at Christian, voice trembling but trying to stay firm. "How did you know?" Christian only smiled mysteriously and said nothing. In his mind, he recalled the past life. How many times he'd been deceived by her. Of course I repaid it 100-fold afterward, he thought, a mischievous glint flashing in his eyes. He spoke in a low, teasing tone. "Your disguise, Rudolph's branch master using such cheap material. It even performs poorly with gear." Rubid looked at the mask in her hand and muttered, "How is this possible, this?" Christian grinned victoriously, covering his mouth as if to tease. "Ah, maybe it's because your face is too big to hide completely." She pouted in anger. "That's not true." Then she quickly regained composure, eyes sharp as she looked at Christian. "And you're not really Leah de Balfman either. Lately your name's been getting famous in the magical empire. Dressed up all fancy and lingering here, probably haven't achieved much, huh? Borrowing someone else's name to get in. I could have kicked you out." Christian sighed softly, pointed a finger at her, voice full of challenge. "Who are you trying to intimidate? Want me to spread rumors that the Alliance is trafficking illegally in the magical empire?" His words were like a sharp blade. Rubid seethed, trembling slightly, lips pressed tight. She turned, voice shaking. "So what do you want from me?" Christian just smiled and did not answer immediately. A while later he left the trading company, adorned with glittering gold and jewels, velvet and brocade, and carrying a heavy bag full of valuable items. He walked away with a smug air, his heart full of delight. Recalling the moment Rubid turned purple with anger, Christian murmured, "Delicious, this should be just enough borrowed capital." In the room, Rubid once shouted, "What do you mean borrowing? That's blackmail." Christian only laughed loudly in response, all for preventing the apocalypse. Be grateful. Even so, he knew well, this amount of wealth would only be enough to guard against a few of the deadly strikes the enemy was secretly preparing. Back at the farm, Christian was spotted the moment he arrived by Jupian. The man turned, voice annoyed. "Hey, where have you been wandering off to? We deploy in 2 days. You should be training too." Still basking in his small victory, Christian lazily scratched his chin and replied, Why train? I just came back, I'm exhausted. Like Loin, I'm useless, why waste energy training? Having said that, he waved, turned away, mumbling, you all keep training then. Jupian ground his teeth in anger. That bastard. But he kept his composure, sighed. Let him be. It's not worth giving him another chance. Let him fend for himself. If he fails to earn merit, it'll only harm him. I don't understand why he acts like such an idiot. The next morning, gentle sunlight slipped through the window, illuminating the small but cozy kitchen. The scent of herbs mingled with the smell of burning wood in the hearth, creating an atmosphere both peaceful and mysterious. Christian stood before the worn wooden table, his deep blue eyes sweeping over the neatly arranged herbs. Opposite him, Rubid, or rather Luna in disguise, stood with arms crossed, her gaze cold but unable to fully hide the worry creeping within. Christian slightly frowned, the corner of his mouth lifting into a confident smile. He picked up a glossy green leaf, inspecting it in the light, his fingers gliding over it as if appraising a treasure. Well done, he said in a warm yet authoritative voice, a hint of satisfaction flashing in his eyes. Rubid frowned, curiosity mixed with doubt. She stepped closer and asked in a low, sharp tone, "What are you going to do with all this?" Christian didn't look up, merely shrugged and replied matter-of-factly, "None of your business, anything else." Before she could answer, Rubid snorted and walked to the corner of the table, placing an old leather suitcase on the wood. The iron lock clicked dryly as she opened it, revealing odd and exotic items inside. A golden toad glittered metallically, a folding parasol bore strange patterns, and a few other objects looked plucked from a myth. Christian rolled his eyes, a touch of surprise mixed with sarcasm, and murmured in a tone of exclamation, "What a crude pile of junk! Lately I have no choices left." Rubid's eyes flashed with annoyance at that. She turned and stepped toward the door, her voice cold but tense. "I don't know what you're scheming, but this means my identity remains secret, right?" Christian looked up, nodded slightly, the enigmatic smile still on his lips. "Of course, see you again." She paused, turned her head back, lips pressed tight, anger flaring in her eyes. "I don't ever want to see you again," she snarled, her voice ringing through the quiet kitchen before she vanished through the door. Christian stood watching her retreating figure, murmuring to himself, "Luna, or should I call you Rubid now? War will break out soon," he said, his tone low and carrying a gloomy premonition of the coming storm. Suddenly Rubid turned back, her expression darkening, brows knitting as if his words had touched a deep-seated fear. "Say more," she said, voice trembling slightly. "You shuttle between the Alliance and the Black Empire. You must know how unstable the continent is now. If war truly breaks out, all routes will be sealed. I'll have to cut ties with either the Alliance or the Empire, and my profits will be halved. Do you understand that?" Christian curled a lip, his gaze cold as a blade. "Do you think I don't know? Considering the recent rumors from Dominion, war wouldn't be unreasonable," Rubid said, pressing her lips together as her expression grew serious. In her hand was a crumpled report recording the latest information from the territorial guilds. Kingdoms unstable, civil wars spreading. Scout units had been sent to probe Alliance forces, and the Black Empire's smuggling rights faced danger and required countermeasures. She thought to herself, burdened. Recently, the atmosphere in Dominion really has been unsettled. Many clans are pushing for war with the Alliance. After a moment of contemplation, she looked up at Christian with suspicion. "Why are you telling me this? Are you asking a mere traitor like me to stop a war?" Rubid asked. Christian laughed, a bright yet mysterious smile. "Of course not," he replied. His eyes glittered as if seeing the future. "But you could become my sponsor. I will make that future without war come true." Rubid was stunned, her eyes widening. "Can you do that? How?" Christian stepped closer, his voice low but persuasive. "You know, for Dominion to provoke war, they'd have to pass through the southern vassal state where the Black House resides. If I become the heir and prepare properly for war, we can avoid the worst outcome. It's also the only chance for you to keep your revenues from being cut in half." He stopped and held out his hand, his gaze steady. "Will you join me?" Rubid pondered, her eyes scanning Christian's face. She thought inwardly that his eyes were not the eyes of a liar. Investing in him might be worth a try, she decided after a brief hesitation. She reached out and took his hand, voice resolute. "All right, I accept, but if you betray my trust even once, I will." Christian cut in with a smile. "Rest assured, I'm no two-faced man," he thought to himself. "Besides, I have plenty of reasons to use you." He waved farewell, his tone obsequious. "Take care, you filthy money grubber." Rubid ground her teeth, anger flaring in her eyes, but she only snorted coldly and turned away. That afternoon, Christian sat in a corner of the room. Sweat streamed down his forehead. Before him lay a mortar and a lump of herbs as hard as stone. He hammered the pestle down hard, each blow cracked dryly. Wiping his brow, he sighed exhaustedly. If even a high-ranking figure of the Black House were involved, it'd be best to prepare an antidote. He glanced at the pile of herbs beside him and muttered, "It's been a while since I brewed anything. Hope my skill hasn't faded." Memories surged in his mind like a flood. Months earlier at the Guild of the Renowned Medical Family, Ella's loud reprimand still echoed. The white-haired girl remained vivid in his memory. "Fan harder, haven't you eaten?" Ella snapped. The 26th of the famed medical family stood behind her, voice sharp. "Didn't I tell you? Some herbs only take effect when boiled over a high flame." Christian, sweating profusely, fanned and scowled. "Hurry up, the pot's hot enough, now lie down." He remembered the first time he met Ella on the battlefield during the First Great War. Though young, she had been forced to go to war carrying the pain of her entire clan, slaughtered by the blood-draining Demon King. The foremost medical family in the Alliance had become a thorn in the Demon King's side, and Ella was the sole survivor. Ella looked at Christian. Her eyes were equal parts curiosity and suspicion. "Whatever I look at, you seem strange," she said. "With just a few words, you reproduced my family's elixir. How have I never met you before?" Christian replied sarcastically, "The famed medical family is a genius. Even the head of the family is weak and ill like this." Ella coughed violently, blood spattering as she clenched her hands and roared, "You insolent! What kept me alive after the Demon King's atrocities was my medicine." Her voice dropped, full of pain. "I cannot just lie here. In that hellish world, those writhing in agony never cease." It was tragic that the lineage of the famed medical family ended here. Christian looked at her with a fleeting pity. He said, "There is nothing more useless than clinging to the past. Focus on recuperating." Ella glanced toward the stack of ancient books beside her, her voice weak. "The book recording our clan's secret techniques. Only a portion survived the war. Please take it." She coughed violently, blood soaking her sleeve. Christian hurried forward and softly said, "Rest." Ella took his hand, eyes resolute. "I have one request. Please save those who are suffering in my stead. If you can do that, I will die in peace. Do you accept?" Christian fell silent for a few seconds. Then gently, "From now on may I call you master." Ella smiled, tears welling. "One like me is unworthy to be a teacher, let alone a master, but I have chosen the right disciple." After a period of study, Christian became an outstanding physician, known on the battlefield as a holy healer. He looked at the pill in his hand and murmured, "Master, you may now be living peacefully somewhere, but in this lifetime I will keep my promise." At the family estate, beneath the deep blue sky, a carrier pigeon circled, bearing the letter Christian had sent home. In the luxurious parlor, a servant bowed and reported, "Sir, the young master has sent a letter home." Count Khazar, Christian's father, brightened with joy and stepped forward, laughing. "Ah, finally some news." He held the letter and muttered, "According to Sister Miriam, the boy secured the safety seal, indeed just like me when I was young." Scanning the scrawled lines on the paper, he frowned. "I wonder what he wrote." He turned to the servant and smiled. "It seems I must prepare a few things for this son of mine." Seen at the Biskin Range the next day, a hazy dawn spread across the Biskin Mountains, where the border between the Black House and the Poison Clan mingled in a cold, dangerous air. Jagged stone peaks stood shrouded in mist as if hiding ancient secrets. Jupian's expedition had gathered on a clearing, tension thick in the air. Stern-faced, Jupian stood before the troops and spoke sharply. "Do not act alone. Move in groups of at least 2. The subordinates answered in unison, clear and decisive, "Yes, ma'am." Jupian turned to Christian with a stern look. Before she finished, Christian raised a hand to interrupt, eyes glittering with indifference. "I'll go alone," he said calmly but arrogantly. Jupian recoiled, brows knitting. "What?" she snapped, a flash of annoyance in her eyes. Christian shrugged, a mocking smile at his lips. "It's more comfortable alone. At your snail's pace. When will you finish searching this area? The toxin will likely be dealt with already, but if they delay, they'll get there before us." Jupian's face darkened, hands clenching. Her voice lowered with warning. "This is an area with monsters level 4 and above. If you get in trouble, don't expect us to save you." Christian sneered, eyes lazy with boredom. "Don't be a burden to me." He replied, then suddenly produced a small glass vial from his pocket containing several pills that shimmered blue. Holding the vial up, he said calmly, "This is a special antidote for the Poison Clan. Take it." Jupian curled her lip, skeptical. "I've already taken medicine, no need," she said curtly. Christian ignored her, opened the vial, and poured 2 pills into his palm. "This works better than your cheap stuff. Take them, believe I'm boasting if you must." Saying so, he popped the 2 pills into his mouth, a teasing gleam in his eyes. "Fine, suit yourself." Jupian ground her teeth, anger flaring, but before she could reply, a sharp voice rang from afar. "Oh, my internal conflict already?" Marissa approached with an air of arrogance, accompanied by another, her hair sparkling in the sunlight as a mischievous glance swept over Jupian. "You're too slow," Jupian said coldly, her tone full of reproach. Marissa shrugged, a half-smile of challenge. "I arrived on time, you're just impatient. Should I praise you for not cheating by scouting ahead?" Jupian growled, gaze knife-sharp. "No traps or ambushes during the expedition, remember." Marissa curled her lip in mockery. "You're so grumpy, we're enemies. Do you expect me to be polite?" She stepped closer and leaned toward Jupian. Her voice dropped to a provocative low. "No need for that." Jupian turned and curtly ordered her subordinates, "All Black House forces, move out." Marissa also turned, waved to signal the start of the expedition. "Those who check the comms, proceed." The subordinates answered in unison, "Yes, ma'am." Christian muttered from the side, "Then I'll go ahead." Without waiting for a response, he turned and strode straight into the dense forest. Leaving Jupian frozen for a few seconds, she muttered inwardly, anger flaring in her eyes. This guy tossed the comms. What the hell is he thinking? In the Biskin forest, Christian cut through the woods, his steps quick but wary. Ancient canopies blocked the light, creating a gloomy space where the wind whistled like the whisper of death. Suddenly, a pack of monstrous apes burst from the underbrush, howling loudly. With practiced skill, Christian dispatched them easily. The blade flashed in the dark. He murmured, "In my past life I prowled the demon realm until my souls wore thin. I could tell monster zones with my eyes closed. To meet a level 4 beast, I'd have to go deeper." As he walked, he recalled Jupian's warning, not to expect reinforcements if in danger. He laughed and shook his head. "Does she really care about me? No way. She looks like she wouldn't bleed even if stabbed." He frowned, a flash of vigilance in his eyes. After all, Count Langyam's plot had probably begun, and he hadn't spotted any assassins nearby. First, he had to find the relic. Suddenly, from a distance, a familiar figure appeared. Marissa stepped out of the bushes, her hair sparkling and her gaze sharp. Their eyes met and the space seemed to freeze. Both fell silent, an odd embarrassment hanging between them. Christian thought inwardly that he'd wandered into the Poison Clan's territory by mistake. He waved, voice gentle, "I must have taken the wrong way. I'll head another direction." Marissa gave a slight nod, a hint of shyness in her eyes. "Be careful," she said softly but meaningfully. Christian continued deeper into the forest, on high alert. Suddenly he stopped, his eyes flashing as if he'd noticed something. Their target was to harm Marissa. Who in the Poison Clan would be willing to sacrifice a princess? He turned and called out loudly, "Hey Marissa, I need to ask you something." She startled, turned back with a curious look. "What is it?" Without thinking, Christian blurted, "You're a bastard child, aren't you? Are you despised within your clan?" The words hung in the air like ice. Marissa froze, eyes wide, her face flushing with fury. "You bastard!" she shouted, lips pressed tight, her gaze blazing. Christian hurriedly raised a hand, apologetic. "I didn't mean it, slip of the tongue. I was treated less than human by them back then. Sorry if I was rude." But before he could finish, a streak of bluish energy whizzed past his head. It slammed into the tree trunk behind him, carving a deep hole. Christian went pale, sweat beading on his brow. Marissa stepped forward, eyes blazing, voice as cold as ice. "Apologize properly right now." Christian froze, thinking to himself that her anger wasn't like ordinary family quarrels. To learn the true motive, I have to find the mastermind. But first, she's in danger. He took a deep breath to dissipate the tense atmosphere. "Hey, you're breaking the rules," he said. Marissa flinched, her voice trembling. "What did you just say?" Christian pointed at the broken tree calmly. "Look at this tree. You struck first, meaning the Poison Clan violated the law and the Black House took the relic. Am I wrong?" Marissa snorted coldly and pulled 3 colorful glass vials from her pocket. Her gaze was icy. "For insulting my family, and for the humiliation after being broken off the engagement. This is self-defense." Having spoken, she swung her arm and hurled the 3 glass vials straight at Christian. Bang, the 3 vials exploded, releasing a cloud of toxic smoke in dazzling colors. Christian coughed violently, his face paling. Strange sigils began to appear across his body. He clutched his chest and crumpled in pain. Marissa stepped forward, her voice cold. "This is Simo Blue Bloom. With a snap, the poison will erupt throughout your body. Apologize." She produced 3 more vials, eyes merciless, kneeling and demanding he beg for his life. Christian stammered in the toxic haze, "Come on." But she didn't let him finish and threw another 3 vials. The poison cloud grew thicker and Christian was nearly immobile, his body trembling when suddenly, from within the smoke, his hands reached out. He seized Marissa's wrist, rose to his feet and faced her. His eyes glinted with a strange resolve. Time seemed to stop, carrying a strangely romantic feeling between life and death. In a warm, nonchalant tone, he said, I'm afraid I can't do that. Christian's body now glowed with blossoms that emitted shimmering light, mesmerizingly beautiful yet lethally dangerous. The light was a warning, alluring and terrifying enough to make anyone recoil. He stepped slowly closer, leaning toward her, his voice low and suggestive. They don't call you the little poison for nothing, a mischievous spark in his eyes. I've heard this poison is so painful it can kill if untreated. Is that true? The girl's cheeks colored, a momentary shyness in her clear eyes, but she immediately shoved his hand away forcefully and said firmly, "No way, I alone hold the antidote to this toxin." Her lips tightened, gaze icy as a challenge. Christian smirked, a confident grin spreading. Tilting his head, he asked arrogantly, "Have you ever heard of the Healer clan? I took inspiration from them and concocted this myself," he said, holding up a small vial whose light flashed across his face. "Call it a multi-toxin antidote. What do you think?" Hearing such nonsense, the girl frowned, her delicate brows knitting in suspicion. "What the hell are you talking about?" Before she could react further, Christian suddenly swung his arm and struck her neck hard. The lightning-fast blow stunned her. Her eyes widened for a moment before she collapsed. Unconscious, she fell into his arms. Holding the beautiful girl lying quietly in his arms, Christian whispered softly. In a warm but determined voice, he said, "Rest a moment, I'll definitely save you." He gently propped her against an ancient tree, expertly bound her with rope, his gaze never leaving her fair face as she drifted in a stupor. She looked like a fairy in a dream, stunningly beautiful. But Christian did not let emotion shake his resolve. He took a small orb from his pocket and murmured, "It's time." His finger traced the orb's surface, and instantly a topographic map appeared, a faint light illuminating the dark forest. He pinpointed his location, his sharp eyes scanning every detail on the map. Suddenly, from one side, the girl's guards received a signal. A blue-haired man frowned and muttered, "A message from Miss Marissa, recon the cliff face." The other replied suspiciously, "Why change the plan all of a sudden?" Then a triumphant smile spread across the blue-haired man's face. He clenched his fist, excited. "Heh heh, now we don't have to run from those damn Poison Clan bastards anymore." Christian, hidden in the shadows, heard every word clearly. He smirked, confidence flashing in his eyes. "Now I can fully focus on finding the relic." Cut to deeper in the forest. Christian moved nimbly through the canopy, his body light as a ghost, his speed leaving only gusts of wind behind. As he went, he murmured, his voice low and haunting, "Relics are bestowed power by demons or constellations. They have been hidden for centuries, or they fall from the sky, as a trial for the lowly creatures of the mortal realm. Go ahead, try using them." He recalled Ranya's tale, the chatter of the shadows. The relic was once discarded for unstable power until Count Langham spent 2 years studying how to wield it. And that was also why Lord Norgaju lost his life. He muttered, "Nordian must not die, at least not yet, to delay this world's destruction." Suddenly he stopped. His sharp eyes caught a leaf missing a corner. As if something had bitten it, he crouched to examine strange footprints pressed into the soil. His mood sank and he murmured warily, "Footprints in this demon land where no one should live. Relics don't walk on their own. Someone arrived here before me." Christian immediately activated his stealth skill. His body blended into the space, invisible like a phantom, and he slipped deeper into the woods. Their group was murmuring. One man spoke anxiously, "Have the Black House arrived yet?" Another answered, "Not yet, my lord." A young man in the center said coldly, "How long must we wait for these slow brutes?" Christian, concealed in the shadows, watched each person. His eyes lit as he sensed their energies. One Poison Clan member at 4-star level. That woman was about 5-star, but the other's aura was gloomy, his core energy unclear. Who was he? Suddenly a masked man sneered, "Marissa, she's the root of all trouble. I wouldn't mind if she were dead." Christian narrowed his eyes, thinking that the way he spoke suggested he might be a direct heir of the Poison Clan. So it was all a struggle for succession. A man in white nodded, his voice deep. "Either way, this will wipe out the rest." Christian pondered, his gaze cold. So they've set their sights on the relic. But what kind of relic it is doesn't matter. That's Langham's problem. After Marissa is dealt with, the masked man ordered them to find where those bastards were. 2 guards nodded and left at once. Only the purple-haired man remained. Christian murmured, "Only the dumbest left. He's about 4-star. I could confront him directly, but that would be too noisy. There must be a way to steal the relic without drawing attention." Just then, from above, a troop of monkeys screeched, drawing Christian's attention. He looked up, the corner of his mouth lifting in a confident smile. "Oh, this time I have a plan." While the purple-haired man yawned from boredom, something fell from a tree and struck him on the head. He startled, looked up and barked angrily, "What the hell is that, you filthy bastards?" The monkeys, not understanding, only howled in delight at seeing him enraged. The purple-haired man roared, "You damn brutes, dare mock me and I won't forgive you." Christian hid behind a tree, chuckled softly, and signaled the monkeys to disperse. The purple-haired man chased after them in fury, shouting, "Get down here now." When he had disappeared from sight, Christian dispelled his invisibility and approached the box lying on the ground. He muttered, "Now there's no joking around." He took out the summoning stone and hung it around his neck. The stone emitted a mysterious purple light. It opened a pocket dimension. Christian rummaged inside. He pulled out a box identical to the relic's container. "I refurbished Luna's old box to look brand new," he thought, a sly gleam in his eyes. He executed the swap, placing the fake box back in its spot, grinning with satisfaction as he worked. "What you people are about to chase is just a fake." When he finished, Christian opened the real box, eyes fixed on its contents. Seeing the item inside, his face suddenly froze. He exclaimed in astonishment, "Isn't this the Twilight necklace?" Cut to Marissa. She gradually regained consciousness. Her eyes opened slightly as weak light filtered through the canopy onto her face. She jolted when she realized she was tightly bound to an ancient tree, ropes cutting into her wrists. Anger surged in her chest, and she shouted furiously, "What the hell is this?" Memories flooded back, the image of Christian close to her, his low voice in her ear. "They don't call you the little poison for nothing." Recalling that moment, Marissa's eyes shimmered, a mix of shame and anger. She gritted her teeth and shouted, "Coward." She struggled violently, the ropes chafing her wrists until they burned. She hissed with contempt, "Don't expect me to apologize, pulling this dirty trick on me. Do you think I'm a joke, Christian?" Suddenly a sound from deep in the forest made her pause. Her sharp eyes swept toward the darkness. A voice called out, "Found her." From the bushes, a brown-haired girl stepped forward, a mocking smirk on her lips. "You're the Poison Clan princess, aren't you?" Marissa narrowed her eyes, wary. "Who are you?" she asked coldly, though a twinge of unease rose within her. Cut to Jupian's group. Meanwhile, they continued searching the forest diligently. Jupian held Christian's antidote vial, staring thoughtfully, his fingers clutching the glass as if to crush it. A red-haired youth turned and said suspiciously, remembering the princess, "Why did she give him an extra dose of antidote?" Jupian froze, confused. She thought inwardly, "Why did I ever think I could trust that bastard?" From afar, a guard ran up, panting, "No discoveries in this area, my lady." Jupian nodded, voice calm but cutting. "Understood. They're still searching over there, right?" The short-haired guard nodded. "Yes, they're still sweeping the area." He hesitated, then asked, "But will Master Christian be all right?" Jupian frowned slightly, not answering at once. Dark scenarios flashed through her mind. Christian falling from a cliff or worse, carried off by a giant bird for acting alone. She shook her head to dismiss those thoughts and muttered, "He left of his own accord. What do you want me to do? His fate is his own." Suddenly a shout rang out from afar. "My lady, we found the treasure." Jupian startled and turned, her eyes lighting up. She immediately followed the guards to the treasure's location. Before them lay an ancient box, a faint glow emanating from its carved patterns. Jupian smirked confidently. "This took more effort than I thought, but at least we've secured it before the Poison Clan." She turned to the person beside her and ordered, "Quick, send word for everyone to gather at Lanka's Gorge." The guard nodded and replied, "Yes, my princess." A man in red standing outside shouted, "Everyone hear this. The princess says prepare to return." The crowd answered in unison, "Yes, miss." They immediately headed toward Lanka's Gorge. A short-haired guard, excited, said, "Well done, princess. We got the treasure first. That means we've beaten the Dark House, right?" But suddenly a voice from behind called, "Princess." Jupian turned around, her gaze ice cold. The speaker continued, "That fellow, could he already be dead? I mean Christian." Jupian froze, a flicker of doubt crossing her heart. She said in a low voice, "Teams 1 and 2 stay and search. Bring back whatever you find, even if it's just a body." A guard frowned and complained, "What? Why bother for that idiot?" Jupian replied coldly, "He's troublesome, true, but he's still direct blood. Bring back something." The guard nodded reluctantly, understood. Jupian turned and ordered, "The rest follow me." But before they could take another step, a terrifying explosion rang out from the nearby cliff. Rock and earth collapsed, dust billowing to block the path. Panic spread through the group. One man shouted, "What's happening?" Another looked toward the exit in alarm. "The way out is sealed." Suddenly from the mountain peak, a surge of blue energy spread violently, carrying the breath of death. Jupian immediately shouted, "Raise your guard, we're under attack." From the sky, a demonic blue flower hurtled down, releasing a horrific poisonous gas. In an instant, people were poisoned, their faces paling as they collapsed, only managing to gasp, "Poison." On the mountain peak, a figure of the Poison Clan looked down, eyes cold. He sneered, "Perfect. the blue flower of death belonging to Marissa. I stole it from her laboratory. No one would suspect. The blame would all fall on Marissa. The figure descended toward Jupian's group, thinking it was risky, but the only way to eliminate them all at once. She glanced around, cruelty flashing in her eyes. Now take the treasure to Marissa's laboratory. But suddenly a trident flew from nowhere, aimed straight at her. The masked woman flinched and hastily summoned Crimson Claws, shouting, "Fine, I'll finish you myself. You're no match for me anyway." Jupian trembled with rage, gripping her sword tightly and yelling, "Shut up, coward." She frowned at her opponent, thinking to herself that he was at least a 5-star demonic. "Marissa, I didn't expect you'd stab me in the back." The masked woman sneered coldly. "I'll end you quickly, I won't let you suffer." She lunged forward, Crimson Claws aimed straight at Jupian. But suddenly a figure dove down from above, slamming hard into the ground. The masked woman startled and stepped back. They both looked up, and the figure was none other than Marissa. Jupian shouted, "Marissa!" Immediately another person appeared, Melon. The deputy captain of the Black Swamp Knights, Melon, looked at Marissa and smiled. "The princess is as nimble as ever." Marissa blushed, replying shyly but sharply, "Don't act innocent." She turned to the masked woman, eyes blazing. "You dare use my blue flower to frame me? Reveal your name and identity." The masked woman curled her lips, voice dripping with sarcasm. "You still don't know who you are, do you?" She put out her hand and whistled, and immediately countless shadows appeared behind her. Marissa instantly drew 3 vials of poison, ready to fight, and replied coldly, "Do you have reinforcements?" Melon tightened her grip on the great blade resting on her shoulder and smiled confidently. 2 3-star fiends and 1 5-star. This really overwhelms us." Jupian frowned, voice grave. "Whoever's behind this knows the expedition lacks strong fighters. At this rate, we'll die like dogs." Suddenly a loud laugh rang out from the mountain peak, drawing every eye, and a figure appeared. The sly smile as if he knew everything. That was Christian. He stood there, eyes glittering with confidence, as if the whole world was in his hands. Christian looked down at the people below, sighed softly, stroked his chin, and his voice echoed, "Right now you're missing me so much you're going crazy, aren't you?" Hearing this, both women below grew angry and shouted. Jupian quickly denied it. "No way, that's not true." Marissa cut in sharply, "Christian, we need to talk later." As they began to tease him, the masked woman laughed loudly. "Ha ha, how touching, how moved you are as you die. So you think one little weakness gives you a chance to win." At her words, Marissa thought inwardly that although she hated to admit it, given the current situation, it was true. Once someone reaches 5-star rank, their whole being changes like a metamorphosis. Even the 4 of us combined would struggle to defeat him. Seeing this smugness, Christian above smiled. "Ha ha, proud just for reaching 5 stars? You'd think he's some 8-star or something." At the taunt, the masked woman looked up angrily. "What did you say?" Christian continued. "Fair enough, only a fool would come up with such a cheap plan." Then he pulled out a few items from the space gate and called out, "Catch these for everyone." At that, the 3 of them respectively received the items he'd asked Rubid to prepare earlier. A necklace, something like an axe, and a golden toad. Seeing the items before them, all 3 asked in unison, "What is this?" Christian replied, "These are relics that boost each person's power by 1 rank." Seeing her reaction, Marissa looked displeased. Christian called down, "You don't want one?" Hearing that, Marissa's face darkened. She ground her teeth and stammered, "Of course not. It's not that I don't." After Jupian equipped the item, she immediately felt mana surge through her body. She exclaimed, "Wait, this is saturated with mana." The sight of her caused Marissa to flinch in fear. Jupian went on, "Wow, is this the true power of the relic? It feels like I've just jumped to 6-star level." At her feedback, Christian frowned slightly, thinking, "I didn't hand out something that strong. I don't even know. This is terrifying." Melon, after putting on the necklace, let out a small sigh. Then she remembered what Count Khazar had told her. This was a message indicating as much. But she still asked, "Master, the activation is a bit odd for me." The letter read, "Melon, someone is targeting the expedition. I prepared a relic for you, support the Poison Clan princess and her team. How do you activate it?" Back to the present, she looked up and asked, "Where did you get things like this?" He propped his hands on his knees and rose lightly, replying, "Let's just say I have a fool I've been spinning like a top. Anyway, I have work to do, I must be going." She added, "Master, you promised we'd spar after this was over." He waved dismissively, I know. Try to stay alive until then," he said. Seeing him leave suddenly, everyone was startled. Marissa shouted, "Wait, what? You're not joining the fight." Having spoken, he vanished from the mountaintop. She cursed angrily, "That bastard! If you're going to talk to someone, at least answer, won't you?" Jupian recalled the vial Christian had given her and smiled, saying, "He must have some plan, I thought so too." Seeing everyone defend Christian, Marisa's expression darkened slightly. She wondered, why is she suddenly siding with him? What was that dreamy look earlier? The masked woman, noticing they'd wasted too much time, snorted coldly. You think a few toys like these can save you? With that, she unleashed a surge of green mana that enveloped her entire body. Looking at it, the group's faces suddenly tightened. It was Black Diamond Spike Chi, a destructive force controllable only at 5-star rank. But faced with this pressure, Melon stepped forward with confidence. She thrust her blade forward and smiled. Didn't the master say earlier, star rank doesn't decide the outcome of a battle. The arrogant will be crushed by their own pride. Jupian continued. Exactly. Those who rely on strength to look down on others, I always want to smash them with pure power. Melon stepped forward confidently and said, All right, princesses, shall we go? Jupian moved up, put an arm around Marisa's shoulder and said, Let's depart. Marisa's face darkened as she stared at the golden toad in her hand. Her hand trembled as she murmured, Let's go. She then put the golden toad on her head. It looked rather cute. Her cheeks flushed with embarrassment as she stammered, Let's go. And then she produced 3 vials of poison, ready to attack. Jupian drew her sword and took a stance, saying, Hey, let's bet who takes that one down first. Hearing that, Melon smiled and agreed. Fine, I'll take the one with the black spear. Provoked by the women's confidence, the masked woman gritted her teeth and shouted, Truly arrogant, die. She swung her arm and fired countless poisoned arrows straight at the group. But Melon casually swung her great blade and easily intercepted the attack. Immediately after, the masked woman vanished from her position, which made Melon start slightly. She turned to look back. At that moment, the masked woman had already bared her fangs and claws, ready to strike. By reflex, she raised her great blade to block the blow against this swift and powerful attack. Melon gritted her teeth and cursed loudly, Damn it. Seeing she could withstand the previous strike, the masked woman complimented. Not bad. But with that, she stomped hard on the ground. She leapt high and threw a barrage of poisoned darts at Melon. The darts sliced across her body, causing her to cry out in pain. Then the masked woman fell back and sneered. You're just a bug black swamp knight. You're clearly rubbish. Melon looked straight at her and mocked. Are you sure you're 5-star? That last move felt like a mosquito bite. Provoked, the masked woman shouted in anger, Bug, and lunged at Melon to attack. Just as her claws neared Melon, Melon thought to herself, this is the moment. Acting on that thought, she swung and grabbed the masked woman's head, causing her to flinch and cry out in pain. A pungent cloud of poisonous gas emanated from his body, shaking the air. He trembled and stammered, Why am I affected by a level 4 curse? What the? Melon smiled. This relic doesn't amplify strength. It amplifies the curse's power through my blood. How does that feel? The masked man shivered slightly. He thought to himself, did he purposely take that hit just to do this? While he was still dazed, Melon casually swung her blade and delivered a heavy slash, adding, Cool, right? The slash made him spit a mouthful of fresh blood. His body flew straight backward from the momentum. Seeing that, one of his teammates called out to the captain. But at that moment, a dark blade was pressed to his throat without his knowledge. And Jupian warned, Look this way. The fight between us isn't over. Look over here. The battle between us isn't finished yet. Christian was still wandering in the woods, calling out as he walked. Hey, finished hiding yet? Not appearing on the cliff. Are you planning an ambush, or are you just afraid of losing? No sooner had he finished than a figure in a white cloak stepped up from behind him. He wore a mask, his eyes radiating murderous intent as he looked at him and laughed loudly. Well, found you. Christian looked toward the man in white and said, I've been wondering for a while why your core is so murky. You don't seem to be of the Poison clan, so why are you with them? At these words, the man in white fell silent for a moment. Christian bent down, casually picked up a stone, and continued speaking. If you don't want to answer, fine then. He placed the stone on his fingertip, then immediately flicked it forward hard, sending it straight toward the man in white to attack. But the man was lucky and jerked his head to the side, easily dodging the throw. More stones were hurled one after another, but he continued to gracefully avoid each strike. Suddenly, a stone shot straight at his face. With a stunned look, the stone slammed into his face, making him cry out in pain. Christian remarked, when you're tense, your right shoulder lifts slightly, and when you're distracted, your vision narrows. That's a bad habit. Perhaps you should fix it, Eshid. Eshid remained silent in response to this. Moments later, he reached up and removed his mask, revealing a handsome face. He recalled his father's words. The poison will deal with Jupian and Marisa, but if Christian escapes alone, you'll have to chase the boy. No one is allowed to survive these incidents. Back in the present, Eshid's expression tightened. He cursed inwardly, damn it. Things have become complicated. Jupian's team hasn't been wiped out, and Melon is also fighting. If so, the plan to annihilate the expedition becomes harder to succeed. If I kill him in this situation, someone will start digging into everything. And because I wasn't at the institute, suspicion is inevitable, which means my father will be dragged into this. Christian smiled, folded his arms, and looked ahead, asking, "Big brother, why did you suddenly go quiet? Are you scared?" After a moment's thought, Eshid made a decision. Yes, better to deal with him first and worry later. Immediately, a sword formed from black chi appeared in his hand. When it was complete, he tightened his grip on the blade and stared straight ahead. Seeing that, Christian smiled and replied, "That's more like it." With that, he lunged at Christian, unleashing a slash as if to tear the space apart. Christian immediately summoned his own black sword and swung a cut to rip apart the incoming attack. But then he stepped back, momentarily startled at something he noticed. From afar, two shadowy figures tightened their swords and charged toward him to attack. Seeing this, Christian wondered, creating clones with demonic chi. "So you're not just a lucky young master, huh?" He then launched a series of slashes to parry the strikes from the clones. His expression gradually became strained, trembling under the powerful attacks. From the distance, Eshid tightened his grip on the sword and charged in a way that made him flinch. Christian smiled, thinking, ambushing with illusions. "I knew you'd pull this trick." Ignoring the phantoms behind him, Christian clenched his sword hilt and rushed at Eshid, ready to block. As he rushed in, he swung the sword hard, delivering a horizontal slash at him, but immediately afterwards, Christian's eyes widened in surprise. It turned out the thing he had slashed was only an illusion. From above, another form of Eshid appeared, bringing his sword down straight toward Christian's head. He grit his teeth and shouted, "Die!" A strike like a thunderbolt from above shattered the ground, dust and smoke billowing everywhere. After the attack, Eshid landed lightly. He looked at the void ahead where a huge slash had torn the earth and sneered, "You're nothing but a useless insect." At the taunt, a voice suddenly rang out, "Who did you just call an insect?" Seeing Christian still alive, Eshid flinched and stammered, "Impossible." Immediately after, the illusions he had created were absorbed by something and began to fade into nothingness. They converged on the blade of Christian's sword. Seeing this, Eshid's eyes widened in bewilderment. Christian tightened his grip on the sword, smiled confidently, and said, "Surprised by the black blade yet?" With that, he launched a powerful slash. It carved a long skid across the ground and raced straight toward Eshid, whose eyes were full of shock. Eshid hurriedly formed a layer of magical shield with his hand to block the blow. But the shield began to show signs of cracking, and within seconds it dissolved into nothing. Eshid took the full impact, crying out in pain with no time to react. The strike caused a massive explosion that set the surrounding trees ablaze. Eshid dropped to his knees, trembling with fear. He gritted his teeth and cried, "Why? Why was I humiliated by this illegitimate brat?" Christian smiled and stepped closer, saying, "Just admit defeat nicely and I'll keep this quiet." Back then, Langham would have had trouble too, and fighting within the clan is nothing to be proud of. These words startled Eshid. He looked at Christian and thought, does he know the whole plan? But how? Then I must kill him to avoid future trouble, though killing him is impossible now. No choice but to wait for another opportunity. After thinking it through, he said, "Thank you for preserving your brother's honor." Christian stepped closer and offered his hand. "It's nothing. This is the pride of a true Demon Clan member." Eshid took Christian's hand and nodded, "Yes, that's right." But Christian squeezed his hand tight, his voice icy. "Did you think I'd say that?" The handshake made Eshid recoil at the oppressive pressure. He thought to himself, "Contact with demonic chi, you bastard." He stammered, You. Then a large amount of demonic chi from Christian's hand pierced through Eshid's body, spraying blood everywhere. His eyes remained wide in disbelief as he spat a mouthful of fresh blood. Then his whole body collapsed to the ground. Looking at the man before him, Christian said, "You are nothing more than a cowardly fake." When he finished, Christian hurried back to Marissa's group, muttering, "Damn it, I spent more time than expected." Hopping the others over there were fighting well, but then a voice called his name. At that moment, the three women's faces looked toward him, not happy at all. Seeing that, Christian froze at the approach of the group coming toward him. He stepped back and tried to explain, "Could you stand over here, Marissa? I'm feeling a lot of pressure." Hearing this, Marissa became furious, clenched her fists, and shouted, "Is this the relic you gave me?" Melon spoke up, "The mission is complete, my lord." Hearing this, Christian nodded with satisfaction. "Good. What about those demons of that extremely poisonous mage?" Marissa replied, "They died and turned to dust shortly after. Perhaps he had prepared to erase the traces." Christian nodded, "I understand. Well done." Jupian looked at him and asked, "But where did you just come back from?" Taken aback, Christian awkwardly scratched his ear and answered me, just scouting around nearby." He sighed, then confidently patted his chest. "Someone noble like me shouldn't be fighting." His words contrasted sharply with his body covered in wounds. Marissa looked at him and said, "Then why did someone like you return with so many injuries? Could there still be traitors among those extremely poisonous mages?" Hearing that, Christian's eyes widened. He then brushed his hand off to change the subject. "I already said no, let's just withdraw." He thought to himself that he had deliberately handled things from a distance. By now they either regained consciousness and fled, or were recalled by their subordinates. "I'm telling the truth. Making a big deal of this will only anger Marquis Langham even more. The constellation's talisman was stolen, and 3 people survived. That's enough." Cut to a week later, the recent incident shook both houses. Christian sat sullenly before a banquet of lavish dishes. On the surface, the blame fell on the extremely poisonous mages, and they were put in a difficult position. But in the end, the matter was resolved with compensation agreed by both sides. Of course, the main reason it ended this way was because they knew we had discovered Eshid and Marquis Langham's involvement. Still better than the previous life when everyone was assassinated. Duke Huem no longer had to hand the demon god's talisman over to Langham. Melon returned to the Dark Mages after leaving the ravine. Marissa also promised to keep Melon's involvement secret and then departed. Marie stepped forward to pour him wine and cheerfully said, "Ho, ho, ho, young master, even if you have no appetite, you must eat to recover." Christian, looking miserable, replied, "My whole body feels torn. Why should I eat?" Marie answered, "Hearing you say that tears my heart to pieces." Christian frowned, wondering, "Even your heart aches." She formed a heart with her hands and exclaimed, "Oh my, your words are so hard. My heart is racing erratically. Even if you're a bit rude or worse, I still love you." Faced with such affection, Christian angrily shouted, "Stop saying such weird things, and I've told you. Your heart stopped beating ages ago, didn't it?" Marie stepped closer, grasping his hands and adopting a solemn expression. "Impossible. Whenever I look at you, my heart races so fast it hurts." Faced with her serious face, Christian stammered, "Don't deliberately try to move people like that." Marie's tone immediately softened. "Come on, open up." Christian dodged the spoon Marie offered, slightly frowning. "My arm still isn't healed. I can feed myself." At this, Marie moved even closer and leaned in. "Ho, ho, ho, you're so shy. This side of you is adorable, too." Then she shoved the spoonful into Christian's mouth, making him startle but unable to avoid it. Marie laughed heartily. "Ho, ho, you must eat well so you'll have strength tonight. How do you find this special soup?" Christian's eyes rolled back at the sudden action. He stammered, "You didn't cook this." Marie replied, "But it's full of my love." Amid their flirtation, Jupian sat opposite, arms crossed, observing and brooding silently as if invisible at the table. Christian turned to her and said, "Miss, how much longer do you plan to stay? You're not fully recovered yet." Jupian replied coldly, "I'll leave after observing a bit longer." Then she rolled her eyes away and continued, "I'm the one in charge here." Christian smiled, thinking he'd give her a stomachache, though in many senses. Marie glared at Jupian angrily and said, "How dare you flirt with my lord?" Then she stepped toward Jupian, laughing loudly, "Oh ho, would you like a drink, miss? I'll fetch you some blood juice." Jupian coldly refused, "No, I don't like blood juice. I prefer onion juice." Her words made Marie's expression freeze like dried glue, stunned for 5 seconds. Then her whole body deflated with disappointment. "Onion juice isn't my specialty." Seeing the intimidation fail, Christian sighed quietly, thinking this girl is unexpectedly a tough opponent. He looked at Jupian and said, "Hey, do you have something to say?" She immediately snapped angrily, "I hate you. One day I'll crush you." Christian curled his lip and sighed, "Sure, if you want, go ahead and try." But Jupian's demeanor suddenly softened. She said, "Anyway, thank you for this time." The thanks froze Christian for a few seconds. He put on a mock-impressed tone. "I can't hear well, say it louder." Jupian glared at him angrily. "If you can't hear, then whatever. Don't get the wrong idea. I'm only acknowledging what you did." At such flattering words, Christian snorted. "If that's how you see it, then consider me your benefactor from now on." Jupian continued, "That smile of yours today will be the last I'll see." The Marquis promised, "So you may soon be officially appointed a direct heir. Once you become a direct heir, everything will be different. I mean, you should mentally prepare well for that." Christian agreed inwardly. "Certainly it won't be like before. Until now I'm someone they wouldn't bother to trample, but once equalized as a direct heir, they'll all come to crush me. Once the core recovers, Eshid will lift his head, and so will Crown Princess Yulian, who conceals secrets, and the Marquis Tam Hong's son as well. The Misich conflict, and Grand Prince Sherrod of the same kind too. Not to mention, should we count Miss Jupian in as well?" Seeing Christian starring, Jupian asked, "What are you looking at? Do you find me pretty?" At the sudden question, Christian thought, "Why ask that out of nowhere? I feel there's an insurmountable wall." Before he could answer, she stood up and continued, "Or maybe not, but why keep staring at me like that? I'm leaving. With that, she turned and walked away. After Jupian left, Christian breathed a sigh of relief, delighted, phew, finally gone. Drained of energy, I need to recharge now. But then his whole body trembled with anger. He turned toward the front door and shouted, "Hey, didn't you say you were leaving?" Suddenly he paused, looking toward the arriving person. It was Miss Marissa. Under the surprised gazes of Christian and Marie, she entered, appearing proud yet slightly embarrassed. She spoke in a soft, awkward voice. Are you all right?" Christian, no less flustered, replied with a forced smile, "I'm doing so-so." That awkward reply made the atmosphere in the room suddenly stiff, as if both were hiding something. Christian thought to himself, why is she here again? Don't tell me she's come to nag about being tied up yesterday. But at that moment she cut off his thoughts, her voice more serious. "My father wants to see you. Duke Huam, head of the extremely poisonous demon house, commander of the 8 stars. Hearing that name, Christian was startled and thought, he wants to see me. What's going on? Scene shifted to Marissa's mansion. Christian walked beside her, full of suspicion as they approached the Duke's audience room. After a stretch of silence, she suddenly turned to him, eyes shining with worry. "But how did you know a plot had been arranged?" Christian answered in a calm yet confident tone. "I have someone feeding me information." Those words made Marissa's face fall, as if a heavy secret pressed on her mind. She recalled Melon's words, the deputy commander of the Black Wolf Knights of the Black Demons, who had told her, "I'm Melon, sent by young Master Christian to infiltrate here." Marissa had angrily shouted then, "Infiltrate? Are you confessing Christian violated expedition rules?" But Melon immediately cut in. "Someone targeted the expedition team. The young master asked me to help you and the expedition team fight them." Hearing that, Marissa's eyes widened in shock. "What?" Back in the present, she turned to Christian in an accusing tone. "If you knew about a plot, you could have just told me. Why hide it?" Christian looked her straight in the eye, his voice warm but resolute. "I was afraid you'd be in danger. If the culprit is from the extremely poisonous demon house, an heir like you would be a primary target. The succession struggle there is brutal." Marissa froze, eyes shining and emotions mixed. She spoke with a tremor. "Don't you suspect me? I'm indebted to you. Thank you for saving my entire expedition team." She then looked at Christian bashfully, her eyes glinting as if wanting to say something deeper. Christian smiled, sounding sincere. "Because to me you are important." Those words made Marissa's cheeks flush. Her eyes widened and her lips trembled. "What?" She touched her cheek, flustered. "Why is my heart suddenly racing like this?" But Christian immediately cut off her thoughts with a teasing yet meaningful tone. "So why not become political partners in the future?" Marissa flinched, heart pounding. "What?" He continued confidently. "It's not a bad proposal, right? Don't worry about the past. I don't intend to resume or undo the broken engagement. We will be strangers, trust me." Those words cut like a sharp blade, straight into Marissa's fragile heart. The space froze and her face darkened. Christian thought, why is she not saying anything? Did I say something wrong? Suddenly Marissa glanced at him, eyes flashing with fire. "I utterly agree for the sake of both houses," she said. Short but powerful words that left Christian stunned, wondering what was happening. "What did I do wrong?" The two then entered the Duke's room. Marissa spoke respectfully. "My lord, I have brought young Master Baron of Duke Baron's house." The man in the room was pensive, then turned around. A deep voice rang out. "Well done, Marissa. That was Duke Huam, commander of the extremely poisonous demon house." He looked at her with a hint of sadness and said, "Why call me lord? Didn't I tell you to call me father?" Marissa blushed and replied softly, "There are guests present. Please be discreet." The Duke laughed. "Haha, I know it's a bit overdone. Instead, have dinner with me. I've prepared the fawn meat you like." Marissa sighed softly and nodded yes. Then she bowed and excused herself, not forgetting to glance at Christian with a meaningful look. Christian watched her leave. He thought to himself, I didn't expect Duke Huam to dote on his daughter so much. He stepped forward to bow and greet the Duke. Huam got straight to the point, his voice light but icy. "I hear you've grown more mature. But remembering the offense you committed against my princess, I still want to tear you apart." Christian started, his heart pounding, but the Duke continued. "If not for you, Marissa would have been harmed. I'll let the past go." Christian exhaled and hurriedly changed the subject. "Sir, what did you call me here for?" Huam fixed him with a sharp look. "What is your connection to the famed alchemist family? Their records state you bought medicine from the auction house, but I checked and found no ingredients from them. Explain yourself." Christian swallowed and then laughed confidently. "Actually, I made it all myself. I'm a genius, after all." The Duke paused, then burst out laughing. "Ha ha, you're not guilty of anything I can't greet you for." Christian breathed a sigh of relief, thinking he'd escaped, but Huam cut in. "Not finished yet. Here's the main matter. Would you like to join the extremely poisonous demon house? The unexpected offer stunned Christian. Scene shifted to Count Langham's mansion. A red-haired woman pushed the door open with force. That was Lady Frisia, wife of the Marquis. She spoke urgently. Marquis, the magical core of young Master Esched has shattered. It's definitely Christian's doing. Langham remained calm and lowered his voice. Go on, Frisia. She stepped forward, furious. That thug became young Master. Isn't that a stain on the Black Demon's honor? Do you intend to let it be? Langham fell silent, and Frisia continued with a sharp look. Frisia lowered her voice, eyes cold. Fine, Esched has failed. I will personally deal with that thug. And don't forget the position of first young master must belong to my son, Mysak. Langham replied coldly, suit yourself. Do as you wish. I won't intervene in this matter. Cut to the next day, the ceremony to appoint the young master. He and Marie walked down the corridor. Seeing his outfit, Marie praised in awe that he truly looks the part. Who would have thought the ceremonial robes would suit him so well? Indeed, your man is truly exceptional, Ho-Ho. The remark irritated him slightly. Whose man are you talking about? From behind, his father approached and called Christian's name. He turned and replied, Father, you're here. Seeing his bearing, his father praised, You look very dignified today, Christian. He raised his hand to his chest to bow in thanks. Beside them, Thurn's voice stammered, Honorable elder brother, congratulations on becoming young master. He warned the boy, don't casually shorten it like that, or you might bite your tongue. Despite his discomfort, Thurn gritted his teeth and spoke, Elder brother, your majesty. Then Count Baron's gaze shifted behind him as Marisa approached. He thought to himself, isn't that Miss Marisa? He cleared his throat softly and said, I just remembered. Have you apologized to Marisa about the broken engagement? Recalling her angry face, his voice sounded a bit embarrassed. Ah, I think so, yes. He continued, very good. Where would you find a gentle girl like Marisa? He tried to voice his words, but before he could finish, his father covered his mouth. Father will catch on and avoid you, so you two should try again from the start, okay? Then he grabbed Thurn and spun away, leaving in haste. The memory of his father's cheering figure flashed in his mind, leaving him a little embarrassed. Marisa turned and asked, Is something wrong, Count? I was going to come over and greet you. Only then did he notice her presence and thought to himself, oh, so it's because of her. She continued, never mind the greetings for now. I actually came to tell you something. She extended her hand. Congratulations on becoming young master. From now on you'll have to handle the family's affairs. We'll probably see each other often. He replied cheerfully, yes, I look forward to your help. She immediately asked shyly, so what did my father say yesterday? Christian answered at once, he told me to marry you. Hearing that, Marisa blushed so deeply she exclaimed, what? He winked to reassure her. Don't worry, I refused. He won't bring it up again. That remark made Marisa's face flush even more. She shouted angrily straight at him. This left Christian somewhat bewildered. Oh, did I do something wrong again? Cut to the main hall of the mansion. He now strode in with measured steps. At the sight of him, everyone's attention turned toward him. In a corner, a blond youth appraised him with a raised brow. Wow, the young master knows how to party. The blue-haired youth beside him added that he deserved recognition. This time he really contributed. Then the two suddenly turned their heads and looked in the same direction. Seeing that, Frisia was a little startled and asked what was going on. She then followed their gaze and felt a sudden pang of alarm. The person who had arrived this time was the patriarch himself. She was somewhat angry that someone who had never shown their face when Mysak was appointed, young master had appeared now. Seeing everyone's reaction, Miriam confirmed inwardly that things had gone exactly as predicted. Back to the previous day, her voice had been a bit startled. Are you going to attend the appointment ceremony? The patriarch replied that it was a place he shouldn't go, Sai. She then explained very clearly how his attendance would be interpreted. If you publicly backed that child like that, he would become the target of all the young masters and noble daughters. Not only that, but also Marquis Langham and the high-ranking demon practitioners. He flashed a confident smile. That is the one who proclaimed he would become the family's god. If he collapses over so little, what kind of legacy is that? Back in the present, the moment he saw Marquis Langham, he bowed deeply. Then Langham reached out and invited him to sit here. As soon as he sat down, Langham turned and reminded him not to mind him and to proceed. Marquis Langham nodded and replied yes. Then he stood up crisply and declared, From now on I announce the opening of the ceremony to appoint young Master Christian van Baron Kaza. He then stepped forward and, standing before Marquis Langham, dropped to one knee to receive the rites. Everyone awaited this moment with bated breath. Marisa and her father also watched intently. After receiving the rites, Langham raised his hand high and proclaimed, And thus I declare Christian has become the young master of the Black Demon House. Looking at the crowd's acclaim, He thought to himself that he had achieved becoming the young master of the Black Demon House. But in return, the era of destruction also drew nearer. With my current power, I can't do anything. I must grow stronger quickly. If I want to increase my power and stamina, I have to become the Grand Family head soon. Thinking that, a massive black shadow suddenly appeared in the sky and swept over him. He looked up, puzzled. Where did a dragon come from? Immediately, the dragon crashed down hard into the center of the square, creating a violent shockwave. Seeing it, the crowd cried out in fear. Is that a demon dragon? How could it have pierced the barrier and gotten in here? And its target was none other than Christian. Without hesitation, it formed a magical orb at its maw, preparing to strike. Seeing this, countless guards raised shields and rushed in front of Christian. It's aiming for the young master. Quick, open the defensive formation. He stared at the source of power ahead and was slightly startled. It was. The guards were now straining to withstand an extraordinarily fierce attack. His father below called out anxiously, Christian. More guards began rushing out to defend. Protect the housemaster and the young master. Quick, form the array. The dragon remained overwhelmingly powerful, breaking through the formation. It roared a horrifying cry, but before any sign of cracking began, someone screamed in fear that they could no longer hold out. Those watching from outside looked on with extreme worry. Contrary to their anxious looks, the housemaster remained perfectly composed. A faint smile of amusement spread at his lips. The Ta Lin Demon House really has sent an interesting gift. Everyone was still stunned by the appearance of this purple dragon. His father looked at his son with great concern. Mirian, also worried, placed a hand on his sword, saying, Let me handle it. The housemaster told him to stand down. This made Mirian puzzled. What? But isn't that the purple dragon of the housemaster? With Christian's current strength, it was beyond him. The T-letter 1EB Lin demons must have used it to assassinate the boy. Ignoring the housemistress's words, she slowly rose to her feet. She stepped forward and ordered everyone to fall back. It's been a long time since we've had the chance to behold the achievements of the young masters and misses. If you're an heir of the Black House, you should at least have the ability to deal with a dragon. Upon receiving the order, Jupian immediately responded, Understood. She then launched herself straight toward the dragon. This made a nearby girl laugh with delight. What a passionate little brother, so impetuous. Mysak beside her looked worried. Why are we suddenly sent to hunt a dragon? Frisia stepped up, placed a hand on her shoulder, and reassured her. In any case, that demon dragon is definitely targeting that reckless fellow. Cheer up, it's just a bit of fighting. At that moment, Jupian drove forward with full force and shouted, Split sword. Countless magic blades materialized around his body. They immediately flew straight at the dragon. But when the blades struck its stone-like scales, they were instantly deflected. Not a single wound appeared on its body. This left Jupian somewhat astonished. The dragon then angrily lashed out at the guards. Meanwhile, Christian shrugged off his cloak and stepped down to look. Looking at the dragon, he judged it bore the T-letter 1ED Lin seal. I'd seen it during the Great War. The secret art that controls the spirits of the T-letter 1ED Lin is the T-letter 1ED Lin technique. He emphasized angrily, but why is it appearing here now? The reason is enough to obstruct my inauguration. As he spoke, the dragon coldly swung its claws again, forcing Christian and Jupian to step back to dodge. Then it flew up into the sky once more. The wind was so strong he had to shield his face with his hand. He cursed inwardly at the force. Damn, just one beat of its wings produces such terrible wind pressure, and the dragon isn't even that large. Is it the seal? Even Jupian's sword chi had no effect. It seemed ordinary dark energy couldn't harm it. It was already dead, so tearing out its dragon heart would be pointless, and they couldn't casually use light power here, antagonistic to the undead either. At that moment, another magical orb formed in its mouth. This made him startle. He immediately turned to Jupian and warned, Get out of the way. From behind, a pair of slender legs approached. Yulian spoke up, assessing that they still seemed a bit inexperienced. Then I'll lend a hand. As soon as she finished speaking, she summoned a magical bow. Without hesitation, she drew the bow, forming a bolt of magical energy. The terrifying power made him flinch. Once it gathered, the arrow flew straight into the dragon's chest. The strike was so powerful, the dragon cried out in agony. Immediately, with a single blow, it was felled with startling ease. As the dragon's corpse fell, Yulian dispelled the magic. Christian looked at her, surprised. What was that just now? Completely different from Ashio. Her caliber might be 5-star or even higher. They'd said she was only at the T-letter 1ED star level. What is the source of this power? Could this be what she told me about? Outside, everyone was astonished by that display. The dark energy was truly terrifying. They all shouted in unison, truly deserving the title Miss Yulian. Christian judged inwardly that in that moment the space had been stretched, and a massive amount of dark energy condensed. It seemed Jupian hadn't realized this. Why would she hide such power? Is it to guard against Ashid? Moreover, a black demon who can wield a bow so skillfully. This looks just like H letter 1 EAFCDI letter 1 EC7 US. After dealing with the ruckus, she smiled at him. This inauguration turned out quite noisy. Congratulations on becoming young master, Christian. He replied, a bit flustered, thank you. Above, people were still buzzing. A demon dragon appearing at the appointment ceremony. Could the other houses be starting to pressure us? The woman beside him sighed, how pathetic. It seems from now on he'll have to walk a path of thorns to his death. At that moment, Melon stepped forward from afar and praised that young Master Christian was indeed formidable, because no one from any family has ever displayed achievements to this extent. So I, Melon, will honor the promise from before. She immediately knelt on one knee to pay homage and pledge her loyalty to young Master Christian. Witnessing this, those outside were puzzled. Melon, the mad dog of the Black Wolf Knights? Someone beside added, why someone who never bowed to any young master is doing so now. Christian looked at her, smiling with satisfaction inside. He hadn't expected her to step forward at this moment. He politely returned the gesture and said, thank you. I owe you a great debt. She continued, you'll still keep your promise to fight me thoroughly, right? He smiled in reply, you'll regret that later if you change your mind. While the two were talking, a young man approached from afar and called out, young Master Christian, could you accept our support? He looked at the newcomer, wondering who it was. The man answered, eldest son of Count Turamin, Kaysen Turamin. Hearing this, he was somewhat surprised, truly unexpected. I didn't think you would give me such wholehearted support. Kaysen repeated, my father said this is a congratulatory gift. Please accept it. Hearing such polite words, he sighed in weariness, typical countly manners finished. He then returned to the main topic. Besides that, he also wanted to ask a favor. He grabbed one of his younger brothers and pulled him forward. As soon as he saw him, he teased, oh, still alive, your dog is doing fine. This angered Alwa a little. Surely he's not dead, right? Seeing this, Kaysen reminded him, Alwa, mind your manners. From now on you'll serve as the young master's aide. Hearing this, Alwa turned and raised his hand in a cold salute, yes. Kaysen added, but you know this brother has no trace of holy black talent. His prospects are bleak. However, if you take him in, Alwa will learn much. May I ask this favor of you? These words moved Alwa deeply. He choked up with tears, then approached Kaysen to reprimand him, hey, this won't do. Christian watched them and thought inwardly that he wanted Alwa to prove himself by serving him. Fair enough. The Turamin counts had no ties with the young masters and misses, so building this connection wasn't bad. Alwa had also earned some renown during the Age of Destruction. He's talented. I stole this connection's holy black for myself, so I feel a bit guilty. After a moment's thought, he nodded in agreement. Very well. But in return, his voice turned terrifying. You must call me master from now on. His words stunned Alwa into petrification. He cried out helplessly, I won't accept that. Witnessing this scene, Melon and Kaysen smiled with some satisfaction. Then from afar, someone came forward and handed him a gift. Young master, forgive our late attendance. This is a small token, but we brought a congratulatory present for the investiture. After that, gifts kept arriving. We of Count Aaron's house brought one. We of Baron Rand's house also brought one. His father stood outside watching, somewhat moved. Christian was gradually winning the trust of the dark practitioners. This time he might truly become the chief young master. He then turned and left amid countless cheers. Long live the young master, congratulations, long live the young master. Watching this from above, Mysak felt somewhat dejected. Seeing this, Frisia stepped forward to reassure her, don't worry, Mysak. Mother will soon remove it from your sight. It had turned to afternoon. Mirian walked in silence with the family head. Mirian asked, are you really going to just return like this? Christian is now the young master. If you stop by to ask a few questions, no one will fault you. The man waved his hand, no need. Didn't the undead give a grand greeting already? That alone drew enough attention to it. Mirian was somewhat troubled and asked, but master, it's about Yulian. I've long thought she was no ordinary child. Or however you look at it, the power a T-letter 1 EED star can unleash. Before he could finish, the family head cut in. I told you I don't care. Whoever they are, as long as they can raise House Black to the pinnacle, I won't bother with rules set by cowards. Yulian, she's been full of ambition since childhood. If that ambition makes her the strongest, I'll let Yulian be head of the house. If another child surpasses her, that would be a cause for celebration too. Scene shifts to another place. It looked like a dead land, trees withered and barren. Countless crows perched on the branches, waiting. Below, corpses lay scattered on the ground. One voice called out, thought the elite would be different. Turns out they're the same. It's itchy indeed, another said. or just kill straight into Golden Cross and go back. A third stopped him, that's troublesome. At that moment, a soldier looked at the blue-haired young man with some puzzlement. What are you doing, young master? He replied, I heard a rather interesting rumor. He wondered a rumor. He explained, they say House Baron has an interesting younger sibling. A bald man added, that's right, young master, someone from a noble lineage even. Ha ha, House Black is truly stupid. They hadn't finished speaking when, suddenly a huge hole appeared in his chest. By the time they realized it, he had already collapsed to the ground. The sudden action made the blonde woman turn and ask, what the hell are you doing? The blue-haired youth replied, what do you mean I'm doing? She explained, we're comrades. But before she could finish, a slash cut her throat, sending her to the other world. This terrified the two remaining comrades. They stood frozen, not daring to utter a sound. The man reached out and continued, so we're no longer comrades, right? Then his hand twisted in a grotesque, uncanny way. Immediately, all the blood in the two men's bodies flowed out like water. When he finished, only 2 desiccated corpses remained. He sighed, how boring, I'm leaving. Someone asked where to. He tossed his mask aside, home. I've been absent long enough, it's time to face things a bit. Back with Christian, he was now struggling with Marie. She still wanted to attend him, but he refused outright. Take it off quickly, she urged. He fearfully blocked her. Wait, I've told you to do it yourself.